Chapter 76. It is bound to become the new throne, replacing Qianli. Hearing the method mentioned by Yexi, Nashida suddenly had new hope in her heart. If at that time the Great Mercy Tree King used the branches of the World Tree to create himself, then, she can use the same method to create a new body. Just when Yexi was about to continue talking, he suddenly felt his consciousness become a little weaker. In this case, his body in the real world was affected by external forces. However, the outside world is protected by Dixie and Alyusha, so it should be very safe. Is something wrong? He looked at Nashida and found that Nashida was not affected. That's weird. Nashida, I'll go back and make preparations, and when you finish talking, we'll go to the World Tree together. After speaking, Yexi took the initiative to leave the 553 space in the consciousness of King Desishu. Real world. On a high-end leather soft sofa. As if waking up from a dream, Yexi's perception gradually became more sensitive. When he gradually regained consciousness, he felt a soft and tender girl in his arms, and then a familiar body fragrance came from the tip of his nose. He slowly opened his eyes, only to find that his eyes had been blinded by something extremely beautiful. Evening? Alisha, what are you doing? Master, are you awake? Alyusha blushed immediately, jumped down hastily, and dodged her eyes. Seeing the helplessness on Yexi's face, she faltered and explained, it's Dixie. My lord, she has been messing with you just now. Dixie, who was next to her, was stunned for a moment, and immediately put her hands on her. Hi. Chapter 77. The Great Mercy Tree King and the Little Mercy Tree Sapling? When Nashida said goodbye to King Desishu temporarily, she broke away from the space of consciousness. However, when she opened her eyes in the real world, she saw a scene that she would never forget today. Because Yexi is actually having S**X with Dixie, Alyusha, and the others. Okay, let's go straight. Yexi touched Alyusha's pretty ruddy face. Although Alyusha still had a lot to say, she got up and left in a sensible way. As for Dixie, it is already a soft-legged shrimp. A few minutes later, Yexi followed Nashida and left the Ye family compound. Yexi doesn't know the location of the World Tree either, so she can only rely on Nashida to guide her. They first returned to Jingshan Palace. In the Jingshan Palace, Nashida sat on the teleportation device. Come on, let's go to the World Tree together. Yexi sat on it, and then the device started to work, and the surrounding scenery became bizarre. The next moment, they came to a new space. Here RU20 is the same as the consciousness space of the Desishu King, except that the surrounding environment is better than the World Tree in the consciousness space. The grass on the ground has not withered, but the color is still not a healthy green. Be sure to break off one of the purest branches and give it to the King of the Great Mercy Tree as a body. As Nashida said, she couldn't wait to walk towards the World Tree. She can't wait to revive King Desishu soon. If King Desishu can come back, the people of Sumer will be very happy, and governing Sumer will be much easier. She can learn little by little by the side of King Desishu. Arriving at the foot of the World Tree, Nashida's little face showed a little solemnity. How could it be so polluted? I saw very black spots on the root system of the World Tree. It doesn't look like much from a distance, but when you get closer, you can see how many of these spots there are. Moreover, these spots are exactly the same as the scales that grow on the body after the onset of the devil scale disease. It's no wonder that there are a lot of dead zones in Sumi. There are too many taboo knowledge. Yexi, can you absorb these? Let me try. Hearing Nashida's question, Yeji put his hand on the body of the World Tree. He used the ability to absorb, and suddenly, countless black mist rippled on the huge trunk of the World Tree. As if they sensed the enemy, they swarmed towards Yexi. For ordinary people, I am afraid that when they came into contact with the World Tree, they would have been frozen on the ground due to the attack of the devil scale disease. But Yexi was unharmed. The taboo lord realized this and launched an attack en masse. For Yexi, this is simply the meat delivered to his mouth. He didn't leave anything behind, and accepted everything according to the order. A large amount of taboo knowledge energy has been absorbed, which has been transformed into abyssal power, in the crime of the Abyss Core. Hint, when using the Abyss Core, the stored Abyss power will be consumed first. After getting this answer, Yexi was overjoyed. He also worried that gaining so much power would go to waste. Since it can be stored, it is even better. Nashida's eyes widened. The absorption efficiency she saw in the consciousness space of the Great Mercy Tree King is not as fast as it is in front of her eyes. The spots on World Tree's body peeled off at a speed visible to the naked eye. In a short while, most of those spots disappeared. However, Yexi has no intention of stopping at all. In the face of these taboo knowledge, Yeji is simply the nemesis. Not long after, the spots on the World Tree almost disappeared. At the same time, the lawn around the World Tree has become green and looks very healthy. Even the World Tree itself suddenly began to grow taller, and the bare branches on the crown of the tree grew lush new shoots. Okay, that's amazing. Nashida couldn't help clapping her two small hands in front of her. In this way, the sandstorms in the desert will be much less, and the dead zone should never appear again. Yexi, you are amazing. Even the dead tree trunks have sprouted. It won't be too long, and I will return to my original healthy appearance. Hearing this, Yexi smiled and said, this is the real world, which is much easier to deal with than the taboo knowledge in the conscious world. So it can be dealt with quickly. Okay, let's go find the purest branch. Why? After hearing Yexi's words, Nashida raised her head and looked up at the leafy treetops. At the top, she found her purpose. Just use that one. Yexi raised his head and looked in the direction Nashida pointed. Walking on the wind, he took Nashida to the canopy. On the tallest branch, Nashida removed the slender branch. Back on the ground, Nashida took out the canned knowledge containing the consciousness of the Great Mercy Tree King. Yexi, I want to use the power of the Heart of God. Good. He took out the heart of the rock element god from the portable space. As soon as it was taken out, the god's heart was wrapped by Nashida's power of God, and then suspended in the air. Nashida closed her eyes, and infinite light green fluorescence bloomed from her small body. The three god hearts released a powerful force, forming a small blister. The water bubbles wrapped the branches and floated in the sky, and soon the branches began to sprout, and grew crystal clear leaves. This scene was exactly the same as when King Dissisha created her back then. Next, it's time to integrate the consciousness of King Dissisha. Nashida said softly, and put the tree branch and the canned knowledge glowing with golden light together. Swish, dazzling white light filled 673's entire world. Countless green leaves are flying in the sky, and the fallen petals are colorful. Did it work? Nashida couldn't help asking questions. You made it, buyer. A gentle voice came slowly. At the same time, those fallen leaves were absorbed by the magical power and began to gather towards the air. When the light falls, the beautiful pink petals and green leaves have condensed into a human shape. The next moment, the pink and shiny skin was exposed. She has long hair fluttering, tall and slim body. Two small white hands clasped in front of the chest, as if praying. Then, she opened her eyes. Buyer, descendants, thank you for your strength. Yexi was a little surprised to see the great mercy tree king with a proud figure in front of him. He also thought that the king of the great compassion tree would grow up through the branches, and he would become petite like a child like Nashida. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be an adult tree king. Should I call you the great mercy tree king? Or the little mercy tree sapling? Yexi's question made King Dissisha couldn't help laughing. Descent, you can call me by my name, Paul. Chapter 78. The three gods who can't make up a mora together, all come to Sumeru. Seeking full order, seeing the revived great mercy tree king, Yexi asked a sole question, Pal, will you redirect Sumeru? This question is exactly what Nashida is eager to know. Yexi needs an answer. She made a deal with Nashida, so Sumeru is now his territory. As the former god of Sumi, the great merciful tree king, if he wants to take back the rights in Naxida's hands, there will be a problem with Sumi's ownership. There is no doubt that Sumeru is his. But if King Dissisha wants to take Sumi back, then conflicts will arise. King Dissisha shook his head, since I have handed over Sumi to buyer, I will not interfere with Sumi's affairs. This answer surprised Naxida. She hurriedly said, but everyone in Sumi misses you very much. And you have led us for so long, everyone must really want you to continue to lead us forward. Compared to you, I'm far from mature. The great mercy tree king smiled softly, you are feeling inferior again, buyer. She stepped forward and hugged Naxida in her arms, and said softly, although I am the body of a god, my god position has long belonged to you. Each country can only have one god, you know that. So, everyone in Sumer will be entrusted to you. In order to clear the forbidden knowledge of the conscious world, I need to stay by the side of the descendant. I think, is this what the descendant wants? With that said, King Dissisha shifted his gaze to Yexi. In fact, she wants to watch Yexi until she ascends the throne. In her eyes, Yexi will definitely ascend to the throne. With the current law of heaven, there is no way to use the power of the abyss and taboo knowledge, but to escape. But Yexi is different. If the seven gods know Yexi's power, they will definitely approve of Yexi's ascension to the throne. Hearing the words of King Dissisha, Yexi exclaimed, as expected of the god of wisdom, he can understand my thoughts, it's just, ... You should know about my deal with Nashida, right? King Dissisha nodded, I've heard what buyer said, don't worry, I don't have any objections. If Sumi is handed over to you, I will be very relieved. In her opinion, the whole of it will belong to Yexi, and it will be a matter of time. It's really comfortable to deal with smart people. Naxida, who was in the embrace of the great mercy tree king, suddenly crossed her waist, so, do you think I'm not smart enough? Ha ha ha. Yexi laughed, let's go back, there are still a lot of things to deal with. Afterwards, Yexi took Nashida and Pal on the teleportation device. When the device is activated, they can reach the second side at once. Sumeru City. The streets were buzzing with people and extremely lively. Many people went to the Grand Bazaar to watch Nilu's dance. At this moment, a strong wind blew up in the sky without warning. The gust of wind whizzed past, blowing the leaves of the giant Sumeru tree all over the ground. The vendors in Baoshang Street hurriedly put away the things that were placed outside. What's going on? Why did the sky suddenly change? Strange, these years, but there has never been such a strong wind. Could it be blown from the desert? Passers-by on the street raised their heads one after another, looking at the sand wall in the distance. Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the sky without warning. Rumble. A purple thunder flashed in the sky, and there was a deafening thunder. Everyone on the street ran away in fright. Holy Order. Wisdom Palace. The sage Nafi looked at the sky, his eyes full of worry. Scribe, how can such a big sun make thunder? You said, wouldn't something happen to the world tree? Elhyzen shook his head, the situation of the world tree, Lord Grass God should be able to deal with it, this kind of vision may be caused by Lord Grass God's restoration of the world tree. I hope so, and I hope Master Grass God goes well. Just as he was talking, Sano suddenly broke into the door. Before Elhyzen frowned, Sano said, there are people in the sky. What did you say? The two looked up and thought about the sky. Sure enough, above the high sky, there were actually two figures descending slowly. They are going to Jingshan Palace. Oops. Hurry up and protect Lord Grass God. Sinyo and Elhyzen rushed out of the Wisdom Palace and went straight to the Jingshan Jingshan Palace. As soon as Yexi came back, he noticed something was wrong. Sumeru unexpectedly had three powerful auras coming from him. Apparently both Nashida and King Dissisha felt it too. King Dissisha smiled and said, it's old friends who have come. Old friend. Yexi was slightly taken aback, and couldn't help wondering who the old friend of King Dissisha was. In Sumeru, old friends must be Chiwang and Flower God. The problem is that the grass on the graves of these two demon gods is 3 or 4 meters high. Then besides the Red King and the Flower God, who else can be called an old friend? Suddenly, a wonderful idea appeared in Yexi's mind, what you said could not be. Before Yexi could say anything, the door of Jingshan Palace was blown open by a strong gust of wind. Two figures appeared at the door. Old friend, are you really resurrected? A frivolous voice came, and before the words fell, the wind blew gently. Beside the great mercy tree king, a handsome young man suddenly appeared. He looked carefully at King Dissishu, his eyes full of surprise. Today is really a good day to remember. I think we should sing the most beautiful poem to celebrate today's good deeds. The great mercy tree king smiled lightly. Barbados, after so many years, you are still the same as before. Hehe, old friend, I'm glad you're back. Another figure at the door walked in unhurriedly. The figure is tall and straight, with extraordinary temperament. Taking a closer look, he was wearing a brown gown, his eyes flickered with surprise, and he was extremely majestic. Seeing this person, the great mercy tree king was stunned for a moment. You are Morax, the one who won the promise. The visitor nodded. You have worked hard to maintain the world tree, old friend. I thought you had passed away, but I didn't expect such a turning point. Just as he was speaking, a purple thunder suddenly appeared in the air. The light cracked a gap, and then a tall figure walked out of it. She was expressionless, with solemn eyes, wearing a purple kimono, and her long hair fluttering sweetly. After coming out of the crack, she looked around and said, I noticed the breath of the birth of a new god, so I came to see it. I didn't expect everyone to be there, so I went back. Hey. It's all here, let's go after a drink, old man. Did you bring the lotus cake? Cough, you don't need to look at me, you are in a hurry, you didn't bring Mora, you didn't bring anything. Ray movie, a euro, that's right. The ones who came to Sumi without even saying hello were the three gods who couldn't even get a Mora together. Chapter 79. Ying Mei, Ying Bao, I let your son beat me up. You have to decide for me. Zhongli, Wendy, and Lei movie. The three gods suddenly appeared without warning. This caught Yexi a little off guard. All of a sudden, the four gods of Samura gathered together, and if Nashida and King Dissishu were counted, it would be the five gods. Cough, old friend, it seems that a lot of things have happened to Sumi recently. It's rare for us to see each other, so we just happened to have a chat. Look, do you want to find a place? It was precisely because of the sudden resurrection of King Dissishu that they came to find out. Because, they have never heard of such a thing as the dead gods come back to life. This matter is very important to both Zhongli and Lei Xing. Moreover, they are also very concerned about the situation of World Tree. King Dissishu nodded. I understand what you mean. In Liu's words, we must do our best as landlords. As he said that, King Dissishu looked at Nashida at the side. Buyer, can we arrange a place for everyone to talk? Well, Nashida faltered and said, I. There is no Mora. Zhongli. Wendy. Ray movies, the 783 scene became awkward. Nashida had no choice but to look at Yexi for help, and the king of the great mercy tree turned his gaze to Yexi. Yexi was speechless. These five gods are so stunned that they can't make up even one Mora? He seemed to understand. No wonder the seven gods used to go to Liu to drink. At that time, when the old man Daijun hadn't retired, he had a lot of money, and everyone came to eat and drink. Well now, Zhongli has been laid off, his money is gone, and all the gods are down. Down and out, family, but it just so happened that he was worrying about how to meet these three social wrecks, and unexpectedly, they delivered them to his door. Regarding Kanria's restoration of the country, he had a rare opportunity to talk to several gods. I see, how about going to my house to discuss in detail? Nashida breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Wendy from the side immediately came up. Brother, who are you? Why are you following the tree king and the grass god? Suddenly, Wendy realized that Yexi's eyes were the familiar star eyes, and immediately took a few steps back. Are you, a Kerriyan? 500 years ago, the seven gods descended on Khaenri'ah, and it can be said that a lot of trouble was formed. In fact, those are all orders from Tianli, and they, as the rulers under Tianli, can only follow them. They all knew about it when they were in power, but it's hard to guarantee that the people of Khaenri'ah will know. In the eyes of Khaenri'ah people, I am afraid that they all hate the seven gods. Yexi saw Wendy's worry, and smiled immediately. Don't worry, I have no malice towards you. Zhongli's expression suddenly became a little serious, and he looked at Yexi carefully, feeling a little surprised in his heart. He discovered that there is no curse left by the law of heaven on Yexi's body. It's just unbelievable. Seeing that the atmosphere was a bit stiff, Yexi suggested, anyway, let's go home and have a cup of tea first, then let's talk about it in detail. Yexi's proposal was unanimously approved. So, everyone left Jingshan Palace together. As soon as he stepped out of the gate, he saw two figures approaching quickly. Lord Grass God, there was someone just now. Sino found that there were four more strangers beside Nashida and Yexi, two of whom had just flown over from the sky. Nashida stepped forward and said, I'm fine, don't worry everyone, Yexi is by my side. El Hasan and Sano nodded, and then watched everyone leave. Officer Daifeng, have you noticed? The one next to Master Grass God looks very similar to the legendary Master Grass God. Obviously, they all noticed King Dissishu. Thousands of years ago, in order to help the Red King eliminate taboo knowledge, King Dissishu had become like a child. Now that time has passed, more than 10 generations have passed. Even if the current Sumi people saw the Great Mercy Tree King, very few of them could recognize him, and they could only judge based on the impression in the legend. Therefore, Khaenri'ah and Elhisan were just suspicious. Cade. Ye family courtyard. Satal and Ixia went to the teaching academy, and there were only Dixie, Alayusha and Dinazade in the courtyard. Dixie and Alayusha were competing, while Dinazide was handing water and peeling fruit. Seeing Yexi come back, the three girls rushed out to greet her. Master is back. Master, I cut a watermelon for you, hey. After Dinazade noticed a few extraordinary people behind Yexi, she immediately became much quieter. Are there any guests? Yexi nodded slightly. Dinazade, help me prepare the study, and then make a few cups of tea. Yes, sir. Yexi smiled and introduced to the gods behind him, these are wives, please don't mind, come in and sit down. Hearing Yexi's words, Wendy smiled flatteringly and said, Master Yexi is really lucky I just saw you for the first time, and I thought you were talented and romantic, and you were so generous to invite us to our house as guests, you didn't treat us as outsiders. You can be so enthusiastic just after meeting, sure enough there will be many girls chasing you then, can you give me a piece of watermelon first? After hearing a lot of flattery from Wendy, she didn't expect that it was for eating a piece of watermelon in the end, Yexi was a little dumbfounded. Eat big pieces. Thank you Master Yexi. Although Wendy looked sloppy, Zhongli and Lei Yingying were obviously expressionless. It can be felt that he still has a sense of distance among the gods. Especially after knowing that he is from Khaenri'ah, the atmosphere is obviously much stiffer. Thanks to Wendy, a guy with a hippie smile, it was a little bit better. Just as Yexi was wondering how to start the conversation, a white emergency food item suddenly floated out of the guest room. She was holding a half-eaten watermelon, poked her head towards this side, and then she was taken aback. Wow. Zhongli. Ying. There are also singers. Why are you all here? Could it be that you knew that the traveler was injured and came to visit him? When Paimon saw everyone, he kicked his little feet excitedly. Yexi's eyes lit up, isn't this a coincidence? With yellow-haired idiots and emergency food, doesn't the atmosphere open up? Paimon's appearance surprised the three gods. Paimon. Why are you here? Also, what did you say about the traveler being injured? Lei Movie frowned, stepped forward and asked. Before Paimon could explain, Ying Mei's voice came from inside. Ying Bao, I'm here. Lei Movie looked into the room, and saw Ying lying on the bed at a glance, and hurried forward and said, You. Who hurt you? I will teach him a lesson for you. Ying Mei immediately threw herself into Lei Movie's arms, sobbing, Ying Bao. You have to decide for me. Your son Lei Depao slapped me like this. Woohoo Lei Movie? Chapter 80. Zhongli treats guests to dinner? Isn't that going to be a purse? Hearing Ying Mei's cry, Lei Movie hasn't reacted yet. Who? It's the executive officer of the Fool's Scattered Soldiers. That rebellious eldest son of yours. Ying Mei shamelessly rubbed her face against Lei Movie's chest, while explaining, I heard from Yexi that he wants to ascend to the throne through the God Creation Project, and he also wants to replace Sumi's god and provoke a war of demon gods fight. What? Lei Yingying suddenly frowned, she didn't expect Qiabang to cause such a big disaster. Zhongli thought for a while when he heard the words, Traveler, your injury. Ying Mei immediately started complaining mode, and said, such a big thing happened to Sumi, how can I not come forward? Think about it, Zhongli, I stopped Tuerin in Mond. In Liu, Ozer, the Dragon King Ruo Tuo, and Ozer's wife. Where was I without me? Faced with this kind of thing, I must go. I am super brave. So when I see stragglers making trouble, of course I'm going to go. Zhongli sighed, folded his arms and said, and then. Then as soon as I rushed up, I was shot away by his mecha, the god of righteousness. Zhongli. Traveler, you were also slapped against the wall last time when you were fighting against each other. If I remember correctly, it was Liu Yun borrowing Win's disciple Shen He who rescued you, and you lay down for 2 full months before getting off the ground. Before Ying Mei could speak, Wendy on the side smiled and said, I was the one who gave you strength when I helped Mon drive away Tuerin, don't you forget? Traveler. Cough cough cough. Zhongli made up his sword again, in terms of general rationality, you should learn a lot from a fall. Stop reading it. Hearing Zhongli's words, Ying Mei wanted to cry, so she had no choice but to say, don't worry about so many details. Fortunately, Master Yexi saved me this time. As soon as these words came out, the 3 social wrecks all turned their heads to look at Yes Yet. Now, everyone has a good impression of Yexi. Master Yexi, it's lucky to have you here, otherwise, we wouldn't have seen her. Wendy continued with a pondering look, what should I say? There will always be someone protecting the traveler somewhere. Her luck is really good. Based on general rationality, if you weren't here, her journey might have ended in Sumeru. Anyway, come to Liu, I'll treat you to dinner. Then I'll be impolite. Hearing Zhongli's words, the corners of Yexi's mouth twitched. Zhongli treating guests to dinner? Isn't that one of Tivat's top 10 unbelievables? I am afraid that it will not be regarded as a wallet. As soon as Yexi finished speaking, Lei Yingying on the side said solemnly, I didn't take care of that kid cannon, and I caused you trouble. It's okay. Fortunately, Yexi is here, so it didn't cause a catastrophe. Nashida smiled and waved her hands and said, Na Ying, take him back when you leave. Well euro. Lei Movie fell silent when he heard that. Film. Well. Lei Movie avoided Nashida's questioning, turned his head to the other side, and whispered, or let him stay with you. Nashida? Ahem. Actually, Dao's wife's current situation is still a bit unstable, and I'm a little out of sorts. It will definitely give me a headache if the cannon comes back. As he said that, Lei Yingying also felt that he was a little overwhelmed, and said with an extremely distressed look, Nashida, I will contact Kanding Fengxing and ask them to send you the best top-grade dumpling milk every day. Okay, please. How could Nashida refuse Lei Movie's request? She had no choice but to nod, okay then, but for the milk dumpling, forget it. Nashida, you are such a good person. If there is anything you want me to do in the future, I will never refuse. Yexi sighed, poor Lei Depao, his own mother doesn't even hurt. Generally speaking, fortunately, there was a yellow-haired idiot, and the atmosphere suddenly eased a lot, and everyone was obviously closer. At this time, Dina Zed leaned over and said softly, Master, the refreshments are ready. Then everyone, let's talk next door. The 3 wastes nodded. They came here to discuss business and it was a windfall to meet Xing Mei. Hey? What are you guys going to talk about? Take me. Ying Mei wanted to get up in a hurry, but suddenly there was severe pain in her body. Traveler, you should take a good rest first. Zhongli comforted him and left the guest room. It's not that she is not called Ying, but mainly because there are many things that Yingmei still cannot know. Seeing the back of the three wastes, Yingmei sighed. Paimon, who do you think Yexi is? He can gather the four gods. 0 fur flowers. This is the first time I have seen four gods gather together. Also, isn't Yexi from Kanria? Shouldn't there be conflicts with the 7 gods? Paimon gnawed on the watermelon in his arms, shook his head and said, Paimon doesn't know either. Eat, 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 you know how to eat. Wait for me to recover, you see how I deal with you. Paimon's face turned pale with fright, and he hurriedly said, then you better not be a traveler. You. Yingmei looked hopeless. Next door. The gods were seated, and were immediately attracted by the fragrance of the vanilla tea in front of them. Delicious tea, I haven't come to Simmer for a long time. 0. Zhongli also nodded when he heard the words, this tea is indeed unique in flavor, I used to come to Sumi to drink tea from time to time. This dessert. It's so delicious. Lei Movie was not interested in tea, but she fixed her eyes on the snacks on the plate. It was the fruit and cheese mousse cake that Yexi asked Dina Zede to prepare. Simuru is a place rich in fruits, and the forest is full of delicious fruits. Cakes made with these fruits are simply amazing. Lei Movie took a bite, and was immediately attracted by the sweetness of the entrance. Yexi smiled and said, if your lord likes to eat, you can come here often. Lei Movie didn't expect Yexi to be so generous, so he nodded hastily, okay. Then everyone, let's talk about the business. Zhongli put down his teacup, and said straight to the point, old friend, how did you come back to life? King Dixie slowly explained what happened today. When the gods heard that Yexi had absorbed the forbidden knowledge, their eyes were filled with surprise. Wendy looked Yexi up and down as if looking at some rare creature again. Mortals shouldn't be able to survive if they come into contact with forbidden knowledge. After listening to Lei Movie's question, Zhongli nodded and said, in terms of general rationality, it is true, but little friend Ye Xiao should not apply to ordinary people, this concept. That's right. Yexi is indeed not an ordinary person. He is a descendant. Absorbing forbidden knowledge is his innate ability. As soon as King Dixie's words came out, the 3 social wrecks were taken aback on the spot, and cast incredulous gazes. 17.0. Chapter 81. Let's build infrastructure together. Wendy, fencing? Okay. Descent. X3 The 3 gods looked surprised. They all know each other, what the 3 words descendant mean. The yellow-haired idiot next door is the descendant, and they all have high hopes for Yingmei. The purpose is to hope that when Yingmei matures, she will defeat Tianli and change the situation of Tivat. Now, the 7 kingdoms are all under the control of Tianli. And everyone actually has a backlog of dissatisfaction with Tianli in their hearts. More than 2,600 years ago, there was no war between demon gods in the world, and the demon gods restrained each other, so it was considered peaceful. However, Tianli suddenly sent down an oracle, announcing the launch of a demon war. The war sparked an extremely bloody campaign. Among the dead demon gods, there were not only those aggressive ones, but also many peace-loving demon gods. They are equally loving, and equally gentle and kind. But because of the rule that only 7 people can be left in the world, in the end they had to turn against each other and draw their swords against each other. The most important thing is that even between friends, 040 is needed to decide the winner. Liu, Marcusius, the demon god of the stove, voluntarily donated her power, because she lost her sanity. Because of the turf scramble, the demon god of dust was finally killed and left Zhongli. All countries have paid a heavy price. Then came 500 years ago. It was also the order of Tianli that the 7 gods had to go to Kerriya to start a war, which led to a catastrophe. Liu Qunyan's army sacrificed countless, Dao's wife was even more miserable, and the strength of the entire monster clan was greatly reduced. The fox palace dies, the foxes of the sky and the earth turn into stone statues, Yu Yuchou loses his sanity, the ghost clan declines, the head of the Tengu clan, Ling Shanfeng, exiles himself, the Tengu clan disappears, and the human race's flag, Wyukuri Jailing, is swallowed up by disaster. There is no one stronger. Most importantly, Rei Movie lost his sister. When she rushed to Kerriya, she only saw her sister for the last time. This time the disaster directly caused Daezuma's national power to be greatly reduced. All of these are the unreasonable rules of Tianli. Therefore, the 7 gods have long been tired of Tianli. They have worked so hard to govern the country, and finally they have just started to improve, and then they are involved in a wave of Tianli, and their 1,000 years of hard work are ruined. If we come back several times in the future, who can resist? Therefore, everyone is looking forward to a new throne to replace Tianli. Yingmei is their hope. Through observation, Ying's character is a little naive, but not bad. If it replaces Tianli in the future, it will surely develop steadily. But Ying is sometimes too naive to be a big deal and needs to grow up. They could only watch silently from the sidelines and guide Yingmei to become stronger. At this moment, hearing that Yexi is the descendant, the gods immediately paid attention to it. Wendy was very puzzled. Master Yexi clearly has the characteristics of a Khaenri'ah, and how could he be a descendant? Nashida, Tree King, what is going on? Hearing this, the Dixie King explained, I checked the world tree and found that in the world tree, the information about Yexi has been blurred. Zhongli glanced at his brows, and said in a deep voice, I probably already understood, so little friend Yexi got rid of Tianli's curse of immortality. Wendy and Ray also suddenly realized. Then here comes the problem. As the saying goes, there is no harm without contrast. Now that there are 2 descendants, there are new options for everyone's choice. Most importantly, Yexi can absorb forbidden knowledge. Yexi noticed his gaze and said, don't worry, everyone, I will be malicious. I don't have a strong sense of belonging to Khaenri'ah. However, I also bear the mission of restoring Khaenri'ah. Hearing this, the 3 gods had a question in their hearts. Young friend Yexi, how do you plan to revive Kerriya? This question is crucial. The combat power of Khaenri'ah used to be extremely terrifying, and many countries in Japan were worried about triggering a war. If Yexi wanted to obtain resources from the 7 kingdoms of Tivat by means of extortion, then they would naturally not stand idly by. Don't be so nervous, everyone. I will use the method of building infrastructure to peacefully integrate into Tivat and into everyone's daily life. Let people from all over the world fall in love with building infrastructure. Believe me, building makes people happy. That's right. After Yexi got the Abyss Core ability last night, she was thinking about what to do in the future. He needs to use the system to get more rewards. Then, you have to find more wives. At the same time, some action must be taken on the revival of Khaenri'ah. Ever since, he thought of a good way. He wants to visit various countries, while looking for new girls, while building projects in various countries. Isn't there a renaissance in Kerriya when its construction is all over Tivat? With fame and mora, Khaenri'ah is bound to usher in the pursuit of countless people. As for curse of heavenly law and think about it later. Of course, doing infrastructure construction is a side job, and finding a wife is the main job. These infrastructure projects are just to pass the time for him, even if it is 10 years, 20 years, or even 100 years, he doesn't care. After hearing Yexi's words, everyone was very puzzled. Even Nashida was a little surprised because this was the first time she heard about Yexi's new idea. Fencing? Does it mean taking out long swords and stabbing each other? Swish swish. Based on general rationality, Liu's soldiers all use guns. In Liu, they should be called shooting guns. In Inajima, there are samurai contests and sword competitions. For the shogunate army, fencing is done many times a day. After hearing the words of the 3 gods, Yexi almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. What fencing? What fencing? Ah. Forced to calm down, a chill instantly froze Yexi's chaotic thoughts and let his brain empty. Cough a euro with a dry cough, Yexi interrupted the heated discussion of the 3 gods, and explained solemnly, infrastructure, also called basic construction. It refers to the expanded reproduction of fixed assets in various sectors of the national economy for the purpose of developing production. That is, the general term for the construction, purchase, and installation work carried out by various sectors of the national economy to increase fixed assets, such as highways, railways, bridges, schools, and various industrial and civil buildings and other projects, as well as the purchase and installation of machinery and equipment, vehicles, and ships, and related work. Do you understand? Wendy shook her head. Zhongli looked thoughtful. Lei Yingying on the side simply showed off the cake, and when he heard Yexi's rhetorical question, he had a meow meow state on his face. Yexi's eyes darkened and he almost fainted. Ah ha ha ha. It's not important, anyway, let the people below do it. He Wendy handed over a wink, and then pretended to be stupid and became stunned. Although I don't know what fencing is, it's just. Are you using the power of the abyss? Zhongli's question was very sharp, which made the rest of the social wrecks concentrate their attention. They all know that Tianli hates the power of the abyss, and the Kanria war 500 years ago was because Kanria used the power of the abyss. Although Kanria's technical means Tivat ranks first, but the power of the abyss is extremely dangerous, and it is very likely to destroy the world. Yexi didn't hide anything, and said bluntly, it is indeed the power of the abyss. But you can rest assured that I can control the abyss and absorb the power of the abyss without endangering Tivat. As long as I am here, the power of the abyss and forbidden knowledge will not destroy the world tree. On this point, both Nashida and the Tree King can testify. Nashida nodded, the 0.7 descendant and I went to maintain the world tree today, and found that the world tree was extremely polluted by taboo knowledge. The branches of the world tree are full of black spots. And the descendants easily removed all the pollution of the world tree, and now the world tree has almost completely recovered its stability. These words shocked the gods. For Tivat, the world tree is the root, and what Tianli has always been afraid of is that the world tree will be polluted. Now that Yexi can maintain the safety of the world tree, no matter how much Tivat struggles, there will be no problems. Descent, can you really absorb the power of the abyss? Faced with such a question from the gods, Yexi smiled and said nothing. Abyss core with a thought in his mind, suddenly, a black cube appeared behind him. The cube is like breathing, constantly changing its shape. And with its appearance, the room was filled with oppressive and terrifying atmosphere. Seeing the appearance of the core of the abyss, the faces of the gods changed, and they were suddenly full of vigilance. What a strong abyssal breath. Chapter 82. You are Liu's fencing consultant. Wendy, Lei movie, I am the same. It turns out that this is the breath of the power of the abyss. Nashida had seen the core of the abyss in the morning. At that time, she just thought it was very scary and didn't think about the power of the abyss. The great mercy Tree King exclaimed, you really can control the power of the abyss. When she was in the consciousness space, she had already guessed it. Since taboo knowledge can be absorbed, maybe even the abyss force zone can also be absorbed. Seeing this scene, the gods couldn't help but gasp. Wendy put away her playfulness, and Zhongli became a little more serious. They all know what that means. With Yexi's ability, the existence of Tianli loses its meaning. Tianli, I have no ability to deal with the abyss, and I am afraid of the abyss, so I have been escaping. But Yexi can't help but can absorb the power of the abyss, and can also control this power. Who doesn't know the power of the abyss? If the power of the abyss is used, all civilizations will progress rapidly. This is simply judgment. Tivat does not need the existence of Tianli. In addition, how to choose between Yingmei and Yexi has become extremely simple. Yingmei needs time to cultivate and support, but Yexi doesn't need it at all. There is only one thing they have to do. That is to support Yexi and ascend to the throne of Sky Island. The gods looked at each other. Through their eyes, they have reached an agreement. However, before clearly standing in line, they also need to observe. They don't know how powerful Yexi is now, and whether he can face Tianli. If they openly support Yexi now, it is very likely that they will get revenge from heaven and kill Yexi in the cradle. Second, they must determine what kind of character Yexi is. After observing the results, they are deciding whether to become Yexi's supporters. Zhongli said, young friend Yexi, do you have any preliminary plans? If you need our cooperation, you can bring it up, and we will help. Yexi was overwhelmed by this sudden kindness. Logically speaking, he is from Khaenri'ah, and even if the 7 gods do not object to the restoration of Khaenri'ah, it should be a posture that has nothing to do with themselves. He has been thinking about how to establish a relationship with the gods, and then talk about cooperation. After all, building projects in the territory of other countries requires permission. In the end, Zhongli said that he was willing to help, which made him dumbfounded. However, this is indeed a good opportunity. He injected the power of the abyss into Abyss Core. Then, on the huge tea table, a sand table of Tivat continent appeared. The contours and roots of each country are very clear. It can be said that it is the epitome of the Tivat continent. This move made the gods amazed again and again. Zhongli couldn't help wondering how this sand table appeared. Yexi got up, made a metal rod, pointed to the sand table and introduced, "Everyone, in my world, there is a saying, to get rich, first build roads. I think there must be more convenient and fast roads between countries to increase exchanges between citizens. Moreover, it can facilitate the transportation of goods. Everyone, please look at the transportation routes between our 4 countries. In Tivat, trade between nations is vital. Especially for a commercial capital like Liu. Liu's trade is extensive. To trade with Mond, you have to go through the Stone Gate. To trade with Dao's wife, you have to go to Yunlei. And Sumi was even more embarrassed. If you go to Sumi by land, the mining area is very dangerous, and passing through the mining area will also pass through the roads and forests with complex terrain, which is extremely inconvenient for vehicle transportation. And to bypass the mining area, you have to go to the direction of Tiandao Valley. Not to mention the treacherous terrain, the road is far away, and there are many monsters blocking the way. So the final choice is to go by sea. From Liu Port to Ormus Port, the distance is also very far away. You must know that Sumeru is rich in fruit, and this kind of thing cannot withstand storage, and the freshness period is very short. If there is a more convenient access, then the problem can be solved. The gazes of the gods all moved along the route pointed by Yexi. Everyone, whether it's Shimin or Yunlei, the transportation efficiency is not high. The time along the way is slow, and it is easy to be attacked by monsters. After hearing Yexi's analysis, Zhongli nodded, that's true. Most of the credit for the prosperity of Liu Port belongs to him. Whether it is economics, trade, or people's livelihood, he knows everything. As for Wendy and Ray movies, one knows how to fish and drink, and the other knows how to stay at home and read novels, and they are confused about these. So, does Yeziofa have any solution? Yexi nodded and said, I plan to develop from 3 aspects, sea, land, and air. Build airports, railway stations between our 4 countries. Through fast transportation, realize the transportation of people and goods. In fact, he doesn't care about Mora anymore, after all, he has the ability to cast Mora. However, having a convenient means of transportation is of great benefit to him. For example, it would be very convenient for him to go to Liu, Mend and Daekai. In order to continue to spread his branches and leaves, he has to move around. Sumeru has become his hometown, if only Dixie and the others are by his side, he will be addicted to it, and the progress of the task of spreading branches and leaves may be very slow. If you can go to other countries, there are so many beautiful girls, wouldn't it be easy to get more rewards from the system? The most important thing is that with convenient transportation, it is very convenient for him to accompany his wife no matter where he goes. Hearing the words airport and station from Yexi made everyone feel very fresh. Yexi directly used the power of the Abyss Core to create models of airplanes and trains. Airplanes are the fastest for transporting goods, followed by trains, which require the layout of tracks. However, trains carry a lot of traffic, rain or shine, and planes depend on the wind direction and speed, so the risk is greater. After hearing Yexi's explanation, the gods nodded again and again. Although I can't understand it, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they are all retired and not doing business, just know a general idea and then give orders. I understand, little friend Yexi, from now on you are Liu's fencing consultant. When I go back, I will send someone to pick you up for a field trip. Zhongli thought about it, told Ganyu about this, and then asked Ganyu to find a way to fool Li Keqing over. Wendy next to her obviously didn't care, and said with a smile, me too, you are also Mon's fencing consultant. I will discuss it with the head of the knights. It looks very interesting, it doesn't matter if it succeeds or not, I will pay attention to this matter in the tavern. Yexi was speechless. What is very interesting, it doesn't matter if it is successful or not. As expected of Barbados, he really didn't do Zhenglei. Lei movie is even more straightforward, I am the same as them. She was going to leave this matter to Yamaiko, let that fox do it. Yexi sighed. For such an important matter, the gods of these 3 countries are so hasty. But he didn't care anymore. Anyway, he was looking for a new wife. It depends on the mood to engage in sideline business such as infrastructure construction. After the discussion, the 3 gods all knew Yexi's identity and goal, as well as the situation of World Tree and Sumeru. Overall, they were all relieved. The World Tree has basically returned to normal, Sumi has also stabilized, and there are people like Yexi who have a promising future, and this trip has been very rewarding. The next thing they have to do is to observe. Silently watch Yexi develop and see what the result will be. When the time is right, it's like Tianli raising the flag of rebellion. Old friends, I'm going back first. There is still work to be done at the pastoral hall, or I will be reprimanded by the hall master. Zhongli put down his teacup and got up slowly, ready to go back to his honeymoon to fish. Wendy hugged a big watermelon, smiled and said, then I'll go too. By the way, Master Yexi, are you sure this watermelon is ripe? Yexi was speechless, look at what you said, can I give you a list of fresh melons from the fruits of the Sumeru rainforest? That's good, I will enjoy this watermelon. As he said that, a hurricane blew up in the yard, and the 2 of them flew into the sky and disappeared. This scene frightened Dixie, Dinazade and Alayusha. My god? What happened? Master's friend, flew away. Who are they, can fly? Hearing the size of the 3 girls, Peimen put down the cantaloupe in his hands and said proudly, that's Liu's Rock King Daijun and Men's Fengshen. Paimon. Yingmei frowned. Zhongli and Wendy's identities couldn't be revealed, but Peimon's big tongue revealed them all. Hey. Paimon didn't say anything. But Dixie and the others have heard it. Liu's rock god and Mon's wind god. Master is too powerful. You can actually make friends with gods. I'm not surprised anymore, after all, even Lord Grass is the wife of that guy Yexi. Dixie shrugged helplessly, and suddenly remembered something, and said, the girl in the purple kimono is the Inajima's General Raiden. If it is, I don't think it will be long before it will become the master's new love. Hearing Alicia's words, Dina Zede smiled lightly and said, it's not bad if you think about it carefully. We have Mr. Grass God and Mr. Thunder God as our friends. If my father knows the value, he will definitely be shocked. Miss, your thoughts are really pure. In the room. Lei Movie earnestly ate the mousse cake, and then put down the spoon, then. I'll go back too. Wait a moment. Yexi took out another box of cakes from the portable space, and handed it to Lei Movie, take this as a meeting gift, take it home and eat it. If you were fed like this when you first met, wouldn't you look greedy? Lei Yingying thought about it, and couldn't help clenching his fists, feeling very tangled in his heart, but finally took the cake. Thank you, next time I will ask Shenzi to bring dumpling milk. After speaking, a crack appeared in the air. Lei Sun fled in despair. Dumpling milk? Yexi smiled and thought, can that thing taste as good as pearl milk tea? After the three gods left, Nashida asked, Yexi, how should stragglers be arranged? Since Lei Movie entrusted her with the stragglers, she couldn't be negligent. Yexi thought for a moment after hearing the words, take him to the world tree and let him find the answer by himself. Hey, I see. Nashida looked at the great mercy tree king at the side, Master Tree King, then you have to go to the Order Academy with me. Sumi still has a lot of things to deal with now, the sages of the Order Academy need to be re-elected, the placement of the God of Righteousness, there are still many things to do. King Desisha shook his head, Buyer, I won't meddle in Sumi's affairs, but you can ask me if you have any questions. I will stay with the descendant until all the forbidden knowledge is eliminated and the world tree is fully restored. Afternoon. Nashida went to the teaching academy, and Yexi came to the room of the yellow-haired idiot. Ying, I just have time, and I can talk to you about empty things. As soon as she heard Yexi say that, Yingmei immediately regained her spirits. She embarked on a journey just to find her brother. Now, I can finally get some news about my brother. Along the way, she got to know Dine's Reb, went to the layer rock abyss together, and learned a lot about Khaenri'ah. But there are still many mysteries that have not been solved. Paimon also leaned over with great interest. What do you want to ask? Yingmei hurriedly asked, where is my brother? I don't know. Then what the hell is he doing? I really don't know about this. Then will he come to Sumeru? I really don't know. You don't know anything at all. Paimon folded his arms, speechless. Yexi helped his forehead helplessly. He didn't expect Ying's question to avoid all the information he knew. Sora and I have been separated for a while, and I don't know where he is now, but we can contact through my subordinates. After hearing Yexi's words, Yingmei asked, then can you tell me from the beginning? Yexi nodded, and then confessed everything. From the truth of the catastrophe in Khaenri'ah 500 years ago, to the agreement with Sora some time ago. Except for the fact that he ascended the throne was not mentioned, he basically told Yingmei. That is to say, you and the traveler's brother are working hard for the restoration of Khaenri'ah. And you chose the path of finding a wife and having children. Paimon analyzed it based on the known information. That's right. Yingmei suddenly asked, then, you won't attack me, will you? Don't worry, you are Kong's younger sister, rabbits don't eat grass by the side of their nests. Hearing what Yexi said, Yingmei breathed a sigh of relief, and couldn't help but sigh, I never thought that my brother is putting so much effort into Khaenri'ah, and I also want to go to my brother immediately and help FTE. Puff cough cough a euro. Yexi choked on the tea, and couldn't help but said, as you are now, you have traveled to 4 countries, and you still hold a Wu Feng sword in your hand. Are you going to help Kong? Did you forget how you were stunned by the god of chance? You, stop talking. Yingmei immediately felt ashamed, there is no way. Upgrading weapons requires mora, and a lot of materials are needed. I've spent all the mora in my hand, and I don't have any extra to upgrade my weapon. These words surprised Yexi a little. This is the first time he knows that the weapons here can be upgraded with mora. I thought it was a setting in the game, but I didn't expect it to be universal. No wonder there will be no inflation if mora makes more. At this time, Yingmei asked again, then how can I find my brother? You can stay by my side, and when Kong comes to look for me, won't you see me? This answer made Paimon applaud. Okay, you can keep eating Master Yexi's meal. Chapter 83. Liu Port. Yujing Terrace. Ganyu just came back from Rongfa shop. Her younger generation in charge of taxation made trouble again, and was played around by the bosses of Wanyo shop and Rongfa shop. In desperation, she had no choice but to go out to help the work of the younger generation. Now back to Yuehei Pavilion, there is still a lot of work waiting for her to deal with. Thinking of these, she sighed helplessly. It's good to be in the bustling Liu port, but it's too busy. While sighing, Ganyu walked towards Yujing Terrace. As soon as she walked up the steps, she heard a familiar voice. Yeah, so many years have passed since those things. Things are different, but Liu's bonsai is getting more and more beautiful, which can be regarded as giving me a little Although that is the case, there are still shortcomings. All living beings are rich, and only then can it look like a trading capital, so. This familiar voice made Ganyu suddenly interested. She quickly walked up the steps and looked back, and sure enough there were 2 figures standing not far away. One has a tall and straight figure, with a rather refined temperament, while the other has a kind face, with a slightly stooped appearance. Daijun, Aping, you guys are actually free to chat here. Hearing Ganyu's voice, both Zhongli and Grandma Ping turned their heads. Ganyu, you came at the right time. Is there anything the Emperor wants to tell me? Zhongli nodded. Sumi has something worth mentioning today. Hearing this, Gan Yu cheered up immediately. It can be called worth mentioning in Yan Wang Dijun's mouth, which is naturally a big deal. Emperor, Sumi has had little contact with Li Yu since the change of the god of grass 500 years ago. We went to the Academy of Teaching Order several times, but we all suffered behind closed doors. Since it is the matter mentioned by the Emperor, is Sumi willing to take the initiative to negotiate? Over the years, the trade between Sumi and Liu has decreased a lot, and she can't even eat the fruits of Sumeru. The same is true for Dao's wife. Because of the lock-up order, she hasn't eaten sea Ganoderma for hundreds of years. It was also recently that Dao's wife resumed diplomacy, which filled her with a lot of new delicacies. If Sumi can really resume contact, there will be fruits to eat again. Zhongli smiled, nodded, and said, the god of grass changed 500 years ago and became the little auspicious king of grass. Now the little auspicious grass king is regent, and the great mercy tree king is back from the dead, assisting on one side, and has officially resumed communication with Liu Port. The tree king is back from the dead? This is really good news. Tree king actually doesn't care about Gan Yu, she only cares about eating and drinking. Gan Yu felt a burst of joy in her heart, she had already started the Sumeru fruit. Dun peach, tree king sacrament mushroom, date palm. In addition to specialty products, she is also very greedy for common fruits such as watermelon and cantaloupe. Because of the rainforest environment of Sumeru, the fruits grown are very delicious. Thinking of this, she couldn't help drooling. Besides, there is one more thing Zhongli said again, I went to see the tree king today, and I met a friend who is a Kerriya named Yexi. This person is quite talented, has many wonderful ideas, and wants to help countries build infrastructure. Fencing. Gan Yu looked puzzled. Daijun, is fencing the fencing I understand? No. The so-called infrastructure probably refers to building roads, and carrying out projects such as promoting trade. After Zhongli explained, he continued, Yexi's idea is to use Liu as the core to connect the surrounding countries to facilitate the flow of people and goods, and to increase exchanges. I've already hired him as Liu's infrastructure consultant. Let you handle this matter. Go and invite Yexi. Hey. Gan Yu suddenly came back to her senses, and hurriedly asked, Daijun, in what name should I ask 7-star to arrange this matter? You know, now that Emperor Yanwang has suspended his death, Liu is fully responsible for the management of the 7 stars and 8 sects. She definitely can't ask Keqing district to welcome a so-called infrastructure consultant on the grounds of Emperor's will. Because in the eyes of Liu's people, the Emperor Yanwang had passed away. That being the case, how is it possible for Liu's 7 stars to get to know a strange Khaenri'ah and then take charge of Liu's economic and trade construction? Ningguang will definitely ask her a series of questions. Who is Yexi? How do you know him? Why do you want a construction? And Keqing will definitely make a little cat criticize his face, and then say, Liu is now an era of human rule, and the intervention of immortals will make Keqing very headache, please think twice before acting. She can already imagine everyone's expressions and tone in her mind. Hearing Gan Yu's question, Zhongli was stunned for a moment, and then he started talking to himself as if he had never heard of it. What did the hall ask me to do just now? Oh. I really can't deal with that kid, I have to try to get clients, that's all. As he talked, Zhongli gradually walked away and left Yujing Terrace. Emperor. Gan Yu was about to burst into tears, looking at Zhongli's back. She turned to look at Grandma Ping. Ping, what should I do? Old lady, I'm going back to take care of the bonsai. Gan Yu, you have to work hard. After finishing speaking, Grandma Ping got into the pot in a hurry. Gan Yu wants to cry but has no tears. It was hard to solve one troublesome thing, but another one came up unexpectedly. This is how to do. In the evening, Mon City. The headquarters of the Zephyr Knights. Head office. After a busy day, Qin finally returned to the office and could drink a cup of coffee. She took a sip of the steaming coffee and looked at the various documents on the table. Suddenly, there was a light knocking sound from the porthole behind him. Boom. Qin got up and turned around, only to find a drunken man with a blushing face lying outside the window. He held a half bottle of cider in his hand, with a serene expression on his face. What does the peaceful appearance look like? Probably like a salted fish basking in the Sunday Lord Barbados. This is not the first time Qin has seen such a scene. Before, she would go to the Angel's Gift every night for a drink, but in the end, she could always see this Feng Shen who was not doing business, drunk at the bar, and then he was ordered by the god Lu with a speechless face. Diluc has complained to her several times, this Feng Shen can drink too much, and every time he asks for money, Wendy will cheat and cheat. What to say to use the performance to pay off? There was nothing she could do about it. Who let people be Feng Shen? Unexpectedly, Barbados drank like this again today, and even came to the Knights. She stepped forward to open the window, and a smell of alcohol came to her face immediately. High acting head of the Night Order. Today there is something I want to say. Just now, I went to Sumeru. Master Barbados, anyway, let's talk about it first. Across the windowsill, Qin can't do anything, let alone how to take care of a drunk. Hearing this, Barbados lay down on the windowsill, propping his face with his arms and giggling, listen to me. There is a master Yexi and Sumi who said he would engage in fencing with us. Fencing. Yes, Wendy stood up and made a comparison with a swordsman, swish. Hit. Liu's rock god and Inajama's thunder god both agreed to this matter. So, we have to send representatives to go. Everyone is going to gather at Liu port, I leave it to you. Hearing this, Qin fell into deep thought. She didn't understand why all of a sudden Shikoku was going to compete with black swordsmanship. The key is the swordsmanship competition a one-handed sword or a two-handed sword? What is the reward? Moreover, she remembered that the rock god of Mingming Liu had passed away, and it was changed to the era of human rule. Why did you suddenly say that you have an appointment for fencing? Master Barbados, can you talk about the arrangement in detail, such as Lord Barbados? Before she could think about the result, she discovered that Barbados suddenly disappeared without knowing when. On the windowsill, only a huge watermelon was left. There is still a note on it. Sumi's melon, delicious. Qin suddenly sighed, very helpless, this Feng Shen lord, oh. When she was at a loss, the door of the office was quietly pushed open, and a mature woman with a charming and graceful figure walked in. Yan Qin, are you done with work? Lisa lazily came to the bookshelf and leaned on the fence with a sleepy look. Like a proud cat. Lisa, I just got a letter from Simura. The only ones who know Wendy's true identity are she and Diluc, and they cannot let the people around them know for the time being. So she changed things up a bit and talked about fencing. You say, who should we send to be more suitable? I see. Lisa thought about it, and said, then send our elites. Who? How about the captain of the guerrilla squad? Yura. Qin thought for a while, then nodded. Yura's swordsmanship is superb, she is indeed the best candidate, and the fools have calmed down recently, so I can give her a short vacation, but it can't be, just let her go alone. Well. If the destination is Liu, I remember that little Ember's grandfather is from Liu, why don't we let her go back to her hometown to relax? Lisa's proposal caught Qin's eyes again. Ember and Eula have a very good relationship in private. If the two of them go, they will take care of each other. Okay, let's decide it's the two of them. Lisa, ask Kelly to eat watermelon with everyone. Qin smiled and patted the big watermelon beside her, and let out a sigh of relief. Ah, where did such a big watermelon come from? Looking at the size and breed, it's very cool. Well. Qin was taken aback. She forgot that Lisa had stayed in Simura for a long time, and she could tell where the watermelon was produced at a glance. Now she doesn't know how to explain it. Lisa smiled and left the office to call someone. Inajima Castle, Castle Tower. Master Yi Gongji. The occult crowd at the gate bowed their heads and bowed to Ye Shenzi. With a soft reply, Yegamai walked into the castle tower. Seeing no movement, a few of the Austrians started whispering. Master Gong Si is really a beautiful woman. Yes, I have never dared to look into the eyes of Mr. Gong Si. I heard that Mr. Gong Si's beautiful eyes are full of charm and charm. SHH. Don't talk nonsense, you're done if you're overheard. Why are you nervous? Which of us Daikai's men didn't grow up listening to the legend of Mr. Gongxi? Everyone is just yearning for it. That's right, in the dangerous Shadow Mountain, there lived a beautiful fox fairy sister. My grandfather has heard this story since he was a child. Hey, it's been hundreds of years, and the palace secretary is still beautiful. No one can win his heart. We mortals, just look at it and be satisfied. The occult audience outside felt a burst of emotion. And in the Tian Shao pavilion, the Ye son of God has come to Lei Ying's pure land of one heart. Ying, you contacted me, do you want to drink dumpling milk again? As he said that, Ye Shenzi took out the gift box of 3-colored dumplings that he had prepared, and said with a playful smile, it's a pity that I didn't bring milk for dumplings, only 3-colored dumplings in normal times. If she teased Lei Movie like this, Lei Movie might have exploded with anger. Maybe they will cry and make noise, rolling all over the floor. However, today's Lei Movie is actually unmoved. She didn't even look back at the 3-colored dumpling in her hand. This made Ye Kamito very puzzled. Impossible, could it be that my best friend has changed her temper? She hurriedly came behind Lei Movie, and saw a piece of white fruit mousse cake on the table. Oh, it looks delicious. Lei Ying immediately covered the cake in front of him with both hands, and looked back at Ye Shenzi with a fierce look in his eyes. This is mine, don't use your brains. When she took this piece of cake back, she was not willing to eat it. Just grab a small spoon, take a bite, and enjoy. After the taste of the cake in her mouth completely dissipated, she would take another spoonful. I am afraid that if you take a big bite, the happy time will disappear. If she is messed up and eaten by Ye Shenzi, she will really go crazy. Ye Shenzi pretended to be sad and said, is there any more love? You actually protect food for a piece of cake, so, where did you find the delicious food? Sumi. Lei Movie explained the reason and what he had seen and heard about going to Simura today. The king of the great merciful tree came back from the dead? Sumi was taken over by a Kerriya. There was a hint of surprise in the beautiful eyes of Ye Shenzi. Looking at the 7 kingdoms, the only countries that can be controlled by humans are the extinct Khaenri'ah and the current Liu. It must be extraordinary that the Kerriya man named Ye Xi was able to ascend to the throne of Sumi ruler. Moms, Lei Movie put a small spoonful of cake into his mouth, and then a happy expression appeared on his face. There are many fruits on the cake, crystal clear grapes, bright red strawberries, dark purple blueberries, watermelon, and cantaloupe. This mouthful comes with a few plump little blueberries. The moment it was eaten into the mouth, those small particles of blueberries burst open on the tip of the tongue, releasing an extremely sweet juice. The Simura rainforest is rich in rainwater, and the fruits have fully absorbed the water and become plump. What followed was another fragrant white cream, the mellow taste blended with the fruit juice, repeatedly stimulating her taste buds. At this moment, she felt that her whole body was cheering for the deliciousness in her mouth. The more so, the more reluctant she was to swallow it. Taste carefully on the tip of the tongue, and fully experience the sweet taste of blueberry juice and cream. Then, she swallowed the delicious food little by little. In this way, the sweet taste lingered longer between her lips and teeth. This kind of delicacy is endless aftertaste. Ye Shenzi was hungry. So you asked me to come, just to watch you enjoy the cake. You are too much. Lei Yinghua cupped his cheeks with both hands, and when the sweet taste in his mouth dissipated, he opened his mouth and said, it's Ye Xi who wants to build infrastructure. I want to send you to Liu to meet him and discuss this matter. Is everyone named Chuang? Ye Kamiko smiled, his eyes full of amusement. She knows the dignified General Thunder and Lightning very well, and the people she usually meets are that person named XX. Except for the other 6 gods and friends, it is rare to remember a human's name. Although I don't know what infrastructure means, I do plan to go to Liu. It's time to send some fresh sea Ganoderma to Sister Ganyu. By the way, she also wants to see who is sacred. Chapter 84. The new magical use of slime energy. Powerful animal taming skills. Please book in full. At night, Mount Ozang. A gigantic fairy Lin galloped across the mountains, every jump was extremely far away, and the speed was extremely fast. Ganyu thought about it all afternoon, but there was nothing she could do. In desperation, she had no choice but to come back and seek the help of Zhenjun Liuyun borrowing the wind. When she came to the mountain, Ganyu changed back into a human form, and just about to step into the cave, she heard a familiar voice coming from her ear. Ganyu? Why did you come back suddenly? A crane flew out of the cave and landed on a rock at the entrance, with a bit of coldness in his tone. Humph, are the people from Liuport trying to make things difficult for you again? You wait, I'm going to Liuport right now, to vent my anger on you. Zhenjun Liuyun, you misunderstood. Ganyu hastily stopped Zhenjun Liuyun Bianfeng, for fear that this immortal would go to Liuport to make a big fuss. However, what Zhenjun said is correct, I was indeed made things difficult, but it has nothing to do with Keqing and the others. Oh? Who is it? Liuyun spread his wings by borrowing Feng Zhenjun, and said with an angry look, I will take you to him to judge. It's the Emperor. That's fine. Ganyu, a euro Zhenjun Liuyun borrowed the wind to retract his wings in an instant, and his anger disappeared. Have no idea. That's the Rock King Daijun, she can't afford it. Ahem. Seeing Ganyu's gaze, Zhenjun Liuyun borrowing Feng couldn't hold back his face, so he could only ask, what problem did the Emperor give you to make you so sad? True monarch. Ganyu complained for a while, and told her what Zhongli had given her in the afternoon. I see. Zhenjun Liuyun borrowed the wind to nod his head, pondered for a moment, that's right, the Emperor has changed his name to Zhongli and has become an ordinary person. The infrastructure consultant he canonized was only granted as an ordinary person, how could Liu Keqing approve it? It's really illogical to ask an outsider to come to Liu 7 Stars territory for no reason to make a move. What is the Emperor thinking? Zhenjun Liuyun, is there really no other way? What did you say? Hearing Ganyu's question, True Monarch Liuyun borrowing wind snorted, and said, of course I have an idea. Forget it, then let Ben Xian come forward. Ganyu looked puzzled and wanted to know the answer. Lu Yun borrowed Feng Zhenjun and said, that infrastructure consultant must also be someone who plays tricks. You go and tell Qi Xing that he is my immortal's apprentice and has won the true biography of this immortal. This immortal sees how difficult it is for 7 stars to govern Liu, so he sends his disciples to help Liu with construction. If you don't agree, you can say that this immortal is determined to do so, and when the time comes, this immortal will take the blame. As soon as these words came out, Ganyu's eyes lit up. This method works. If Lu Yun borrowed Feng Zhenjun to show up, Ning Guang and Keqing would still save face. It's just that, it will also make Keqing have some opinions on Zhenjun Liuyun borrowing wind. But Zhenjun Liuyun, that infrastructure consultant must be not weak. Will he come to Liuport as your apprentice? After all, he is the person that the Emperor likes. Zhenjun Liuyun borrowed the wind and said proudly, this immortal's organ skills are so powerful, can you still wrong him when you are my apprentice? Do you know how convenient Bengxian's magical cooking machine is? If everyone in Liu has one, it will be so much easier for every family to cook in the future. That day Chuan Xing hinted to me that I wanted to obtain the production method from Bengxian, and then mass produce it, but Bengxian refused. Saying this, True Monarch Liuyun borrowing the wind is also a little bit arrogant. In fact, the reason why she refused to condense the light was because the magical mechanism of cooking needs to be activated with immortal power, and mortals cannot use it. Hearing Zhenjun Liuyun borrowing wind's words, Ganyu was slightly taken aback. She didn't expect that Ning Guang would go to Liuyun Bianfeng Zhenjun in private to discuss such a matter. It is worthy of being the first person with business acumen. She has also seen Zhenjun Liuyun borrowing wind's magic cooking machine, which can cook rice automatically, which is very convenient. Since even Ning Guang is quite fancy, if he reveals the identity of Zhenjun Liuyun borrowing wind's disciple, Ning Guang might reuse it. Cough a euro, it's a big deal. I will hand over the method of making the magic cooking machine to that infrastructure consultant. In this way, the light will naturally agree. However, I can say it first, if it can't be used after making it, it can only show that their technology is not good. Ganyu nodded quickly, I understand, Master Liuyun. I'll go talk to Keqing and the others right now. Simaru. Huachenqiu. Dao Jinglan's night is no longer scary. Kei Lai boldly patrolled the forest, even though the surrounding trees looked like monsters with claws under the moonlight, she didn't feel afraid. She once snuggled into Ye Xi's arms, and heard Ye Xi whispering softly in her ear all fears come from lack of firepower. Now she feels the same way. Since the demon scale disease and the black flame snake that plagued her were completely eliminated, she, Cat, seemed to have lost her restraint, and she could let go to fight. But with the 2 eyes of God, she has nothing to fear. If a terrible monster appears in front of her, she can react with 1 arrow and 1 burning, and no monster can stop her several attacks. Not to mention the bad guys. At this time, it happened to be the end of a day's work, and her forest patrol residence happened to be left near Warm Pond. Starting from Huachenguo, explore the forest near Tianarm Pond, and just returned to Sumi City after the forest tour. She followed the path, entered the grove near the Ye family compound, and then returned home. As soon as he entered the door, he heard bursts of exclamation from inside. I saw that Ixia and Dixie were all there, discussing something in the kitchen around something. What are you doing? Hearing a slight voice from behind, Dixie turned her head, Cole is back, the master has just researched an automatic rice cooker, it's amazing. Rice cooker? Kei Lai poked his head out and saw a machine on the table. She doesn't know what material it is, but it looks very clean and nice anyway. At the top of the machine, there is a small hole where the air is coming out. That taste is the aroma of rice. And the machine has a tail that is connected somewhere. Rice cooker. Yingmei leaned up in a wheelchair and let out an exclamation. She never expected that Ye Xi would make such a thing. In the afternoon, when Ye Xi used the abyss core to create a wheelchair, she was already amazed. At that time, she began to wonder if Ye Xi might also be a traveler from another world. Now, she is 100% sure. How could there be such a thing as a rice cooker in Tivat? This is clearly not a product of an era. If Yexi is not a traveler from another world, it is impossible to know about this technological product. The reason why she knows is because the place where she and her brother lived before has these technologies. Now she seriously doubts whether Yexi is from the same world as her. Traveler, do you know this machine? Yechen put the rice cooker on the spot of Kanria technology, and is now desperately researching it. She doesn't understand how it works at all. Yingmei nodded. This machine is called a rice cooker, and it uses electricity to heat the container inside. Then a weak pressure is formed in the pot to cook the rice inside. It looks like the rice will be ready in 10 minutes. As she spoke, she looked in the direction of the wires. She was curious, where did the electricity come from? At the end, she actually saw a socket. How can this be? Hearing Yingmei's introduction, the faces of the girls were all very surprised. So amazing. Hey? Can you cook without firewood? This is too powerful. If it can be mass-produced, it will definitely make a lot of money. Miss, you can ask Master Sangamahabei, maybe she will charge a high price. Ayexia who was next to me hurriedly recorded it, and at this time she also had the same question, although I don't know how electricity is used for heating, where does it come from? The elemental force of thunder can indeed generate electricity, but the elemental force is very unstable. Only a very small number of very good people can manipulate elemental power in this way. If it is too big, the thing will be broken by the thunder element force, if it is too small, it will not even feel like people are being attacked. Those who can release the elemental power smoothly may not even be able to do so by Sumi's Daifeng disciplinary officer. Paimon, push me out, I want to see where the power is. Are you going to exhaust Paimon to death? Paimon crossed his hips and managed to catch his breath. Unexpectedly, he was summoned before he took a rest. Paimon. I know. Paimon stomped her feet, because today she said bad things about Yingmei and leaked the identities of Zhongli and Wendy, so she was punished by Lingmei for working hard. Although angry, but can only be obedient. She pushed the wheelchair with all her strength, as if she had used up all her strength. At this time, a hand stretched out and pushed Yingmei out easily. Hey. Dixie. Woo. Ha ha ha, leave it to me. Seeing Dixie's reliable smile, Paimon was about to cry. Paimon hugged Dixie like a face hugger. Ha 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 ha. Seeing the two people laughing, Yingmei sighed helplessly. They came out of the house and went to the back of the kitchen. I don't know when, a new huge machine appeared here. In the machine, there are actually several ray slimes. Dixie immediately became alert and stopped everyone. Be careful, the slime's attack is also quite dangerous. Slime. Ayexia was shocked, and looked at the machine carefully. There are two large glass jars in the machine, one containing the positive electrode and one containing the negative electrode. Through the slime's discharge, the current enters the upper device. It turned out to be a transformer. Yingmei was stunned, she didn't expect to see this kind of thing. Through the transformer, the current can become the desired intensity, which is the basic physical common sense. So familiar. Now she can't wait to ask Yexi for clarification. Which world did she come from? While everyone was watching the slime, two figures returned to the yard. It was Yexi and Alyusha who came back. They went out hunting and got some nice mushroom pigs. This kind of piglet is small in size and has mushrooms growing on its body. The roasted suckling pig has both the aroma of crispy skin and a slight taste of mushrooms. Eat it a few times and it will be unforgettable. You can also make stir-fry dishes, which are delicious. As soon as she saw the figures of Yexi and Alyusha, Dixie came up to them. You go out for an hour, what do you gain? Yexi took out the hunted prey from the portable space. Besides the mushroom pig, there were also crocodiles and other meat. Seeing this, Dixie had a playful look on her face. The two of you can finish these prey in less than 10 minutes, right? Alyusha, it looks like you've eaten a lot secretly. Invite it truthfully. Facing Dixia's playful gaze, Alyusha blushed. Just now in the small woods, no one around, she. In short, very exciting. She continued to complete the unfinished business this morning, and was very satisfied. Okay. Yexi smiled and reached out to touch Dixie's waist, and asked, what are you all doing in the yard? Before Dixie could answer, Ixia looked like a curious baby. Master, what does Ray Slime behind you do? €30. It was only then that Yexi remembered that he hadn't had time to introduce the things he made in the afternoon. Just take this opportunity to explain. That's a slime generator. I use slime to generate electricity. Kai on the side couldn't help asking, Master, how did you make the slime obedient? This question is also very confusing to everyone. Everyone has seen slime, and for experienced adventurers, it is considered the lowest level of monsters. But for people like Dina Zed and Sater who haven't been to the wild much, it's still very dangerous. No matter what, slimes are all monsters, keeping them at home is tantamount to raising tigers. Yexi saw their worries, and immediately used the beast taming skill demonstration. These slimes have been tamed by me, and I will guarantee their loyalty unconditionally. Don't worry, everyone. As he spoke, he raised his head. In his palm, a slowly rotating imprint appeared, blooming with golden light. And in the machine, the same marks appeared on the heads of all the ray slimes. Obviously, these slimes have been controlled by him and signed a master-slave contract. As long as he gives the order, these slimes will continue to work unconditionally. Seeing this scene, the girls couldn't help but let out an exclamation. It's still like this. Satal's small face was full of disbelief. Slime, a monster without intelligence, can be tamed. This is simply a miracle. That's right. If this is possible, wouldn't slimes have many uses? Discussions immediately started between the two holy orders. Just as he was speaking, a gentle voice came from behind him. Unexpectedly, you have such wisdom. It is indeed a wonderful idea to use slime as an energy source. Hearing the voice behind, the girls all turned their heads. Master Tree King. You are here. As soon as these words came out, Huang Ke looked astonished. The Tree King is a heavenly man. Yes. Dixie explained, it's just what you think, this is the former god of wisdom, Lord Dixie King. At noon, King Dixie had already introduced himself to Dixie and the others. At that time, Dina Zed was quite surprised. After all, for a god who passed away for many years to appear alive in front of him, anyone would be shocked. What's more, he is the god of wisdom who has ruled Sumeru for thousands of years. For Dixie and Alayusha who were born in the desert, it was easier to accept. After all, they don't care about gods. At this moment, Kayla's inner surprise was not weaker than that of Dina Shende and Ayexia. The most important thing is that they were not only surprised that King Dixie came back from the dead. What surprised them the most was that the great Mercy Tree King would appear here, by Yexi's side. Yesterday's little auspicious Grass King, today's great Sisha King. The two gods of Sumeru are actually by Yexi's side. This made everyone have an absurd idea. Could it be that even King Dixie will become everyone's good sister? Chapter 85. Brother Kong, I feel relieved that my sister is by his side. King Dixie was indeed attracted by Yexi's wisdom. In fact, she also thought about using slime as energy source. It's just that slime is a monster and cannot be controlled. If people are forced to use slimes, it will not only increase the risk, but also require very complicated manpower, material and financial resources to maintain. Take the fire slime as an example, its flames can destroy surrounding buildings, making it difficult to control. And yet Xi's thinking is very active. After gaining the ability to tame monsters, he immediately thought of slime as a resource. This is especially valuable. For ordinary people, I am afraid that I have all the strength in my body, but I don't know where to use it. Master, besides the slime of the thunder element, can others be used? Yexi nodded and said, of course, I'll take you to the kitchen. Coming to the kitchen, Yexi opened a side cabinet. This is the refrigerator. I put ice elemental slimes under it. If you have any ingredients that are worried about losing their freshness in the future, you can put them in. Actually, ice mist flowers can also be used instead, but I don't have time to collect them. Of course he can use a biscore to create a refrigerator. Just put a compressor in there. But, with such useful resources as ice slime, why use electricity? Paimon clapped his hands in the back and applauded, okay, can't this be used to make ice cream? Before I wanted to eat ice cream, I had to go to Concubines to get it, but now I can make it myself. After being reminded like this, Dixie's eyes lit up. This is a good opportunity to make a fortune. The climate in Sumeru is hot and humid, and there are almost no cold days, so the rainforest is so lush. The ice cream is refreshing and cool. If it is sold in the city, it will be a big hit. Besides, there is also a washing machine made of water slime. Yexi opened another box, and inside was a soft-looking water elemental slime. As long as you give it dirty clothes or dishes to eat, it can eat the dirt on it, wash it clean and spit it out. Slimes are omnivorous monsters that can digest anything. It was Yexi who gave the order that the water slime would only eat dirt, not clothes or dishes. It can be said that it is both a dishwasher and a washing machine, which is very convenient. This is so convenient. It will be easier to wash the dishes in the future. Yes. It seems that all the dirty clothes in the future can be handed over to it. Dixie loves this. She is a mercenary, so the clothes on her body are always soaked in sweat, and she loves to be clean, taking a shower every time she has time. Showering is easy, but doing laundry can be hard. No matter how many clothes she has, there is not enough to change. With water slime, she can wash several times a day. The last is fire slime, you can cook with it. Yexi turned on the stove, and there was a fire elemental slime inside. Use its flame to cook, no need to burn firewood, sustainable and clean energy. These convenient things open the eyes of the girls. As for slimes of rock element, wind element and grass element, Yai has not thought of a suitable usage yet. The wind elemental slime can be used to transport goods, which can be regarded as a purpose, but he can completely use the core of the abyss to make electric vehicles. How can slime compare the efficiency of vehicles? Okay, get ready to cook, everyone. As soon as Yexi spoke, the girls obediently went to do things. At this time, Yingmei came up and asked in a low voice, Yexi, I want to ask you some questions. Are you also a traveler from another world? Facing this question, Yexi did not deny it. They are all people from another world, this kind of thing will be revealed sooner or later. Rather, the props he designed that surpassed the technological level of Tivat have already exposed this point. Then will you leave this world? Ying, I want to ask you this question too. Yingmei was slightly taken aback, and said, I will leave. After we find our brother, we will go find a new home. Yexi smiled and replied, a person's will be changed by the surrounding things. There will also be new bonds between people. Once you are bound by fetters, your past wishes, current wishes and future wishes may all be very different. After speaking, Yexi went back to the house, leaving Yingmei in a daze. She didn't understand what Yexi's words meant. No matter what, she will find her brother and go to the next world. Just as she was thinking, she suddenly heard sobbing in her ear. Paimon? You, what's wrong with you? Woo, traveler, I feel so sad when I think that one day you will leave. Yingmei's pupils suddenly trembled, and she gently hugged Paimon who was crying bitterly in her arms, and couldn't help being moved in her heart. She seemed to understand what Yexi meant. Yes. She has traveled so long in Tivat and met so many friends. Yura, Mona, Xiangling, Ganyu, Ayaka Kamisato, Shinhak. And best friend Paimon. If one day, she and her brother get together and leave this world. At that time, will I really let go of these fetters? Ying herself doesn't know. She lightly patted Paimon's shoulder and comforted, don't cry, I won't leave you, Paimon. Woo woo woo. Paimon sobbed softly when he heard the words, really? Traveler. Well, really. Great. Paimon giggled, wiped his tears and said, if you leave, no one will be entrusted to help me earn Mora. I will starve to death. Traveler? You, what are you doing? Paimon. Return my tears. Help. Travelers are going to eat me. There was a sudden chaos in the yard. In the house. Yexi didn't turn on the light, and after sitting on the sofa in front of the desk, he slowly said, what's the matter? A purple crack on the ground was torn open, and an abyss chanter came out, kneeling on the ground. My subordinate Yuan Shang, congratulations to my king for becoming the ruler of Sumeru, and taking a solid step for the restoration of Khaenri'ah. My lord, do you want to pass on the grand occasion of our place to His Royal Highness? Oh. Yexi thought for a moment, nodded and said, Kong is also working hard to restore the country. We have made progress on our side, so we must let him know. You can simply tell him about the situation here. Yes. Oh yes, there is one more wait. Yexi said again, I plan to go to Liu in a few days to establish a passage between the 4 countries, so as to facilitate the communication between countries. By the way, it drives trade between countries. He did this in the hope that the words Khaenri'ah would be deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Few of the people in Tivat now remember Khaenri'ah. 500 years have passed, and a new generation has replaced the old, and only those archaeological scholars can remember Khaenri'ah. Build some infrastructure between the 4 countries, and those businessmen, tourists, and adventurers who pass by the road will know the concept of this road was designed by Khaenri'ah, thereby expanding Khaenri'ah's influence. His hearing Yexi's words, he knelt on one knee on the abyss and took a deep breath, my great king. Your grand plan and great cause, I will wait for my servants to follow suit and do my best. This subordinate understands the king's intentions. This subordinate will report to His Royal Highness the results of the king's battle in the future. Seeing Yuan Shang leaving, Yexi always felt that he had misunderstood something. But it doesn't matter anymore. I don't know how the empty side is going. Anyway, fishing here is very comfortable for him. He is accompanied by beautiful women every night, and he hunts and enjoys delicious food during the day. It can be said that life is simply easy and comfortable. Living such a comfortable life made him feel a little guilty towards Sora. As a king by himself, he is lazy every day, leaving an outsider to be an ox or a horse. Just as he was thinking, Dixie's enthusiastic call suddenly came from outside. Master Yexi. Dinner is ready. Today's rice is delicious. Yexi stood up leisurely, forgetting about Kong. Dry rice, dry rice. Fontaine. In the underground stronghold of the abyss. With a tired face, Sora lay down on the straw mat to rest. Suddenly a portal opened, and an abyss chant appeared. Your Highness, my subordinates have brought you good news. Hearing this, several Black Snake Knights and abyssal apostles around fell silent. Tell me. Is it good news from Xi? Hearing Kong's order, Yuan Shang hurriedly said, yes, the king asked me to report to you the latest situation on his side, as well as future plans. Let's start with the latest situation. The king already has 7 wives and Sumi, including Sumi's new god. As soon as these words came out, the audience was shocked. What? God. Hiss, I heard that the little auspicious grass king has been locked up. Yet, could it be that he was rescued by the king? I understand, it was the king who saved the god of grass, and the god of grass gave her body to repay her kindness. What a beautiful story. To actually bring gods into the harem, you are worthy of my king. Oh, congratulations to the great king. The Black Snake Knights knelt and saluted in the direction of Sumi. Kong couldn't help but marvel, I didn't expect him to be so resourceful. Then what? Yuan Shang continued, my king, he alone destroyed the conspiracy of the Sumi order, defeated the god of righteous opportunity, and killed the second seat doctor of the fool's executive officers. And, take the entire Sumi into the Lord. At this moment, exclamations came from the entire stronghold. My god. Dr. Fool's executor? Killed by our king. God of positive opportunity? That information is actually true? I remember that some of my colleagues had detected this matter before, and everyone thought it was false information intentionally passed on by the Holy Order. Such a thing as making a god is too ridiculous. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be true of. If the god of opportunity is created, wouldn't my king who defeated the god of opportunity possess power comparable to that of a god? Zero looking for flowers. Wait a minute, Sumi has already become the territory in my king's hands. Ah. What a great king. He has taken down the country closest to his homeland, and settled the close enemy for our great cause of restoring the country. My god, supporting our king on the throne is the luckiest choice we have made. I see the hope of restoring the country. Woo-hoo. My king Sheng Ming. For a while, many abyss mages cried, deeply moved. Sora sighed and lowered his head. Why does His Royal Highness sigh? Nothing. Kong said with emotion, I just feel that I'm holding him back. Sumi's place is also the Academy of Teachings, and there are also fools, and there are many dangers and dangers. Presumably Yexi must have trouble sleeping and eating, worrying all day long, and losing weight day by day. I'm ashamed to think of him winning in such a difficult environment. Compared to the suffering he has experienced, what I am doing now is nothing worth mentioning. Yuan Shang was slightly taken aback. If you have trouble sleeping and eating, think about it carefully. Whether it's eating or sleeping, you have to fight for the arduous task of spreading branches and leaves every day. Sometimes I exercise before meals, sometimes after meals, and there are often several people in a row at night. As a result, no one in Xingchuang can't stand it. But Wang has been working hard in silence. Day after day. Night after night. Your Highness, although your hard work is not as good as my king's, it is obvious to all. Yes. You are also a very good leader. We'll support you too. Hearing his subordinate's comfort, Sora nodded his head, Yexi him, we agreed to spread the word with peace of mind. I didn't expect to make so many achievements. We also have to work hard. 0, Yuan Shang, continue talking. Your Highness, there is also news that Your Highness is related by blood. Ying? What happened to her? As soon as he heard the news about his sister, Sora became nervous. Your blood relatives recklessly fought against the god of opportunity, and were hit head-on, and their lives were at stake. What? Seeing Kong stood up all of a sudden, Yuan Shang hurriedly said, Your Highness, don't worry, your blood relatives have been healed by King Xiao, and I believe they will be able to go to the fields soon. Yo. Kong was moved for a while, he actually saved Ying. Fortunately, Xi was here, otherwise Ying would have suffered. In fact, he also wanted to take his sister with him. However, he is still too weak and does not have enough strength. If he brings his sister with him, not only will he not be able to protect her, but it will also delay the progress of Khaenri'ah's restoration of the country. Your Highness, my king said that you can keep your blood relatives by your side for protection. Hearing this, Kong's eyes immediately brightened, it's so good. If you stay by his side, you will be very safe, and you don't need to take any more risks. Yuan Shang, you must help me when you go back and thank Ye Xi. Yes. Your Royal Highness. Yuan Shang respectfully accepted the order, and then said, Your Highness, the above is the recent situation of my king. Next, I want to tell you about my king's grand plan. Suddenly, Yuan Shang raised his voice, attracting all the whisperers. My king has orders. The king intends to plan for the 4 kingdoms, and will build an above-ground passage between Daekai, Liu, Ment, and Sumi. It is convenient for our soldiers to mobilize. The king wants to use this to develop trade and inject a steady stream of more reserves into our country. The king wants to take this opportunity to start the name of Khaenri'ah, and let the entire Tivat once again bloom the glory of Khaenri'ah. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the stronghold was taken aback. Afterwards, cheers erupted in an instant. Everyone raised their fists and applauded excitedly because of this declaration of future planning. As expected of my king. What a big goal. Thinking about the 4 kingdoms. What's the point of having only one Sumi? My king wants to hold the 4 kingdoms in his hands. My king can actually build a passage on the ground? How did this happen? Will the leaders of other countries agree? A king has his way. We just need to pray for the prosperity of my king's martial arts. Over the years, we can only move through the underground ley lines. The number of anchor points is rare, and they are often in different directions. Now we finally have the opportunity to get rid of the dark underground and come to the ground. What the king means is to be a mouse running around again. Go back to the sun. Revive the homeland in an upright way. Unexpectedly, Wang will develop economy and trade to save money for the country. It is obvious that the treasury reserves are so sufficient. This is to be prepared for danger in times of peace. My king Sheng Ming. Under the leadership of my king, Aurelia will surely shine again soon. For a time, the people in the stronghold began to enjoy a bright future. After suffering humiliation for 500 years, I finally saw a new dawn. Sora raised his head, looked at the dark starry sky through a small narrow window, and whispered, Xi, I thought you didn't care about Xiaokuyi before. Unexpectedly, I worked hard with my head muffled. What a shame. It seems that I also have to work hard too, Earth. Chapter 86. The King of the Great Mercy Tree offers gentleness. How to keep the King of the Great Mercy Tree excited. Ye family courtyard. The sumptuous dinner was full of praise from all. Especially Peimen, who eats in Yingmei's arms with great relish. He would even have a fight with Yingmei. Like a cat that boldly climbed up the dining table. Ah, I'm so full. The rice is delicious. The mushroom pig is delicious. It feels so good to eat meat. The girls touched their flat bellies and said things like they were full, but in fact they didn't eat much. Only Dixie and Alyosha, who need to exercise all day, will eat more. For mercenaries, if they have a small appetite, it is simply not enough to survive in the wild. Paimon was different, his stomach was already full. Touching the swollen belly and laying it in Yingmei's arms, I feel very comfortable. Traveler, if only we could always be by Master Ye Xi's side. In this way, you can eat enough every day, and then count the stars in the sky like this. Leisure hearing what Peimen said, Yingmei was also a little moved. It is inevitable to feel lonely when eating and sleeping outside. Wandering around, living in no fixed place. It's like coming home here, so comfortable. And there are so many good friends around, you can chat and play. Just thinking about it, there was a discussion on the side. Everyone, whose turn is 053 going to bed tonight, Puff Yingmei almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Just thinking about how good it is here, the picture turned bad. Sure enough, I am full of thoughts. The cruel reality in front of her immediately pulled her out of her beautiful vision. Yes. All the women here, with one exception, are Yeji's wives. She is an outsider here, like a drop of oil dropped into water, out of place. Dixia and the others are all in the same circle, but she is an outsider. It's my turn today. Dixia, you and Alyosha have already eaten today. Ahem, that doesn't count. How can it be counted? It should be Kali and I's turn today. That's right. Just as the girls were discussing, the Great Mercy Tree King suddenly said, Everyone, I want to discuss something with you. When King Decius spoke, everyone fell silent immediately. This is Sumi's predecessor, the god of grass, who has ruled you for thousands of years. Here she is, definitely the highest status person besides Ye Xi. The highest god. The Great Mercy Tree King said slowly, actually, the reason why I follow Ye Xi is to completely eradicate the taboo knowledge pollution of the world tree. Everyone should know that the natural ecology of Sumeru has become very unstable over the years. Why dead zones, earthquakes, sandstorms, these are all caused by the pollution of the world tree. Dead zone? Sandstorm. Hearing this, the girls all looked solemn. For rangers, the dead zone is the biggest trouble in the rainforest. What Kali was most afraid of before was the dead zone. In that kind of place, the plants will wither, and the animals and humans passing by will be eroded by the power of the dead zone, and then die. Only those who have the eyes of God can move in the short-term death zone. Not long ago, she was suffering from the devil scale disease, and once she encountered the power of the dead zone, she would attack immediately, so Toneri was personally responsible for the dead zone in the forest. Recently, after her illness recovered, she began to deal with the dead zone. Then she discovered that the terrorist forces in the dead zone were very terrifying, and it was very difficult to eliminate them. Especially recently, the number of dead zones is increasing. Even if it has just been cleaned up, new dead zones will appear again in a short time. She didn't expect that the dead zone was actually related to the pollution of the world tree. As for the sandstorm, Dixie and Alyosha are very familiar with it. In recent years, sandstorms have not only become more frequent, but there are even many monsters hidden in them. Many people in the desert were tricked and died in the wind and sand. Don't worry everyone, Keqing has cured the world tree today and basically restored the world tree to its purity. As a result, the frequency of dust storms and earthquakes will be greatly reduced, and the number of dead zones will not increase as frequently. After hearing King Decius's words, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help sighing. Master is so powerful, even the world tree can be purified. The problem that even Lord Tree King and Lord Grass King can't solve, Master can solve it himself. Master is so powerful. Unexpectedly, the Master not only protects Sumi in the open, but also protects Sumi in the dark. Being able to stay by the Master's side and be a little woman is so happy. Alyosha's face was full of emotion, and then he asked, then Lord Tree King, why can't the pollution of the world tree be completely eradicated? Is there any difficulty? The Great Mercy Tree King nodded, the last pollution is in my conscious world. My consciousness space is connected to the world tree. If the taboo knowledge in the consciousness space is not cleared, the world tree will never be restored. Everyone was a little surprised, and hurriedly asked, then can we help? That's right, if we are needed, I will definitely not resign. The world tree is about Sumi's comfort. As a deserter, he is also a part of Sumi, and he has the responsibility to act. The Great Mercy Tree King said with a smile, actually, the method is very simple. Keqing can help me clear the taboo knowledge in my consciousness space. It's just that the efficiency is not too high. In order to improve the removal efficiency, it is necessary to increase the fusion of consciousness and space between me and Keqing. I heard from Keqing that the way to increase the degree of integration is to make me have violent emotional fluctuations such as surprise, sadness, continuous excitement, and comfort. Hearing this, Dixie's eyes lit up. It's not easy? If you have violent mood swings and do something exciting, wouldn't you have it? Like going diving, or playing jumping mushrooms. You only need to use the power of the thunder element to activate it, and you can jump very high, and the fall is also very thrilling. Sometimes when I come down from the hillside and step on a jumping mushroom without paying attention, it can scare people half to death. Dixie's idea sounded very reasonable at first glance, but someone quickly realized it. However, these things should be used to by Lord Tree King who has thousands of years of life experience. After listening to Sital's words, Dixie nodded subconsciously. Indeed. When a person experiences something dangerous for the first time, he will feel nervous and panic. But if you encounter it often, it will only feel like a regular meal. She has a deep understanding of this. When she was a mercenary for the first time, she thought a lot about it, such as whether the employer would be satisfied, where there were dangers on the road, and so on. But later, after proficiency, everything became smooth and smooth. This time, everyone was in trouble again. Is there anything that can be done often, and it will be exciting every time? When this question was raised, everyone fell into thinking. King Decius calmly said, actually, there is a solution, and it is something I want to discuss with you next. I wish I could be by Keqing's side tonight. As soon as these words came out, the girls were all taken aback. Although it has been guessed for a long time, it is still surprising to hear King Decius ask such a request in person. Is it really like this? Even Lord Tree King wants to. If you think about it carefully, it seems to be like this. And there are several emotions at the same time. It's just tailor-made. All of a sudden, the girls all blushed. Even Ying Mei, who was eating melons, turned her head to the side and pretended not to hear it. King Decius said, so, I would like to ask for everyone's opinion 0M. Since Lord Tree King has said so. This is also for everyone in Sumi, let's change it. Although I have endured for a long time, but this time it is for the world tree, it is not impossible to sacrifice a bit. Everyone had no opinion and decided to let Keqing out. At this time, Keqing, who became the focus of everyone's topic, was still soaking in the hot spring in the backyard. After being heated by the fire slime, it is piped to the prepared pond, which is simply a treat. Sure enough, in this different world, hot springs are the most comfortable. There are no high-rise buildings, no noisy traffic, and one person dominates the entire pond. Simply not too cool. Just as Keqing was leaning on the edge of the pool and looking up at the starry sky, suddenly small footsteps came from beside her. Keqing looked back, and was immediately attracted by the beautiful scene in front of him. In the haze surrounded by mist, a graceful silhouette unexpectedly appeared. What caught my eye was a pair of snow feet. The white and tender feet stepped on the blue stone board wetted by water, and the pink and shiny nails were like pieces of lily petals. Keqing looked upward slowly, her slender snow-white jade legs were tight and round, with a healthy pink color at the joints. It's a pity that the most charming part is temporarily covered by baifu. Then came the willow leaf waist, the flat and snow-white belly, and the shallow vest line. When realizing the proud scale, the first thing that came to Keqing's mind was Dixie. But thinking about it carefully, Dixie's skin is a charming honey color, and the snow white in front of her eyes obviously doesn't want to match. Then he thought of Nashida after super-intensified. This idea was rejected by him again. Because Nashida is still working overtime tonight and will come back very late. Then get rid of the wrong answers, and the only person who can have such a figure is Pal. There was a soft reply from the mist. Keqing didn't expect that he was really the king of the Great Mercy Tree. He said, I prepared a pond for the girls, it's next door, you are going the wrong way. It's not wrong, I came here on purpose evening. Good guy, who can resist this? Today you said that the way to speed up the integration of consciousness space is to keep rising emotions. So. I came up with this idea. While speaking, the hazy outline gradually became clear. In front of 5.1 Keqing is a perfect body of a god. Clean, white, and holy, like a white lotus flower with delicate and beautiful stamens. I see, are you going to use this method? Yexi nodded and said, I have to admit, this is the most effective method. Okay, let me change my clothes, here it is. Hey? Hey. Yexi is full of face. There are only 2 lush trees around the pond, but they can't form any shelter. A tall bamboo fence blocks the girls' bath next door. Although there are walls in the yard, it is too cool for such a large open-air area. Right here. The Great Mercy Tree King gently stepped into the hot spring pool, and sat upright in the misty water. Yexi frowned when he saw the indifferent Dixie King. Isn't this place a bit empty? Wouldn't that be more exciting? Evening. Chapter 87. Clatter. The hot water in the basin washes down the delicate skin. The crystal-clear water drops slipped through the honey-colored ravine, sank into the slender navel, and went down again like surfing. Pat-pat drops of water reluctantly dripped onto the blue stone bricks. Dixie breathed a sigh of relief, as if she had gained a new life. Although it is also very hot, the life in the Samura rainforest is different from the life in the Samura desert. The desert is relatively dry, and the rainforest is very humid. If you don't take a bath for a while, your body will be sticky and uncomfortable. After washing off the sweat stains on her body, Dixie came to the poolside wearing a towel. She gently stepped into the water of the hot spring pool, and there were layers of ripples on the surface of the water. After a while, a comfortable feeling spreads all over the body. The feeling of being wrapped in warm hot water is wonderful. Just enjoying it, several girls came in at the door. The yard suddenly became noisy. Suddenly, a small figure passed through the mist and floated into the pool. Paimon. Don't go straight into the pool without a shower. Wow. It's so comfortable. Travelers, come here quickly. Yingmei sighed helplessly. Paimon did the same when Inajima and Yaemiko were soaking in the hot springs. According to the normal order, it should be rinsed first before entering the pool. Hey? Dixie, are you here so early? Yeah, he. Dixie's face was full of enjoyment. You know, it's hard to take a bath in the desert, let alone such a refreshing hot spring bath. What? Is Dixie here? When Yingmei heard this, her face was filled with a smirk, and she wished she could climb directly into the pool from the wheelchair. She has long wanted to have a good communication with Dixie. Clatter. Thank you, Dina Zed. You are my hero. Yingmei's eyes were full of gratitude, because Dina Sendai was willing to help her take a shower. She was slapped by the god of righteous opportunity, and now her whole body is sore, and many places are not healed. Come to the bubble bath, but also to heal faster. Originally, I asked that guy Payman, but as soon as he came in, Paimon went to play on his own. Fortunately, there is Dina Zed. You're welcome, traveler. Let me help you get into the water. At this time, Kayla's voice came to his ears. Thank you, Kay. Woohoo! As soon as Yingmei turned her head, her eyes lit up. She glanced up and down at Kayla's charming body. Her eyes were full of greed. Kayla blushed pretty, and hurriedly put on a bath towel. I don't know why, but I always feel that there is something BT in this traveler's eyes, very much like Ixia. She had seen the letter from Amber before, mentioning Yingmei. It is said that Ying is an honorary knight in Mond, and she drove away the wind dragon, so powerful. But after seeing himself, Kazuna became a little worried. Amber won't be seen by travelers too. Kaylai thought, if things had already happened, he would always feel a little sour. Hehehe, Kaylai, don't be shy, let me help you see if the development is normal at. Just as they were talking, Aretha and the others also came in. We have just made an appointment to soak in the hot spring together after dinner. Seeing the beautiful girls with only a thin bath towel around them, Yingmei's face was full of joy. Hey. Hey. She suddenly felt so happy here. Although these girls are all Yexi's wives, it doesn't prevent her from feasting her eyes here. Looking around, Yingmei suddenly admired Yexi's eyes. The girls here are all graceful, each with their own characteristics, and they are so beautiful. It's like being in a world of bliss. Dixia hehehe, I'm here Dixia. After being carried into the water by Alisha, Yingmei came over with a smirk on her face. Just like treating Lei Xingying during the day, he buried his head in rubbing against Dixia's chest. But Dixia didn't care at all. After all, Ixia did the same thing before. So the traveler is also a female wolf. Yes, I didn't notice it during the day. Be careful and stay away. Hearing the whispers of the girls next to her, Yingmei smiled. We are all girls, what are we afraid of? Just as he was talking, a slight voice came from everyone's ears. SHHH. Dixia's ears are the most sensitive. She made a silent gesture, and the surroundings suddenly became quiet. When the sound was small, the sound became more and more obvious. Could it be? That's right. It must be. It seems to be next door. Lord Tree King, she actually. I gonna go see. Several girls tiptoed to the bamboo fence, peeking at the scenery on the other side through the tiny gaps above. Unfortunately, the mist was so thick that we couldn't see anything. The girls sighed again and again. Is this an intellectual mature woman who has lived for thousands of years? That's great. It's so bold. I thought Lord Tree King was the shy type of Zijiabu, the same type as Kaylai. Kaylai's face was blushing, and he didn't know whether it was from embarrassment or from the hot water. Alayusha on the side was very calm. What's the matter? My master and I are still outside this afternoon. You really went to steal it? Before Alisha could finish speaking, Dixia folded her arms and frowned. Cut, anyway, I can sleep soundly at night. Alayusha hugged herself happily, like AST. The two were bickering, when Paymon's exclamation suddenly came from behind. Traveler, what's the matter with you? Why do you have a nosebleed? Wake up, traveler. The girls turned their heads one after another, only to see that Yingmei had already floated on her back in the pool, with a blissful expression of flying to the top of the clouds. What's up with her? Have no idea. Don't be dazed, save people. Yingmei looked at the starry sky with a satisfied face. The backs of the girls bent over just now were still echoing in her mind. So beautiful. Such a beautiful scenery, this life will never forget. Next door. Yexi enjoys a relaxing hot spring time. A translucent panel appeared in front of him. The above display is his current data. Physical strengthening, 58 thunder element power, 57 A Abyss unlock skills, substitute messenger world, the world, absorption, abyss core. Looking at the skills one by one, Yexi looks forward to the new abilities that will be acquired soon. Not long after, an ethereal voice came from his mind. Ding, complete the mission, open branches. Physical strengthening plus 12, congratulations on getting grass elemental power adaptability, grass elemental power plus 17, congratulations on obtaining the ability vine entangling. Vine entangling, you can manipulate the vines to bind the target. The more you struggle, the tighter the binding effect will be. Note, unless the host orders, the vines will not break. Congratulations on obtaining the ability intermediate healing. Intermediate healing, use the ability to heal yourself or others, the healing speed is faster, and it is used for serious injuries. Seeing this, Tian was very satisfied with this reward. Although vine entangling seems useless, the following intermediate healing is really good. It seems to be an upgraded version of primary treatment. Most importantly, he obtained the adaptability of grass elemental force. So far, he has acquired the adaptability of the 3 elemental forces of thunder, wind, and grass. In addition, there is also the adaptability of the abyss force. The 4 powers can completely put him in a state of invincibility. Just as he was thinking, the sound of the system came again. Abyss power plus 18 hint, new abyss abilities can be unlocked. Yexi's eyes lit up. You can actually unlock another abyss ability. Whether it was substitute or drain or abyss core, they were all crucial means for him. He is looking forward to what the next power will be. Without thinking too much, he directly opened the abyss power panel, and then a query window popped up on the panel. Do you want to unlock new abilities? Whether. After Yexi selects yes, the dendrogram begins to light up the 4th branch. Congratulations on unlocking give. Empower, release the power of the abyss to the target, and endow the power of the abyss to the target. Hint, the abyssal power endowed to the target will consume a lot, and the target will gain abyssal power and be strengthened. Seeing this, Yexi couldn't help frowning. This ability of give seems to be the exact opposite of drain. But from his understanding, this endowed ability is a bit dark. If he applies this kind of power to outsiders, he may be able to directly turn them into Kaihokia people, or abyss mages. To ordinary people, the power of the abyss is a terrifying virus. He felt that it was better to use this ability sparingly. Even, it can be sealed up. Just as he was thinking so, the system beeped again. There are rewards. The rewards I got this time are a bit too much. Is it because the other party is the king of the Great Mercy Tree? Congratulations on getting the controllable relic heavy machine *10 relic heavy machine, an ancient humanoid combat machine. The form is similar to the Ruins Guard, but the form is more distorted and the power is stronger. Get energy core *1 energy core, inject the power of the abyss into the core to obtain power energy. The relic heavy machine, this mechanical leaf is well known. To put it bluntly, it is the enhanced type of relic guard. In addition to growing in size, the core of the head can be used to release lasers, which has amazing destructive power. Obtaining 10 such machines is definitely comparable to 50 relic guards. However, this did not attract him. What is really eye-catching is the can map the core. He is very curious, what is the so-called power energy? As if he had sensed the question in his heart, an answer window popped up on the translucent panel of the system. Power energy, through the core, the target will obtain an energy source to maintain continuous operation. Yexi suddenly realized. This is the same as the relic guard. The power of the relic guard is to function through the core of the head. What is outrageous is that these ruins have been guarded for more than 500 years, and they are still operational. This means that the energy provided by the core very much. So, what if you put this kind of core on a train? How about putting it on an airplane? Before that, he was still thinking that if planes and trains were used to connect Shikoku, it would consume a lot of energy. First, where to find oil? The train can burn charcoal, use a steam engine, or use thunder element slime to power it. How can a plane fly without fuel? Now with this core, he can completely inject the power of the abyss into the core, and then install it on the train. That way, the train can keep running. Same goes for airplanes. Now he has stronger confidence in the matter of infrastructure construction. Just as he was thinking, a soft voice suddenly came from his ears. Yexi, has our consciousness space integration improved? Hearing the question from King Desishu, Yexi checked the value displayed by the system. Hint, it is detected that the Desishu King's continuous excitement value is +11, and the comfort value is +22. The degree of fusion has increased to 5.23%. It actually increased by 5% in one breath. It's a considerable improvement. That's good. King Desishu heaved a sigh of relief. She thought that her emotions would not be too high, but she didn't expect this kind of thing to be unexpectedly addictive. Now it can not only improve the efficiency of clearing taboo knowledge, but also make the body feel happy, which is the best of both worlds. Then I'll go back first, let's go back to the room and continue. Hey, okay. After finishing speaking, King Desishu wrapped himself in a thin bath towel and left the hot spring pool. His graceful back gradually disappeared into the mist. I have to say that being in the hot spring is a new experience and very refreshing. It seems that I can try it with Dixie and the others in the future. After soaking for a while, Yexi changed her clothes and left the hot spring. But as soon as he came out, he saw the girls next door, surrounded by Yingmei who was lying on the side, at a loss for what to do. What's up with her? Hearing Yexi's question, Kei hesitated and said, it seems to be dizzy. What kind of dizziness? In fact, I was too excited, because seeing our, Dixie. Before Dixie could finish speaking, her mouth was covered by Kei and Dina Zede next to her. Yexi felt a little baffled, and asked, what do you see? No, nothing. Master, don't ask. Kei looked awkward, her pretty face flushed. Well, I don't know what happened, but Yexi came in front of Yingmei, stretched out his hand for an indestructible grip, and pressed Yingmei's forehead. Intermediate treatment. He activated the newly obtained skill, and a faint green fluorescent light appeared on the palm of his hand. Obviously, the radiance of intermediate treatment is much better than that of primary treatment. In the light, there seemed to be little golden stars, which were even more dazzling. Wang how soon, Yingmei's nosebleed stopped gushing out. Moreover, some bruises on her body disappeared visibly to the naked eye, revealing her fair and tender skin. These are all traces left after the fracture. When the bruise dissipates, it means that the basic repair of the bone is completed. This effect surprised the girls. Master, has your healing ability improved? Yes. Such a deep wound has been healed. It's amazing. In the future, even if you get hurt, you don't have to be afraid, just be touched by the master. It's so convenient. Oh? Then if I intentionally and accidentally get hurt, can I get the master's caress? Alyosha, you are such a clever little soul, evening E-degree Alyosha, remember what I said. Your body belongs to me, don't let it hurt. He couldn't stand it anymore. Don't believe it, maybe the girl Aretha will really do such a thing. Yes, sir. Alyosha was very happy in her heart. She could feel that Yexi really cared about her and loved her. The girls around were suddenly envious. At this time, Yingmei on the side suddenly opened her eyes. Dixie. After saying that, Yingmei threw herself into Dixie's arms, and then she had a smirk on her face. The Gilded Brigade is so good. Join the Gilded Brigade and embrace a better life. Hehehe. Yexi frowned. Why does this yellow-haired idiot feel like he's drunk too much? Hey, Dixie is my wife, not your wife, so be sober. With a grasp of indestructibility, he snatched his younger sister back and boasted. Hearing Yexi's words, Dixie felt much happier. Such domineering words are very useful to her. Yingmei crossed her arms and snorted, stingy, I'm going to sleep with Dixie tonight. Yexi sighed. Never mind. Anyway, they are all girls, nothing more than taking advantage of this yellow-haired idiot. Suddenly his eyes lit up, and he joked, you can hug Dixie, but I'll hug your Paimon. Paimon, hey. Chapter 88. After hearing Yexi's words, the audience let out an exclamation. I can't get in. No matter how I think about it, I can't get in. Paimon stomped his feet in the air and hid behind Dina's side. Ha 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 ha. Yexi laughed, okay, go drink the milk in the refrigerator, it will be very comfortable to have a bottle after soaking in the hot spring. After speaking, he returned to the house. Is there milk? Great, I heard that drinking a cup before going to bed is good for the skin. I'll get it. Get ready for bed after drinking. Yingmei hugged Dixie and said, Dixie, take me away. Seeing Yingmei's appearance, Sater and Dina Zede felt very helpless, and even Aya felt ashamed. Paimon, traveler, did she do the same in Mond? Hearing Kayla's inquiry, Paimon spread his hands helplessly and said, just get used to it. This guy, every time he sees a beautiful young lady, he goes up to harass him like a moron. When Mond was around, she was surrounded by Miss Lisa and Eula all day long, and at one point wanted Eula to put a collar on her for a walk. When we got to Liu, what did you say that you wanted to be taken care of by Miss Ningguang, and then be Keqing's wife? Later, he smuggled to Anajima, and he insisted on becoming Shen Li Linghua's dog. Being played around by Ye Shenzi in Yingxiang Mountain, entered the castle tower and said that he wanted to be the sword scabbard of General Raiden. Until now, Samura has come, he must be greedy for Dixie. Hearing Paimon's words, the girls were speechless. They thought Yingmei regarded Dixie as true love, but they didn't expect Yingmei to fall in love with each other. Ah, this. The deeds of the traveler are really wonderful. HHHH. Although I don't know who the girls in Paimon's mouth are, but when the dog walks around with a collar, it's too as expected of a traveler, so she is such a person. Kay-Lai asked, what about Ember? Ember, she's so enthusiastic. She even mentioned you to us. The traveler doesn't have much experience with Ember, but I heard that Ember and Ms. Eula have a very good relationship, and they live in the same dormitory. Originally, I heard that Ember and the traveler had nothing to do, but when I heard the latter sentence, I was immediately discouraged. Obviously I came first. The thought of Ember and Eula in the same room makes Kay-Lai feel like crying. The other side. When Yexi returned to the house, he saw that the king of the Great Mercy Tree had been waiting quietly. He got into bed without saying a word. Such a gentle big sister, who can refuse? A week flies by. In the early morning, the sun shines on the earth, dispelling the mist covering the rocky abyss. Danja Cliff. Looking at the deep mine, Keqing frowned slightly. Passing through this mine is the Daokang forest of Sumeru. Ganyu, I have a question. Ganyu, who lowered her head, was a little guilty, and said falteringly, what's the problem? Well, Euro. Seeing Ganyu being so embarrassed, Keqing became more and more confused. Didn't you say that Mr. Yexi is a disciple of the Xian family? But, why don't you go to Jueyanjian to find the disciples of the Xian family, but go to Sumi? Ganyu's heart is broken. A few days ago, she talked with Guang about the infrastructure consultant according to the way Zhenjun Liuyun borrowed the wind. The result, obviously, is to disagree. Ning Guang would never allow an outsider to intervene in Liu's important affairs. However, after she mentioned the bargaining chip of the mechanism cooking magic machine, Ning Guang's attitude seemed to loosen slightly. After several days of unremitting efforts, Ning Guang finally made a compromise. Unless he ensures that the magical cooking mechanism of the agency can bring benefits to Liu, this matter has yet to be considered. These are Ning Guang's original words, and then Yuheng Keqing is asked to follow her to meet Yexi first. Along the way, she was praying, hoping that Yexi would really have some ability and be recognized by Ning Guang and Keqing. Unexpectedly, before arriving at Sumi, she was stopped by Keqing. Yes. Immortal disciples are not taken with them on the mountain, so why go to Sumeru? Just like Shenhe, he is often in the mountains. She thought for a while, and suddenly realized that she knew almost nothing about Yexi. As a result, she has absolutely no idea how to explain the problem. Actually, this apprentice of Zhenjun Liuyun is very talented, and he was employed by Sumeru order, yes. After finishing speaking, Ganyu looked at Keqing nervously, already worried in her heart. What should she do if she went to Sumeru City? If Yexi has no reputation in Sumeru, it will be revealed when someone inquires about it. Ganyu's embarrassment made Keqing's eyes full of doubts. She was very surprised. Usually Ganyu was serious and confident in her work, but why she became hesitant this time? Originally, she wanted to ask more questions, but seeing Ganyu's appearance, she still kept the question in her heart. Then let's move on. With that said, Keqing entered the mine. Ganyu breathed a sigh of relief and followed in. This cave is a path leading to Sumeru. Although it is possible to go directly to Sumeru, the terrain around the stratum rock giant abyss is dangerous, and the mine is at risk of collapse. So it has not been open to ordinary people. Walked for 10 minutes in the dark cave. Finally saw a spot of light far away. That is the export. After walking for a few more minutes, Keqing and Ganyu finally walked out of the cave. In an instant, it suddenly became clear. As far as the eye can see, there are all thick trees that 4 or 5 people can't hug. The towering trees almost covered the sky, but fortunately, the leaves were not so dense, and the golden sunlight fell, and the fallen leaves on the ground were full of mottled. Wow, so beautiful. Keqing couldn't help letting out a soft exclamation. Walking in this forest covered with fallen leaves, the fragrance of trees is floating in the air. The environment of the rainforest has actually improved so much. The last time Ganyu came to Sumeru, she remembered seeing the grey forest as soon as she came. The woods are filled with the terrible power of withering, which is said to be called the dead zone. I thought that I would see a more serious scene this time, but I didn't expect it to be so beautiful. Ganyu, let's go. If we waste too much time, we won't be able to finish things. Keqing was only attracted by the scenery in front of her for a moment, then she became serious again. Ganyu nodded and walked towards the depths of the forest. Help! There are monsters. After walking for a few minutes, Keqing and Ganyu suddenly heard the cry for help. They looked at each other, immediately quickened their pace, and rushed towards the direction of the voice. In the bushes, they saw several slimes bouncing around and chasing a woman. The woman's hand was already burned, and she shrank to the corner. The situation was very dangerous. Don't be afraid. Come this way. Keqing threw a lightning wedge at the group of slimes, and the next moment she charged in front of the woman, chopping several slimes into liquid. Ganyu on the side helped the woman up. You are seriously injured. Do you have any healing potions? Thanks. If you hadn't saved me, I would be in danger. The woman breathed a sigh of relief, and her face was full of joy for the rest of her life. If you have this kind of injury, just bear with it and go to Huachenguo to find Miss Khaenri'ah, and it will be healed immediately. Ganyu was slightly taken aback, a little puzzled. A burn of this degree would take at least a month to heal if there was no healing potion. How could it be all right now? Moreover, it sounds like that Miss Cai knows healing techniques. My name is Kerriya, and I am a scholar of the Milun School of the Holy Order. Are you from Liu? Seeing Ganyu in Keqing's clothes, Kerriya recognized them. If you want to enter the city, you can go to Huachenguo with me, and the rangers will take you into the city. Scholar from the Holy Order. Keqing's eyes lit up when she heard the words, and said with a smile, what a coincidence, we happen to be going to the Academy of Teaching Orders. By the way, Kerriya, do you know Mr. Yeji in the Order Academy? As soon as these words came out, Ganyu's face turned pale. Yexi works in the Holy Order Academy, she made up nonsense. If you suddenly ask a person from the Holy Order, how can the other party know? Unexpectedly, I have just entered Dao Jinglan, and I am about to reveal my secrets. She hurriedly said, Keqing, there are many schools in the Holy Order Academy, and Kerriya probably doesn't know them. I know it. Kerriya smiled and said, Master Yexi doesn't work in the academy. Ganyu covered her face with her hands, feeling a burst of despair. It's over, now it's completely revealed she didn't expect to be so unlucky, and the person who was rescued was a scholar of the Holy Order Academy. This is just now Dao Jinglan, Kachi. What if Keqing had to return to Liuport immediately after knowing the truth? Just as she was thinking, Kerriya suddenly said again, Master Yexi is so great, he is in existence above the Holy Order. Did you come here after hearing about Master Yexi's deeds? Unexpectedly, Master Yexi's reputation has spread to Liuport. I seem to be marrying Master Yexi. If I can be Master Yexi's concubine, I will be very happy. Seeing Kerriya's fascinated look, Keqing was stunned. What kind of man can actually make a girl say that she wants to be a concubine? An existence above the Holy Order? Although she is the Li's 7 stars, she also has an understanding of the surrounding countries. The highest administrative organ of Sumeru is the Teaching Council, and at the top is the god of Sumeru, Little Auspicious Grass King. Even higher than the Holy Order, isn't that below the gods and above humans? Ganyu was also taken aback, feeling as if there was no stuffing. She thought that the work of the Holy Order that she casually said was already very good, but she never thought that Yexi was actually a person who was above the Holy Order. It's no wonder that even the Emperor values a euro him, so he's so famous. Thinking of this, Ganyu breathed a sigh of relief. While talking, everyone walked out along the path, all the way up to Huachenguo. Miss Kerriya, what's wrong with you? You're hurt so badly. I'll go to Khaenri'ah to help you heal immediately. Seeing this, the ranger Amir hurried into the treehouse. After a while, Khaenri'ah rushed over. Miss Kerriya, are you hurt? I'm going to trouble you again, Khaenri'ah. Kerriya explained, I was doing research in the woods and accidentally provoked the slime in the bush. If it weren't for these 2 guests from Liu to help me, I might not be able to come back. Hey? It's so serious. Khaenri'ah shifted his gaze to Ganyu and Keqing beside him, and subconsciously exclaimed, good, so beautiful. If you look closely, you can see that the dresses of these 2 girls are very stunning. Slim, graceful. The appearance and figure are very eye-catching no matter where they are placed. Most importantly, they all have the eyes of God. You know, the owners of the God's eye are very rare, but at this moment there are 2 at once. He is beautiful, and he is the chosen one, so his status is absolutely extraordinary. Hi, hello, welcome to Sumeru. I'm the ranger here, Khaenri'ah, nice to meet you. Although I was a little nervous, I didn't bite my tongue anyway. Hello, my name is Keqing, and this is Ganyu. Miss Khaenri'ah, can you take us to the city? Kerriya on the side explained, Khaenri'ah, the two of them want to see Master Yeze. You guys are so lucky. Miss Khaenri'ah is Master Yexi's favorite little daughter-in-law, it's enviable. Khaenri'ah blushed instantly, feeling very ashamed. Keqing and Ganyu were also very surprised. Unexpectedly, as soon as he arrived in Sumeru, he met Yexi's wife. Isn't this a coincidence? Khaenri'ah, can you please take us to meet Yexi? I'll heal Miss Aria's injury first, and then I'll take you there. Khaenri'ah was a little confused. She felt that the two girls in front of her were so beautiful, if she saw Yexi, she might also be conquered by Yexi's charm. At that time, there might be two more sisters in the family. Even though she thought so, she would not make things difficult for Keqing and Ganyu. She can tell which is more important. While thinking, Alai helped Kerriya to heal the fire slime's burn. Primary treatment swish Khaenri'ah's fair little hand glowed with a faint green fluorescence. It was almost visible to the naked eye, and the redness of Aria's arms subsided immediately. Ganyu's beautiful eyes are full of disbelief. Miss Khaenri'ah actually knows how to use healing. Hearing Keqing's exclamation, Khaenri'ah nodded and focused on helping Kerriya to heal. What an obvious effect. Ganyu and Keqing were very surprised. They also know more or less about healing techniques. Rumor has it that there is a priest in the Westwind Church in Mond who can heal people. But the effect of the healing technique is definitely not as powerful as Khaenri'ah's healing technique. In less than a minute, Aria's burns were fully healed. Amazing. Keqing immediately wanted to solicit her. If such an ability comes to Liaport, it will definitely be reused. Instead of being in Sumeru, be a little ranger. Alright. Miss Aria, if you want to study the subject again, ask Mr. Amir to go with you. Why I see, thank you Khaenri'ah. After Aria left, Khaenri'ah said, it was sunny and rainy at that moment, I will take you to Sumeru City. Please, Khaenri'ah. Khaenri'ah went back to the house to tidy up, and then left Huachinguo with Keqing and Ganyu. On the way, she walked very slowly. Keqing saw that Khaenri'ah was walking in a strange way, and couldn't help being very puzzled. Khaenri'ah, is your leg hurt? Hey. Nothing. It's a little bit, then why don't you use healing to heal yourself? If you use healing, you will be cured right away. No, it's not a serious injury, it's okay. Khaenri'ah's cheeks were pink, because his heart was full of shame. Of course, she can be cured by primary treatment. However, if it returns to its usual state, wouldn't it be as if the good times yesterday had never happened? This feeling was given to her by Yexi, so it is also a kind of happiness to experience this strange feeling. The heavenly arm pond is ahead, and we will soon arrive at Sumeru City. Worried about Keqing's questioning, Khaenri'ah changed the subject. As he said that, his eyes suddenly became empty. Finally left the rainforest. In the distance, a towering giant tree came into view. That is Sumeru City. Chapter 89. Keqing, as long as he can come, I can do anything. Sky Arm Pool. Coming out of the deep forest of Daokeng Forest, seeing this clear pool water will give people a feeling of washing the soul. When you get here, you are not far from Sumeru City. Seeing Sumi City getting closer, Keqing was worried that she would not see Khaenri'ah after entering the city, so she couldn't help asking another question in her heart. Khaenri'ah, just now Miss Aria said that you are Mr. Yei's concubine. Yes. Khaenri'ah nodded, thinking of Aria's words just now, he felt a little shy. But, Khaenri'ah, you are so outstanding and have powerful healing skills, why are you willing to be a concubine? This is what Keqing doesn't understand the most. Let's not talk about anything else, as far as the conditions of Zhongxiai are concerned. Zijiabito looks so beautiful, a girl like an elf. Liu is definitely a beautiful woman, and there is a long line of people who propose marriage. Moreover, Khaenri'ah has the god's eye of the grass element hanging on his body, and he is the chosen child of heaven. In addition, it also has such a powerful healing technique. With such conditions, Liu's status is absolutely extraordinary. But Khaenri'ah was an ordinary ranger in Daokenglan, and he was willing to marry someone as a concubine. You know, the status of concubines is very low. In Liu, if someone becomes a concubine, either the family conditions are very poor, or their own conditions are very poor. After all, if you are a concubine, you will be discriminated against by your surroundings. She believed that it should be the same in Sumeru. Keqing. This isn't polite. Ganyu's eyes were full of apology. Keqing came to her senses and hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to belittle you, Khaenri'ah. Khaenri'ah shook his head with a smile. I don't mind, you don't know Master Yexi, so you think it's not worth it for me to be a concubine. But, Master, he is very gentle and treats me very, very well. He cured my devil scale disease and gave me the courage to live. Even if the Master didn't fall in love with me at that time, I still couldn't do without him. Even my healing technique was given to me by the Master. With the Master, I am very happy. Hearing Khaenri'ah's words, Ganyu and Keqing's faces were full of disbelief. Cure the demon scale. Teach others the power of healing. How can this be? Ganyu is aware of the magic scale disease. This kind of disease is terminally ill, and it is absolutely impossible to cure it. She couldn't believe that such a healthy little girl in front of her had suffered from scrofula before. And the rare ability of healing was actually obtained from Yexi. This is even more incredible. In this way, they want to see who Yexi is even more. Khaenri'ah's words also made Keqing stop thinking about recruiting Khaenri'ah. After all, with the kindness of saving lives, it is impossible to recruit Kcai to his goal. Just as they were talking, they had already arrived at Sumeru City. Today's city is extremely lively, tens of thousands of Sumeru people gather in the city, and even many desert people can be seen. It can be said that there is a sea of A euro people, and the alley is empty. Sumi City is so lively. Even more lively than Lai Port. Keqing looked around and couldn't help but exclaim. Lai explained, actually, it's not like this every day. Today is the first preaching day after Sumi's reform. Preach day? Change. Because Liu and Sumi haven't had much contact with each other for 100 years, they are far behind in terms of intelligence and news. At present, Liu's intelligence organization is completely unaware of Sumi's transformation. Lai briefly explained. The preaching day is the change of various levels of Sumeru, and a notice is issued to the people. For example, the list of council members of the Holy Order, and the appointment of great sages. Then the little auspicious grass king will come forward and tell about the future development direction and the preparations that the people should make. After hearing this explanation, Keqing nodded. It's somewhat similar to our invitation to Xiandian. The previous invitation to Xiandian was that Emperor Yan Wang appeared and told everyone the direction of efforts for the next year. So, where are we going to meet Yexi? Master, he will also give a speech today, so we need to wait for a while. Lai looked around for a while. I don't know where the content of the lecture has gone. After everything is over, I will take you to see the master. Good. Hearing this, Keqing and Ganyu became even more curious. What kind of status is it that you can preach on the same stage with the gods on such an important day? Just thinking about it, voices of discussion came from all around. The Great Sage of the Holy Order seems to have been announced, and it seems that Clerk Alhazen has temporarily assumed the post of Great Sage. Secretary Alhazen? It's him. I hope the new Great Sage can guide the Academy. Don't worry, with Lord Grass God here, nothing will go wrong. While everyone was discussing in full swing, shouts suddenly came from a distance. Master Yexi is about to speak. Come quickly. As soon as the words came out, the people in the whole street started to move. It's Master Yexi. He must have something to say. Go and listen, maybe there is something big to announce. Wait for me. Seeing the commotion around her, Keqing also became interested. Sumi's recent changes are important information for Lai's 7 stars. Now that you're here, let's find out more. Cole, can you take us with you? I want to hear the content of the speech. Okay, it's on the square in front, I'll take you there. Lai came to the square with Keqing and Ganyu. I saw a high platform in the distance, and Yexi was standing on the high platform at this time. So, the people of the desert should also be treated fairly. It is reasonable to cancel the various restrictions on the people of the desert in Sumeru. Yexi's words hadn't finished yet, and cheers erupted from the whole square. Especially the people in the desert raised their arms and shouted, even with tears in their eyes. Over the past 100 years, the status of desert people has plummeted, and they have been increasingly excluded. Especially the order of the last great sages are rejected 99% of the deserters. Now that their status has been restored, they are all completely moved. The villagers in Aru village were elated and praised Yexi's wisdom again and again. Candace, the guardian of Aru village, also looked at Yexi on the stage thoughtfully. The last time she came to Sumi, she helped Yexi complete the plan to stop the great sage. After the plan was completed, Yexi told her that the treatment gap between the rainforest and the desert would be improved. At the beginning, she just took it as a polite remark, but she didn't expect it to actually come true. This made her so happy. And seeing Dixie is so happy, she also felt happy and envious. On stage, Yexi made a quiet gesture and continued, children in the desert should also be educated. For this reason, I will use my personal ability to build schools in the city, so that children in the rainforest and desert can go to school and gain wisdom. As soon as this news was released, it immediately attracted a lot of discussion. It must be very difficult for children in the desert to come to the rainforest so far away. Yes, if there is a sandstorm on the road, it will be very dangerous. Anyway, at least the children can go to school and survive in the city. But if this continues, there will be fewer and fewer people in the desert. Don't say that. This is the kindness of Master Yexi. What people are worried about is also within Yexi's expectations. He was not surprised, but said again, I understand everyone's concerns. So, I have a proposal. I want to improve the transportation between the rainforest and the desert, and use the train transportation method to continuously transport the people of the rainforest and the desert. Taking Aru village as the starting point in the desert, and taking Sumeru city as the ending point. At that time, it will only take 1 hour for everyone to travel from Aru village to Sumeru city. As soon as this remark came out, the entire square was in an uproar. Everyone was stunned. 1 hour? How is this possible? My god. From Aru village to Sumeru city, it would take a whole day to walk. It takes half a day for a pack beast. This train is so much faster than a pack beast. If it is really possible to come here in an hour, children can definitely use this tool to come to Keqing every day. Not only the children, but even the trade is 1,000 times easier. What the hell is train? There was a commotion below. Even a group of scholars in the Holy Order were talking about it. Especially the scholars of the Milun school, those who study institutions and buildings, they all have professional knowledge. It is incredible to hear that it takes 1 hour to travel from the desert to Sumeru. Master, is this possible? Could it be through the flying device? No, Master Yexi said it was a car, but a car pulled by a pack animal is very fast. What kind of noodles are used for? Train. Standing on the side is the new sage of Milun sect, Dutterman. That's right, he is Ixie's mentor, a very old Hebantu, who is also very old, and has a high reputation in the academy. In fact, Dutterman doesn't believe this kind of thing, but Ixie mentioned the train to him yesterday, and the most important thing is that it shows that this is Yexi's work. Today he came to witness the miracle. He has been researching Khaenri'ah technology all his life. If it was designed by Yexi, then maybe it is a technological creation of Khaenri'ah. If it is Khaenri'ah technology, then this kind of thing is possible. Among the crowd, Keqing and Ganyu were also very curious about what the so-called train was. If it's fast, it must be some kind of machinery. Zero looking for flowers. On the high platform, Yexi has heard the following week of questions. He walked up to the stage and raised his hand. Abyss core with a thought, a huge black cube instantly appeared behind him. As the shape of the cube changes, an incomparably huge force is released. For a moment, everyone on the field felt a coercion of strength. This kind of power makes people feel the soul tremble. Ordinary people are sweating coldly, but people with the eyes of gods also feel a strong sense of crisis. What a powerful oppression. Keqing suddenly felt that she was extremely small, like an ant under Yexi's feet. Ganyu, how can this power feel more terrifying than the coercion brought to me by the emperor? Ganyu on the side was also full of horror at this time. She knew that there was nothing wrong with Keqing's feeling, because Yexi exuded the momentum has reached the same level as the gods. Even her fairy beast felt shivering. This kind of power has definitely reached the level of a god. Just when everyone was terrified, a black light shot straight towards the ground. The crowd was frightened and hurriedly backed away, leaving an open space. In this empty place, a phantom suddenly appeared in the void. Slowly, the outline was gradually outlined. Next, an incredible scene happened. The phantom became more and more solid, and various strange lines appeared on the surface. It finally turned into a real thing. A mechanical locomotive appeared in everyone's sight. The whole body of the car is made of steel, with a huge energy core inlaid on the top. This ability to conjure a huge machine out of thin air directly made tens of thousands of people in the audience hold their breath. The scholars of the Holy Order even began to doubt life. How is this possible? Have you turned air into a real substance? How did you do it? What kind of ability is this? It doesn't look like elemental power. It's definitely not elemental power. Elemental power can create rock creations and ice creations, but it can't create steel creations. Even if it is created, it is impossible to have various functions large machinery. This is illogical. What is the constituent material of this machine? How could it appear out of thin air? Teacher, I suddenly feel that the knowledge we have learned is fundamentally wrong. There is no principle to explain this at all. The so-called layman watches the excitement, while the insider watches the way. The more professional the scholar is, the more he feels that all the knowledge he has learned has been subverted. Most of the people were just extremely surprised, nothing else. In the crowd, Ganyu and Keqing who saw this scene were all stunned in place. Ganyu, are you sure that Mr. Yexi is a disciple of the Xian family? Why do I feel that he is even more powerful than the Xian family? Keqing's eyes were full of shock. When Ningguang found her, he had a detailed talk with her about it. As long as Yexi can take out the magic mechanism cooking machine, it is considered to be up to the standard. As a result, now Yexi directly built an incomprehensible vehicle on the spot. It was made out of thin air. It's completely impossible to understand what's going on. In the face of this kind of ability, what is the magic cooking machine? However, Ganyu suddenly realized at this time. She suddenly understood why the emperor valued Yexi so much. Because creation out of thin air belongs to the authority of the gods. The rock king Daijun can condense rock spears and sky stars. In addition, the emperor also pulled down 10 temple mountains and caused important tasks. The kite bird was made of jade and rock, and when it was formed, it flew away from the earth and soared to the sky above the clouds. Whether Daijun made the kite or Yexi made this huge machine, there is a similarity between them. The reason for inviting Yexi to Liu is probably because I hope that this new god can protect Liu Port as a human being. Ganyu. Hearing Keqing's questioning, Ganyu faltered and said, maybe. Liu Yunzhenjun is stronger deliberately say that Yexi belongs to her disciple. She can only round up the words like this. I'm sorry, Master Liu Yun. She and Zhenjun Liu Yun borrowed the wind before, never thought that Yeji would have the calendar star of the gods. Keqing nodded thoughtfully upon hearing the words. She had met true monarch Liu Yun borrowing wind. That woman was proud and arrogant. If she saw Yexi's terrifying talent, maybe it was because of her face that she would say something like an apprentice. In short, she understood one thing in her heart. If Yexi is invited to Liu Port, Liu will definitely develop by leaps and bounds. Ganyu. We are going to invite Mr. Yexi to Liu Port. As long as he agrees, let me do anything. Chapter 90. Nice to meet you, Wang Xiaomei and the Arc Star of the Liu 7 Stars. After Yexi spoke, he left the high platform. Nashida came in front of the crowd. Because he was not tall enough, he was blocked by the railing, and only a bunch of dull hair was exposed. Hey! Stop talking. It seems that Master Grass God is coming up. Where is Lord Grass God? Am I blind? I shouldn't be. Yesterday I saw the rooster playing basketball. In a sense, you may be really blind. When everyone was discussing, Xianyol moved a tiptoe platform, Nashida stood on it, and finally showed her head. This time, the audience fell silent. Although I really wanted to laugh, everyone held back tacitly. All the people of Sumeru. I am the little auspicious grass king. According to Master Yexi's speech just now, the senior management of the Holy Order Institute will soon carry out related construction activities. When the construction of the railway is completed, the train can be officially opened to traffic. I hope everyone can pay attention to this matter. Once the train starts running, whether it is carrying people or goods, it can be circulated quickly. Follow-up site planning, the Academy of Holy Orders will make an announcement. In addition, the Holy Order has decided that the first railway station will be planned around Sumeru City. This site will become an important transportation hub connecting Liu and Mond in the future. At the same time, the Holy Order will focus on the transportation hub to develop the first area named Khaenri'ah Economic Development Zone. As soon as these words came out, the audience immediately boiled up. Connect Liu and Mond. Can this really be done? 153? Such a great distance. My god, if trains can be used to transport goods, then this line will become a golden road. Buy wine from Mond, or from Liu, and become a merchant, and you will get rich. So, in the future, the fine wine and ore of our Sumeru will be very cheap, right? A miracle. This is nothing short of a miracle. Long live Master Yexi. The entire square was full of praise. In front of the locomotive surrounded by crowds, an old scholar was desperately pushing forward in the crowd. Give way, this is the sage of the Milun sect. Don't hurt the sage. As soon as these words came out, the people around gave way to Derman one after another. Dalman lay down on the locomotive excitedly and watched carefully, trembling with excitement. That's right. That's right. This is the technological power of Khaenri'ah. It's the crystallization of Khaenri'ah civilization. Master Yexi, you are the real wise man. The old man pressed his old face against the locomotive, as if he was more obsessed than seeing his first love. This made Dalman's students cover their faces. What a shame. Master Sage, it won't happen, it won't happen. Several students hurriedly supported Darman and left the crowd. Seeing this scene, the surroundings suddenly exploded. Even the sages of the Milun school are so excited. Master Yexi is too powerful. Not only is the force strong, but even the wisdom surpasses the sage. How can there be such a perfect person? It's like a combination of the Desert Red King and the Tree King. Full of wisdom and superior force, the other side. Wisdom Palace. On the conference table, Yexi sat at the main seat, one on the left and one on the right, respectively the Great Mercy Tree King and the Little Auspicious Grass King. Elhisan, who became the acting Great Sage, was in a further back position. This was followed by members of the newly formed Senate. Several sages are top intellectuals of various universities, not only have IQ, but also EQ. Just seeing the arrangement of the seat, everyone already understood it. However, they still couldn't help being surprised. The god who is Samura can only sit on the side with him. Who is the real master of Sumi, they have already seen at a glance. However, in their hearts, there is no dissatisfaction at all. Instead, they are full of admiration for Yexi. Especially every time I see the living Desisha King appearing beside Yexi. Not long ago, the Little Auspicious Grass King introduced the big Compassion Tree King to them. God knows how surprised they were in their hearts. The greatest grass god who passed away 500 years ago has come back to life. And, Yexi did it. No one has seen the Great Mercy Tree King, but everyone has heard the legend of the Great Mercy Tree King. As long as they are Samura people, they will respect the Great Mercy Tree King. But such a wise god said that she would not lead Samura again. This made everyone present very puzzled. Until now, they get it. The real master of Samura is neither the Great Mercy Tree King nor the Little Auspicious Grass King. It was this stranger. Yexi. The reason why Sumi changed hands was that the people of Sumi couldn't help but mind. But, isn't Yexi, who has the power to revive the gods, more powerful than the Great Mercy Tree King and the Little Auspicious Grass King? There are such people guiding Samura, how could they be dissatisfied? Everyone, what we are going to discuss this time is the construction plan of Khaenri'ah Economic Development Zone. Yexi used the core of the abyss to create a sand table of the Samura map. Everyone's eyes turned to the sand table, suddenly amazed by this miraculous technique. On the sand table, all the plants and trees of Sumi are exactly the same as Sumi. In the northeast direction of Samura City, as a development zone. The train station starts from Aru village, passes through Kawin Station, Chana Garden and reaches the development zone. Yexi introduced the laying of train tracks. The line should cover the important area of Euro Samuru. In addition, it should also connect the port of Ormus. Because Ormus port is also an important trading port, if it is connected to the train, the transportation of goods will be more convenient. In this way, the basic requirements of freight and people transportation are met. In addition, the railway surrounding the development zone will eventually connect the direction of Liu and the direction of Mond. In this way, economic trade will become very frequent in the development zone. Population, merchants, trade. Once developed, shops, entertainment venues, residential areas, and various facilities will be opened in the surrounding area. It won't be long before the Khaenri'ah Economic Development Zone will be developed, and the Mond, Liu, and Samura people can be seen everywhere. And there are Mond's taverns, Liu's high-end jewelry stores, and Samura's fruit supermarkets everywhere. The businessmen who do business here are not short of money, and they will create very considerable profits. This will be the first foothold of Khaenri'ah restoration. After listening to Yexi's narration, the sages were all dumbfounded and stunned. They were all planned by Yexi, so they started to have sweet dreams. It is indeed the idea of a euro maximizing benefits. Elhisan nodded, and analyzed, gather people through transportation, build cities through people flow, gather people from the three countries, and develop economic construction. This is a typical case of urban construction for the Holy Order. If the construction is successful, the experience of accumulating taxes will make the Holy Order make a lot of progress. The sages all boiled at once. I didn't expect this kind of thinking. It's so smooth. It turns out that the city can still develop like this. Master Yexi's wisdom is simply elusive. So it is, so it is. Before, we only thought about building various high-end buildings, and then gathering people, or setting up cards at some kind of gates, and collecting tolls. I didn't expect that the city could be built like this in the Holy Order Academy. The Milun School, one of the 6 schools, is in charge of the building. In order to do a good job in urban construction, the policy of the Academy of Holy Orders is to allow scholars to create gorgeous buildings as assessments for graduation and promotion. Among them, the Kasazale Palace was designed and built by the famous architect Khaenri'ah. However, the magnificent palace did not attract the crowd, but was bought by the big businessman Dali and used as a residence. There are many other things like this, and the Holy Order has never been able to figure out where these people want to live. After listening to Yexi's narration, everyone suddenly realized. Nashida and the Great Mercy Tree King on the side were also lost in thought, full of admiration in their hearts. Even the gods of wisdom are inexperienced in these areas. Not to mention them, even Morux, the Rock King next door, is a problem for urban construction. At first, he lived in Gailawan for farming, but after the Demon God War, he was forced to go to Liuport to start doing business. This is already very far-sighted. But if it was Yexi, he would definitely start to develop Wangshuan into the second largest city after the successful construction of Liuport. That is the trading hub connected to Mond, and now the great sage conquering demons should have almost dealt with the evil spirits. Once it is completed, not only will there be tourists in Mond, but King Keqing will also be able to take care of them. Just as Yexi was thinking, a question came from his ear. But, Master Yexi, there is one more crucial question. Such a huge project will require unpredictable manpower, material and financial resources. I'm afraid it can't be repaired within a few years. Moreover, there will be many monsters along the way, and safety issues cannot be ignored. A&D. The construction of railway tracks in desert areas may be very problematic. Yexi nodded upon hearing the words. It's a good question. First of all, don't worry about the manpower. I can control the Khaenri'ah people and Khaenri'ah thugs along the way, let them serve as labor, and the reward is to provide food. What? As soon as these words came out, the sages stood up all of a sudden. Master Yexi, are you saying that we hire monsters to work? But, how could these monsters reach a deal with humans? Yeah, could it be that these monsters have spiritual intelligence? If that's the case, wouldn't the Khaenri'ah people become a civilization from monsters? Yexi made a silent gesture, and everyone fell silent. In fact, he discovered this by accident. Ever since he got the endowed ability, he had an idea. What will happen if you inject power into a monster that is itself infected by the power of the abyss? So he went to the wild and found a Khaenri'ah man to do the experiment. When he transferred the power of the abyss to the Khaenri'ah man, that Khaenri'ah man suddenly gained great power and opened up his intelligence. This Khaenri'ah person does not have any memory, only has the ability to communicate with people, and can command other Khaenri'ah people who have not opened their spiritual intelligence. So he thought of this method. Empower some Khaenri'ah people and let them command more Khaenri'ah people to form a labor force. There is no doubt that this plan can be successful. Seeing the suspicious eyes around, Yexi explained, I think you all know that Khaenri'ah people, they are the people who believed in Kanria back then. Because of the curse, they lost all their intelligence, and they can no longer change back. We can use them as labor, but don't forget their contribution. That's why the development zone is named after Khaenri'ah. Because this soon-to-be prosperous city was built by the people of Kanria with blood and sweat. That's right. Anyway, I have fallen and lost all my memories, so I can forget the sad past. Compared to attacking passing travelers and passers-by, being attacked by adventurers. It is better to let them become labor force and rely on the instinct of survival to survive. He didn't know if it was the right thing to do, but it was the last thing he could do for the Koreans. After hearing Yexi's words, everyone fell silent immediately. That is to say, are those Khaenri'ah people former compatriots of the master? No wonder it is named after Kerriya. I actually thought that Master Yexi regarded the new area as the territory of Kanria, damn me. History will remember Khaenri'ah people. Master. In fact, when they heard the name Kanria, some people inevitably suspected that it was Yexi who wanted to occupy the territory of Sumi and make it part of Kanria. 1.0 They also think it is reasonable. After all, Yexi has made so many contributions to Sumeru, so he swallowed his anger and did not speak. Hearing Yexi's reasons, the sages were all grateful. Yexi nodded and continued, as for the safety issue and the layout of the desert railway tracks. In terms of safety, the train is hard enough to crush those monsters, and secondly, the head of the train has energy core, which can launch attacks. Desert rail layout, I will reach a cooperation with Liu to collect enough materials to build a viaduct in the desert. Aon village is not far from Kawin station, so it won't take too much time. Just as he was talking, a little beauty suddenly appeared outside the door of the conference room. She knocked on the door and everyone looked over. Cole? Why are you back? Yexi was a little surprised. At this moment, Li should still be working in the forest. Master, these two guests from Liu want to see you. Oh. As soon as he finished speaking, two pretty big beauties entered the door. One has purple double ponytails, her small face is full of confidence, and the other has two horns on her head, looking very quiet. Mr. Yexi, nice to meet you. Oh, it's you guys. Before Keqing could finish speaking, Yexi laughed and said, the arc star of the Liu 7 stars, and Wang Xiaomei. Keqing? Ganyu? Chapter 91. Yingmei, how about I help you deal with Qing and Ganyu? Keqing and Ganyu followed Li to the Palace of Wisdom. As soon as I came in, I was overwhelmed by Yexi's greeting. Electricity, arc star. What is that? Keqing's handsome face was full of astonishment, and then he said solemnly, I am the Yuhang star of Liu 7 stars, Keqing. My name is not Wang Xiaomei, my name is Ganyu. Ganyu on the side also defended herself slowly. Alright, arc star and Wang Xiaomei. Seeing the speechless expressions of the two girls, Yexi smiled and said, it doesn't matter, you came just in time. Some time ago, Emperor Yanwang came to me and asked me to go to Liu Port to help you build infrastructure. Emperor Rock King. Keqing exclaimed, her beautiful purple eyes were full of astonishment, Mr. Yexi, how long ago was that time ago? Hey. It must have happened a long time ago. Ganyu hurriedly interjected, and then looked at Yexi wildly with winks, Mr. Yexi, the emperor has passed away for a long time. Oh. Yes. Of course Yexi knew about Zongli's retirement, he just wanted to see Keqing and Ganyu's reaction. It's really interesting. Keqing beside him was full of doubts. When she came out this time, Yuan felt that something was wrong with Ganyu. And, if you think about it carefully, didn't this infrastructure consultant be found by Lu Yun by Feng Zhenjun? Why is it that it is said that Emperor Yanwang has come? Although she was full of doubts, she still held back. When Yexi was talking with Keqing and Ganyu, the sages of the council were all surprised and murmured. When did Master Yexi and Liu become friends? I was just thinking about how to restore the relationship between the Teaching Order Academy and Liu Port, which had been broken off for hundreds of years. Unexpectedly, Master Yexi will help us get it done. Did I hear you right? The young lady said just now that she is the Yuhang star of the Liu 7 stars. Yuhang Xing? Is that one of the 7 stars that Liu is in charge of the land? It is said that Liu has now entered the era of rule of man, and the 7 stars of Liu are the highest rulers of Liu. After noticing Keqing's identity, all the sages were very surprised, even El Hessan was also very surprised. Because, today, he also plans to apply to Liu port with a little auspicious grass king to represent the great sage of Sumeru, and then resume diplomacy through negotiation. Unexpectedly, the other party has come. This really saves a lot of work. Keqing, Ganyu, you guys came just in time. Yexi asked, I need to purchase a batch of ore materials from Liu. May I? Hearing Yexi's question, Keqing was caught off guard. She subconsciously replied, yes, yes. Keqing became more and more curious about Yexi's identity. Her previous understanding of Yexi was the apprentice of Zhenjun Liu Yun borrowing the wind, and a very powerful expert in the production organization. But after she came to Sumi, she found that it was not like this. Would a normal expert with great mechanical skills intervene in Sumeru's city construction and material procurement? Obviously impossible. I always feel that Yexi is like the leader of Sumeru. Moreover, this is the Palace of Wisdom. Could it be ordinary people who can hold meetings in the Palace of Wisdom? Okay, then it's settled. Specifically, we will negotiate later. After speaking, Yexi looked at the sages of the council. Everyone, the planning of the economic development zone has basically been completed. Next, I will hand over the detailed rules to you, is there no problem? All the sages nodded one after another. Master Yexi, leave it to us. Thank you for your hard work. Next, the Holy Order will be responsible for formulating the rules. These decrees are still very good at it. In fact, there are still many things to plan, but it has touched Yexi's knowledge blind spot. For example, rules such as train fares, taxes, and import and export trade regulations. The main export of Sumi is fruit, so in order to preserve freshness, it is necessary to dispatch special cars, speed up trains and other minor details. He has no way to take care of these by himself, so he still has to order and let the Holy Order design it. Okay, let's end the meeting. After speaking, Yexi left the meeting room with Keqing and Ganyu. Then just leave it to Nashida and King Desishu. The two gods of wisdom can still make suggestions in these areas. After leaving the Holy Order, walk on the streets of Sumeru. The Sumeru people they met along the way saluted and greeted Yexi one after another. After seeing Yexi's status and prestige in Sumi, both Keqing and Ganyu were surprised. Seeing that Yexi was finally free, Keqing said, Mr. Yexi, we are here to welcome you to leave the destination. Excuse me, when can we leave? She couldn't wait any longer. He wants to bring Yexi back to Liu immediately, and tell Ningguang what he saw and heard today. Yexi heard the words and said unhurriedly, just call me Yexi, as for going to Liu, there is no rush. You have come all the way from Liu, as hosts, I cannot neglect you. It's better to stay in Sumeru for 2 more days and relax. As he said that, Yexi's eyes lit up, and he suggested, why don't you go to my mansion, there is a very good hot spring, which can relieve the fatigue caused by the 2 travels. Host? Keqing really wanted to say, isn't a Kerriyan in Sumeru also a guest? How did you become the host? But Yexi's proposal is indeed very tempting. Sumi's environment is very good, with the breath of nature. If you can rest here for a while, it will be very comfortable. And there is a hot spring. You know, it is dark and there is no hot spring. To tell the truth, she almost nodded yes. However, when she thought that this kind of lazy behavior would delay many things, she restrained herself. Yexi first, Master Yexi, we can leave immediately. If you take too much time, things will never get done. Seeing Keqing's serious look, Yexi nodded with a smile and said, it is indeed a good thing to concentrate on work. I understand, Miss Keqing. I will finish my personal affairs as soon as possible, and then set off. He knew that Keqing had this temperament. Everything is done swiftly and without delay. To be honest, he really admires Keqing's self-discipline ability. If it were him, he would have gone fishing a long time ago. Hey? Yes, I'm sorry. Keqing's eyes were full of surprise. She hurriedly waved her hands and said, if you still have something to do, please deal with it first, we are not in a hurry. I'm a little bit carried away, please don't mind. She is not a messy character, she has something to do, of course she has to wait for her to be free. It's impolite to rush others like this. Then, if this is the case, the 2 of you can follow my arrangement. Yexi smiled and said, I will give orders to prepare the guest room for tonight. Yexi, Master, you don't need to worry too much about the residence. We can find a hotel at will. Ganyu felt a little embarrassed. Obviously they asked Yexi for help, and brought Yexi back to Liu port to help Liu's construction. Unexpectedly, they were entertained by Yexi instead. What's the point of this? Don't bother. How can you say you're bothered? Yexi said earnestly, forget it, I still have something to say. Actually, the harvest season has recently caught up. What I have to do is to investigate the quality of these fruits and the selection of spices. Now there are a lot of fresh fruits and spices at home, waiting for me to check. You also know that if Sumi does trade with Liu and Mond in the future, it will definitely be fruit exports. The 2 of you are invited to go for a tasting, and I want to use crystals to whet your appetite. This is my little idea. If you find it delicious, it will benefit our future cooperation. I'm really sorry, both of you. Water, fruit. Ganyu swallowed her saliva and nodded hastily, then I will bother Master Yexi. Keqing next to her helplessly supported her forehead. She knew at a glance that it was Ganyu who was hungry. However, this arrangement seems to be good. Thinking of this, Keqing hurriedly said, you don't have to apologize. In order to sell a good product, it is very generous to give the product to the buyer. Keqing's eyes were full of gratitude, then I would like to thank Master Yexi for his hospitality. Since it is for future business dealings, it is also within the scope of work to check it out. If it is work, it must be done carefully. She will taste the fruit with her heart. Seeing that both Ganyu and Keqing agreed to stay, Yexi nodded, please come with me. On the way, Keqing still had work to do, so he went back to the woods first. Yexi took Keqing and Ganyu back to the Ye family compound. As soon as the door was opened, a fresh fruity aroma rushed over. Ganyu's saliva is about to flow down. 500 years. She hasn't tasted the fresh fruits of Sumeru for 500 years. Watermelon, cantaloupe, peach, date palm. Thinking of this, Ganyu couldn't hold back his appetite. Hey? Keqing? And Ganyu? Why are you here? In the yard, Paimon was talking to Minzigua. Seeing the figures of Keqing and Ganyu, they thought they were hallucinating. This is Sumi, Keqing who is Yu Hongxing and Ganyu who is the secretary, why are they here? Hey? Traveler. How could the traveler be in Master Yexi's house? Keqing and Ganyu were also very surprised. It's really you. Yingmei dropped the watermelon and rushed over. Wife, are you here to see me? I miss you so much. As she said that, Yingmei hugged left and right, with a smirk on her face. Keqing sighed helplessly, Traveler, long time no see, you really haven't changed at all. When Yingmei was in Liao before, she came to pester her every day, which made her unable to work properly. Didn't expect to meet here. Hey, Aching, you're just saying what you mean. Did you come here because you heard that I was injured in Sumeru? No. Keqing patted Yingmei's arm around her waist, and said solemnly, I'm here because of work. Let's go to Liaoport to help. By the way, are you injured? Ganyu Yi, I'm a little worried, after all, Yingmei has helped a lot in Liu and is her best friend and partner. Yingmei spread her hands, pointed to Yexi who was beside her and said, it's done, this guy saved me. So it is. Keqing said respectfully after hearing the words, Master Yexi, thank you for saving the traveler, she is my good friend, this guy is always worry-free. It's just a little effort. After a few days of getting along, Yexi and Gongmei have already melted together. In fact, it is mainly based on bickering. This stinky girl actually wanted to take over his wife, and even wanted to take away his position as the master of the harem. How can this work on the side of the couch? How can you allow others to snore? Not even women. Ever since, Yingmei would fight with him for a while every night. It's a lot happier to go to 310 at home. Yingmei leaned close to Yexi's ear, and said jokingly, you actually brought Keqing and Ganyu back, did you think they were beautiful because of their beauty? How come? Yexi said solemnly, in order to export the Sumeru fruit, it is natural that the gold master should taste the taste. I am for the development of Sumeru city. Is it really? Yingmei's eyes are full of doubts, they are mine, you are not allowed to snatch them from me. Childish. You're naive. I came here first. When I met Aching and Ganyu, you didn't know where you were. Hearing Yingmei's words, Yexi sighed, you recognize this as your wife every day, and you recognize that as your wife, and you don't have the tools to commit crimes, so what's the use? Yingmei was speechless for a moment. Although I really want to refute, but what Yexi said is indeed correct. At most, she just treats her as a pillow. Lily is infinitely good, but it's a pity that it can't give birth. Seeing that the stinky girl was lost in thought, Yexi couldn't help smiling, and came to Keqing and Ganyu's side. Okay, both of you, let's taste the fruit of Sumeru. As he spoke, he pushed away the hut beside him, which was filled with piles and piles of fruits. Wow! The two girls couldn't help but let out an exclamation. I saw fresh fruits everywhere in a small room. Watermelon, grape, sunset fruit, dun peach, plum, homie melon, it has everything that one expects to find. Ganyu is about to cry. Even Keqing was attracted by this alluring fruity fragrance. There are ice fog flowers in the house, which ensures the best temperature even in hot weather. So don't worry about spoilage at all. Whatever you want to eat, just take it yourself. Then we're welcome. Hearing what Yexi said, the two beauties held up their favorite fruits and tasted them. It's so hydrating. It's so sweet. As expected of a country rich in fruits, even sunset fruits are different from Liu's. Keqing, you taste each of these grapes. Girls can't stand the temptation of delicious food. Even the workaholic Keqing was completely overwhelmed by the deliciousness in front of him, and immersed himself in the sweet fruit. Paimon took the opportunity to take a bite of the plum, and ordered a little Gio excitedly. Just as Yexi was admiring the beauties tasting delicious food, Yingmei's voice suddenly came from her ear. Yexi, don't you want to make a deal? Trade. Seeing Yingmei's sly smirk, Yexi knew nothing good was going on. This stinky girl might be trying to trick someone again. Tell me the story. Yingmei came over and said secretly, how about I help you deal with Aching and Ganyu, evening? Chapter 92. Yingmei, I took you in, your wife and Mora are mine. Yingmei's whisper is like a devil's whisper, full of temptation. But it might be a nod to put it in someone else's place. For Yexi, there is only peace in his heart. He wanted to know what the hell this Xiao Ying was trying to do. So he asked, what do you want? Mola. And Dixie. Yingmei had a smirk on her face, and her stomach was full of bad water. Now she needs a lot of Mora to do anything, such as upgrading weapons, improving strength and other things. Mora is essential. As long as there are countless Mora, she will increase her strength very quickly. As for Dixie, Keqing, and Ganyu, of course she wants them all. She promised to help with Keqing and Ganyu, but didn't say when. Yingmei's shocking words made Yexi call her a good guy. It's still a flower that you city people play with, change it for chi, right? Did you sneak a peek at the domestic area behind your brother's back? Why are you so proficient? Seeing Yingmei pretending to be stupid, Yexi smiled, then how are you going to help? Hey Euro. Seeing that Yexi took the bait, Yingmei immediately put her hands on her hips and said, it depends on whether the funds you give me are enough, sir. Why don't you advance 500 million Moras first? As she spoke, Yingmei rubbed her little hands with the expression of a profiteer. Yexi gave her a blank stare, white wolf with empty gloves, right? Do you think I'm as stupid as your brother? Yingmei? Hey? Why are you scolding people? At this time, I sneezed several times in the air of Fontaine. Choo. Night. Keqing wrapped herself in a white towel and slowly sat down in the pool. The moment she was wrapped in warmth, she couldn't help but let out a soft moan, she felt the tiredness in her body disappear. In fact, she has been busy working in Lido port recently, running around. Once working overtime, there is no time to sleep all night. Although she will catch up on sleep afterwards, does the accumulated fatigue make her feel powerless? And all these hidden diseases are washed away by hot water at this moment. Seeing Keqing's seductive body slowly relaxing in the water, and the bath towel was fully peeled off, revealing Snow White, Yingmei let out a silvery smirk. Hey, Qing, I'm coming. Traveler. Don't come here. A flash of purple lightning shot up into the sky, and Yingmei was twitched all over by the shock. Oh, it's numb. I was wrong. Qing. As the lightning disappeared, Yingmei floated on the water, like a fish that was electrocuted. Keqing sighed helplessly, folded her arms and said, I really can't do anything about you. Paimon held Yingmei's arm and pulled her to the shore. Traveler, you were the one who caught me before, but now I have caught you, Paimon, and you are even. Yingmei rolled her eyes in circles, staring at her eyes. The world has chewed me. Seeing this scene, Dixie on the side couldn't help laughing. Keqing, you are too cruel. Well, travelers are always like this, shameless and shameless. She and Ganyu have already known Dixie, and Dinazade and the others. In the afternoon, Keqing and Ganyu found out that a beautiful girl came back from the yard for a while, and another came back after a while. When they heard that these beauties who came home one after another were all Yexi's concubines, they were really taken aback. Each of these girls is prettier than the other, and everyone without exception has the eyes of God. It was the first time for them to see so many owners of God's eye in one family. Put it in Liu, this is definitely a big family. What they can't understand the most is why everyone has the eyes of God, but they choose to be Yexi's concubine. After chatting in the afternoon, Keqing and Ganyu gradually got to know everyone's experiences and became friends. Ganyu also slowly entered the pool at this time, and even the fairy beast couldn't help but let out a slight exclamation. How about Ganyu Keqing, my master's hot spring is not bad. Dixie giggled, with a smug look on her face. With enjoyment all over Keqing's face, she subconsciously responded. However, she suddenly felt a sense of guilt after slacking off, and hurriedly said, it's good to combine work and rest, but you can't relax too much. People in Liu are very hardworking. They don't seek pleasure. Yet. But Ganyu looks so comfortable that she is about to fall asleep. Dixie pointed to Ganyu who had closed her eyes, with a smile on her face. Keqing looked back, and saw that behind the water mist, Ganyu had lowered her head and dozed off. Now, she felt ashamed and wanted to find a crack in the ground to sneak in. Ganyu. Wake up. Ganyu. What a shame. Before she finished speaking, Ganyu slapped her face swollen. Ha. Keqing, come to our house as a guest, just relax. Master specifically told me that you usually work hard and act vigorously, and asked me to take care of you. Keqing was a little puzzled after listening to Dixie's words. How did Yexi know this? Even though it was the first day they met, she felt that Yexi knew her very well. But if it comes, it's safe. Anyway, I can't be busy with work now, so it's better to concentrate on enjoying leisure time. After a while, beautiful women were like clouds, and the pool suddenly became lively. Everyone, I brought a lot of new wine from the village, who wants to taste it? Aya held the wine barrel straight, stuck his head out at the door and asked. Oh? There's still this light to occupy. I'll try it. Dixie raised her hand. When she was a mercenary, she often went to the tavern in Kawanyi to drink. It's been a long time since I've been hungry. Okay, Yexia poured several glasses in one breath, put the wine glasses into the wooden base and pushed into the sink. Paimon looked at the wine glass floating over and couldn't help swallowing. Yexia, this wine tastes good. Just smelling it, Dixie was full of praise. Indeed, it's much better than the one at Kawanyi. It's so comfortable to have a drink after get off work. Seeing Alisha and Satal enjoy themselves so much, Paimon became even more greedy. I want to try it too. Dixie gave Paimon a taste. Wow. It's so delicious. Paimon couldn't help Hojia while holding the wine glass. Traveler, come and taste it too. Yingmei took 2 sips and immediately opened her eyes wide. It has the sweetness of grapes and the woody aroma of oak barrels. It's great. Right. Yexia said complacently, the winemaking in the village is very particular, and even the wine barrels must be wooden barrels that have been brewed all year round. The wine brewed in this way not only has the taste of wooden barrels, but also the wine stains accumulated in the barrels will also have aroma, which makes the new wine have a more mellow taste. Yingmei nodded, drank a glass or two, and her cheeks became much redder with the naked eye. After a while, she felt a little dizzy in front of her eyes. Dixie, I'm so sad. Are we friends? Hearing Yingmei's intermittent words, Dixie nodded, of course, we are all good friends. Then can you help me figure out a way? What's up? Yingmei took a sip of the wine and sighed, how can I be like Yexi, with so many wives and so many moras? Seeing Dixie's concerned gaze of are you okay, Yingmei's eyes were full of mist. You guys, as she said that, Yingmei threw herself into Dixie's arms and rubbed her head. It's very simple. Dixie smiled and said, you can also be the master's concubine, wouldn't it be fine? There's no need to be surprised, the master is very good to us, and there is no shortage of mora. Dixie continued to explain, besides, if you join us, we will become a family, and we can always be together in the future. Yingmei fell into deep thought immediately, and always felt that it seemed very reasonable. On the side, Alisha put down her wine glass, and lay down beside the pool with a satisfied face. Sure enough, it's easy to get drunk while soaking in hot springs. How many cups can I usually drink? Dixie smiled and said, because hot water will make the blood flow faster, so wine will be easy to get drunk. If you don't usually drink a lot, you should drink less. Keqing hurriedly put down the wine glass after hearing the words, then I can't drink too much, although the taste is good, but I can't delay tomorrow's business. It's okay, we can take care of you when you are drunk at home. Dixie patted her proud chest, looking confident. The other side. Yexi was sitting on the sofa, in front of him was Yuanshang, the abyss singer who had just returned from Fontaine. My king, my subordinates have completed all the tasks assigned by the king in Fontaine. First of all, this subordinate informed His Royal Highness about the king's recent situation. Hearing the king's deeds, His Highness is very happy. Yexi nodded, then my next plan, did you tell me? My lord, your great grand vision, the subordinates will naturally keep it in their hearts, and dare not forget it until they die. Yuanshang said emotionally, His Royal Highness and the soldiers over there, after hearing the king's plan, all of them burst into tears and raised their fists to cheer. For the restoration of Khaenri'ah. Dedicate. All your strength, Wang Ji is in the 4 countries, and the glory of Khaenri'ah will bloom again, don't hide. Come to the sun. Dedicate to the king. Loyalty. Everybody swears it. That's it. Now, the proud warriors of Kerriya are high-spirited and pledge their loyalty to you. Seeing Yuanshang's exaggerated performance, Yexi always felt that something was wrong. Aiming for Shikoku? What Shikoku? Well, do you have anything to say? Yuanshang recalled it for a while, nodded and said, My king, His Royal Highness said that he is very relieved to entrust his blood relatives to you for protection. Besides, after hearing that you treated the prince's blood relatives, I want to thank you very much. Correct. Yuanshang took out a bottle of potion from his pocket, held it high with both hands, and presented it to Yexi. This is... My king. His Royal Highness knows that you have worked hard day and night for the great cause of open branches and leaves, and specially asked your subordinates to bring this medicine. This is the most expensive supplement of Fontaine. Nourishing you body, has a very significant medicinal effect. Hearing this, Yexi picked up the potion. Identification. He used the skill of appraisal. This skill is a reward issued by the system after the Sisha King woke up last time. Both he and the great Sisha King have this skill, which can be used to identify various things. Ding identification is completed. Qi and blood potion, nourishing the body, consolidating the foundation and cultivating energy, rejuvenating energy and energy. Non-toxic. Drinkable. Hearing the sound of the system, Yexi nodded, help me, thank you Kong. After speaking, he opened the medicine bottle and drank it down. The potion was sweet, and after flowing into the throat, it turned into a torrent of hot air. In an instant, Yexi felt that his spirit had improved a lot, and his whole body was warm. These days, he has satisfied the girls well, so he is a little tired, as if his body has been hollowed out. And after taking the potion, I feel full of state instantly, as if all the energy has returned. It is indeed a very effective medicine. Yuanshang was very clever, and hurriedly said, then this subordinate will leave and don't disturb His Majesty's evening schedule. My lord, do you have anything else to say? Yexi nodded slightly. He intends to use Yuanshang to try the skills given by. Give the power of the abyss to the chant of the abyss, and see if it can enhance its power. If feasible, then he can greatly enhance the strength of the men around him. Just as he was about to speak, a loud voice came from outside the door. Bang 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 Yexi. Open the door. Fluorescent. Hearing this familiar voice, Yexi couldn't help thinking, what the hell is this stinky girl trying to do? You go back first. Yes. Yuanshang hurriedly escaped into the crack and left the Ye family compound. Yexi opened the door, and before she could react, a soft and delicate body rushed into her arms. There is also a mellow alcohol smell blowing on the face. Yexi, I unilaterally declare. From today, all your wives are mine. Yingmei's face was flushed, her watery eyes were full of laziness, and Xia couldn't even stand still. What nonsense are you talking about? Are you drunk? Who drank too much? I'm sober. Yingmei snorted, and said vaguely, stop talking nonsense. Elbow, follow me into Wu. What are you doing? I warn you, don't touch your hands. However, Yexi's words have no effect at all. Yingmei tugged on his sleeve, staggering to and fro, not knowing where to go, just talking about something. He leaned closer to listen, only to hear, Li Dezeo, a little voice. Dixia is right, as long as you accept you. Your wife is mine. Mora is mine too. Evening? 7. What kind of nonsense did Dixia instill in this guy? He is a majestic master of the harem, but he is going to be taken in by a stinky girl? How can it be? Thinking of this, he gave Yingmei an indestructible grip, and grabbed Yingmei's little head. Forced to calm down, he activated his calm skill. I thought Yingmei would wake up, but Yingmei remained unchanged. This made Yexi very strange. Hint, forced calmness effect is used to calm emotions, and cannot clear the paralyzing effect of alcohol. Hearing the system's prompt, Yeji was a little at a loss. Just as he was thinking about how to deal with this drunk girl, Yingmei's hands and feet became more and more restless. Suddenly, the white bath towel slipped down the white skin, and the beautiful and alluring body appeared in front of her eyes. The moonlight shines through the cross window, and the Yingmei is more and more charming. The rosy little face was full of blush after drinking, and the pair of beautiful eyes were filled with mist, which was very lovely under the moonlight. Yes, Idisha is mine, you are mine too. Yingmei muttered and tore Yexi's collar. Yexi grabbed that hand, his eyes full of helplessness. Are you sure you don't regret it? Regret is a puppy. Tomorrow, afterwards, I want Dixie to sleep with me, okay? Satisfy you. Yexi picked up Yingmei. Just in time to try out how the supplements I just took work. Fontaine. Kong, who had just returned to the rest place, looked at the moon in the sky, and thought of Yexi who was far away in Simuru. Xi, tonight you must be working hard for branches and leaves. Hope that bottle of tonic works. Chapter 93. It was agreed that rabbits would not eat grass beside their nests. I took the initiative. That's okay. Early morning. The sun is rising, and the birds are singing in the woods. In the guest room. Ganyu stretched her waist and slowly opened her eyes. And what appeared in front of her was Keqing Glay's sleeping face. Ganyu sat up abruptly, and was shocked to find that she was naked, even Keqing. Because the quilt got into the wind, Keqing shivered, her beautiful eyes slightly opened. But the next moment, her eyes widened. Ganyu. You. Why don't you wear clothes? Wait, how can I not? Keqing looked terrified and got up all of a sudden. Looking around, it turned out to be a bedroom. And the two of them were lying on the same bed, sleeping together under the big quilt. What's going on? What happened yesterday? Although they are both girls, it is still a little awkward to sleep together. Ganyu recalled in a daze, I remember we went to the hot spring together, and then I fell asleep. She hasn't eaten samura fruit for a long time, so she let go of it yesterday afternoon and ate a lot in one go. As a result, when the sugar level rises at night, I feel very sleepy. In addition, the hot spring is so comfortable, and the whole body is warm, and then I fell asleep and went to the doctor without paying attention. I know this. Keqing said while recalling, I remember, I couldn't wake you up, and then I chatted with Dixie and the others. Miss Ixia brought some delicious wine from her hometown on the way, and we just had a glass. Later. I seemed to be a little drunk, and then I wanted to go back to my room to rest. Suddenly, Xianqing was struck by lightning. Ah. It's Dixie. She helped me back to the room, and then carried you back. As she spoke, Keqing blushed, Ganyu also lowered her head, and the room fell silent. Dixie, at least help us put on some clothes. Anyway, let's put on our clothes first. After hearing Keqing's suggestion, Ganyu hurriedly nodded. After a rustling sound of dressing, both of them were fully dressed. Once there are clothes, the atmosphere will not be as embarrassing as before. Keqing smiled and said, although some accidents happened, I have to say that I had a very comfortable rest last night. Ganyu is also very satisfied, eating happily and resting well. Just as he was talking, there was a knock on the door. 157 Dixie poked her head in and looked over. Dixie, it's impolite, you have to wait for someone's consent. It's okay, miss, aren't we all awake? Dixie entered the room with a smile, and said hello, good morning, both of you, how did you rest last night? Keqing and Ganyu had just come to their senses, but when Dixie said another word, their faces turned red. Cough, Dixie, Dina Zede, good morning. Ganyu and I rested well last night. Do you have anything to do with us? Dixie nodded and said, we're here to get a change of clothes, and we've also prepared Sumi's outfits for you. How about trying Samura style today? Change and wash your clothes, how can you be so embarrassing? It's too cheeky to come to someone's house as a guest and ask them to do laundry. What's this? The clothes must be uncomfortable after wearing them for a day, just leave them to us. We have the slime prepared by the master, make sure to wash it clean. Keqing and Ganyu were very puzzled by Dixie's words. Slime. What does slime have to do with laundry? Seeing the puzzled expressions of the two girls, Dixie said, anyway, you should change your clothes first, and I will take you there later. Keqing and Ganyu looked at each other, they had just put on their clothes and were about to take them off again. Always feel so ashamed. The other side. Yang Yingmei yawned, without even raising her eyelids, she asked, Pim, what time is it? After waiting for a long time, there was no voice from Paimon, and Yingmei felt something was wrong. She realized that what she was holding in her arms today was not Paimon's small body, nor was it the tender and soft jade bodies of beautiful girls. Rather, it is a muscle that feels firmer to the touch. She opened her eyes, and found a very handsome face appeared in front of her, and it was very close. Hey? Yexi. After seeing the face of the person in front of her, Yingmei was taken aback. Yexi sensed movement around her and woke up. After noticing the shock in Yingmei's beautiful eyes, Yexi said, what are you doing, you were so surprised in the morning. You. Yingmei's eyes were red all of a sudden, she reached out, to touch herself, and found that some places were still aching, and immediately understood everything. Yexi. UBD. It was promised that the rabbit would not eat the grass beside the nest. Are you a rascal rabbit? Woo. As she said that, Yingmei began to cry with pear blossoms in the rain. Yexi complained, yesterday, you took the initiative, so you can't blame me. I was passive the whole time. Yingmei was stunned, you lied, how could I? Just as she was about to say, she suddenly remembered what happened last night. She remembered that she first teased Keqing, she was numb from the electric shock, and then she drank wine and chatted with Dixie. What Dixie said at the time, becoming Yexi's concubine, she can treat everyone as a wife, and she can sleep with whomever she wants. There can be endless mora. Then she took it to heart obsessively. Later she got drunk and did a lot of things in a daze. I vaguely remember that she came to Yexi's room, including her initiative. These memories are very fragmented, but connected together, it seems that it is indeed the same as what Yexi said. She really took the initiative with the help of wine. I remembered. Hearing Yexi's question, Yingmei blushed and nodded. Yexi spread his hands, so, it's not my rabbit that eats the grass on the edge of the nest, but yours that feeds the grass on the edge of the nest into my mouth. I'm a rabbit anyway, don't I want to lose face? A beautiful woman throws herself into her arms, don't talk about me, just ask if you can stand it. Yingmei shook her head silently. Although throwing into arms and sending hugs sounds a bit suspicious that she is AST, but this big beauty is quite pleasing to the ear. As for the big beauty who took the initiative to throw herself into her arms, if it was her, then she must have a good touch. If it was Dixie, she would definitely pester Dixie all night. Thinking about it this way, Yexi was also instinctive in this matter. If it was to blame, it was her own fault. Thinking of this, Yingmei's eyebrows are full of self-blame. Now that things have happened, there is no room for redemption. She could only ask, then, will you be responsible for me? Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to force you. I'm just asking. If Yexi didn't want her, then she would really want to cry without tears. Yexi felt a little funny seeing Yingmei's regretful look of losing something she cherished. You are Sora's younger sister, of course I will be responsible. That's about the same. Yingmei tapped Yexi lightly, and posted it, with a relaxed smile on her face. This is the first time hugging a man, a brand new experience. Yexi was thinking about how to explain this matter to Kong. If a few years later, Kong experienced all kinds of difficulties and dangers and defeated Tianli, completed the mission of restoring Kanria, and returned in triumph. As a result, on the way, I met a little yellow-haired loli who looked familiar, and then the little loli called him uncle. Would Kong blow his hair? No. At that time, maybe Kong already has the strength to defeat Tianli. In the future, he will not only have to guard against the principles of heaven, but also guard against his uncle. Just as I was thinking, a belated exclamation suddenly came from my ear. Wait a minute, so Dixie and Khaenri'ah are my wives. Yingmei looked proud. It seems that it is indeed not a loss. You have no objection. Master Yexi. The last 4 words have a strong tone, like a joke. It was as if he had snatched his position as the master of the harem, replacing the old with a new generation. Yexi smiled with amusement on his face. Anyway, Yingmei is already his own, how can he be afraid that she will snatch his wives away? Wherever you go is your own, let her make trouble. It just so happened that he was going to Liu, so it's not impossible for the wives to hand over to Yingmei. No, I want not only your wife, but also your Mora. Lend me 200 million Mariwawa. As she said that, Yingmei stretched out her little hand, as if begging for it. Yexi was very generous, and directly took out the heart of rock god from the portable space, and put it in Yingmei's hand. Seeing the shiny chess piece in the palm of her hand, Yingmei was dumbfounded. Hey. Isn't this Songli's god's heart? Why is it here with you? Also, this heart of God should have fallen into the hands of fools. Before Yexi could explain, Yingmei said, this is a good thing, don't just take it out. We're rich. This one can make Mora. Seeing Yingmei's money-losing expression, Yexi used the core of the abyss to directly create a bed full of Mora. Wow, you can actually make Mora. But, only Zhongli can do it. Get rich and get rich. There will be no shortage of money to upgrade in the future. Yingmei suddenly felt that she was very profitable. It's just a waste of money. After making trouble for a long time, she has been an outsider living here, and she doesn't know so many secrets. Now that she is a family member, she realizes that Yexi hides so deeply. This is too cool. In the future, you don't have to worry about being poor by Paimon anymore. Thinking of the days when she was raising Paimon and traveling at the same time, she felt extremely painful. If it wasn't for Paimon's delicious food every time, she wouldn't have used a sword without a sharp edge. No matter how bad it is, you can buy a trial rock cut. It's different now, she wants to change herself to a decent one-handed sword no matter what she says. Just as he was speaking, a group of golden rays of light suddenly appeared in the air. The light fell on Yingmei and turned into a huge transparent orb. Hey? What is this? Yingmei held up the big orb, her face full of doubts. At the same time, a system prompt sounded in Yexi's ear. Ding branching get orbs. Conversion orb, you can use a variety of elements as you like force. Reward distribution is complete, please continue to complete the follow-up scattered leaf task. This unique reward surprised Yexi a little. But this prop is really important to Yingmei. He told Yingmei the function of the transformation orb. You mean, you can use it to switch elemental power directly? Yingmei was taken aback. She does have the adaptability of many kinds of elemental forces. In Mond, she gained the power of wind element, and in Liu, she gained the power of rock element. In the 4 kingdoms, she can use 4 elemental powers. But the problem is, only one of them can be used at a time. If you want to switch, you have to find the statue of the 7 heavens, and you will die of trouble. Hearing the function of the transformation orb, she immediately tried it. With a thought, the orb glowed with a faint green light, and the elemental imprint of the grass element emerged. Then, she summoned divine. She tried again, and the orb burst into purple light, showing the elemental imprint of the thunder element. Then crackling lightning appeared on her fingertips. There are also wind elemental power and rock elemental power, she can use them all. Very convenient. Yexi, this is what you gave me. Seeing Yexi nodding, Zan was overjoyed, thank you. Then, he gave Yexi a deep good morning kiss. This special god's eye made her very happy. To say that she came to the Tivat continent is definitely a genius. In this world, if one can use one kind of elemental power, he is already a chosen one in 1,000, but now she can use 4 kinds. Logically speaking, she is definitely a top-notch fighter. However, because of the rule that the elemental power can only be changed by touching the statue of the 7 heavens god, she is as weak as a scum with only 5 combat power. Of the 4 elemental forces, only one can be used, and elemental reactions cannot be used. It's so frustrating. He is obviously a genius, but he can't exert the power he wants at all. Now it's different, she can play elemental reactions as she likes. Combat power soars like a rocket. If he had had this power when beating Ozer's wife back then, she wouldn't have been shot into a stone. She only regrets why she didn't meet Yexi sooner. At this moment Yexi is looking at the panel of the system. He had already been rewarded by the system last night. In addition to the physical strengthening bonus, he also gained new abilities. Gravity manipulation. This ability applies gravity to a target. If the gravity is increased, the target will be pressed to the ground and rubbed, and there is no way to fight back. For him, it is also a good new skill. The system now gives more and more skills, some of which are very helpful to him, and some of which are rather useless. But he doesn't care, he doesn't overwhelm himself with too many skills, all kinds of skills will always be used. Yingmei at the side recovered from her joy. With her hips on her hips, she straightened her chest and said, I've decided, I'll help you deal with Keqing and Ganyu. Again. It's serious this time. Yingmei said earnestly, they are my wives. What if they are married by another man in the future? It's better to give it to you at a lower price. At that time, Keqing and Ganyu, He he he. As she said that, a silver expression appeared on Yingmei's face. Evening, he suddenly felt that women became agitated, and there was nothing wrong with men. Before meeting Yingmei, he really thought that only men in the world wanted 3 wives and 4 concubines. Chapter 94. After Yingmei finished her dream of being the lord of the harem, Yexi proposed to have breakfast. Wait a minute. Let me go out first. Yingmei suddenly got out from under the covers, her beautiful delicate body was uncovered and she could see everything at a glance. She took out her underwear, and when she was about to put it on, she suddenly raised her head and looked over. Don't look, it's weird. I always feel ashamed to be watched by Yexi to put on clothes. But Yexi's eyes were full of amusement. Tell me, where did you not see it yesterday? After thinking about it carefully, her memory is very vague. However, she was so active at the time, as if nothing was left behind. Thinking of this, she had no choice but to move faster. I saw Yingmei hurriedly put on her small clothes, and then dressed neatly. Like a perfect accessory being covered by an eye-catching package, the fruitful figure disappeared before Yexi's eyes. Yingmei put on her shoes and went to the door to look out. What the hell are you trying to do? Yexi couldn't figure out what this girl was thinking, and she had to sneak around the hall when she went out. I've got to sneak out so I can't be seen. If Paimon finds out, everyone will definitely know about it. Once Aching and Ganyu find out, they will definitely be wary of me. How can I help you deal with them? Okay, I'll slip away first. Yingmei leaned on her body and tiptoed out of the room. Yexi was left with a face full of shame. When Yingmei returned to the room, she realized that she was thinking too much. Paimon fell asleep like a little piggy and didn't look like he was going to wake up. It looks like I drank too much last night and fainted. The other side. After Yexi changed her clothes, she sat down at the desk. You can come here now. The sound came out, and a purple-black shadow came in from outside the courtyard. Then came in front of Yexi, and a gap opened. Yuan Shang floated to the ground from the crack. Your Majesty, your subordinates will come at the appointed time. Last night, Yingmei barged in before finishing her orders, so Yexi made an appointment to meet again in the morning. In fact, it is a matter of experimenting with granting skills. Before, he endowed the power of the abyss to a Kaihokyu man. The thin and small body of the Kaihokyu man instantly grew into a muscled Kaihokyu that even the Kaihokyu thugs could hang and beat. Moreover, as a Kaihokyu person, he has opened up his spiritual wisdom and can command the 3 armies. Although he has spiritual intelligence, he has become a brand new individual without the memory of the people of Khaenri'ah. Then the problem comes. What if the power is given to more advanced abyss chanters, abyss apostles, and black snake knights? To be honest, he didn't know what to expect. Will it gain more power? Will it lose its previous memory, open up a new intelligence, and form a new personality? Or will it suddenly die due to the pollution of the abyss? None of this is known. So, he needed me to find someone to experiment with. As for this guy, Yuan Shang, although he does things neatly, he feels naive, and he doesn't know what he is thinking. Why not take him to the test? Thinking of this, he said, Yuan Shang, raise your head, I will give you a chance to look directly at me. Yuan Shang suddenly felt flattered, and his heart was like a mess. Could it be that my king rewarded me for my loyalty? To be able to look directly at my king's face is to reuse me? Thinking of this, Yuan Shang raised his head in trepidation and looked towards Yexi. I saw Yexi's expression was full of pity, and his deep eyes seemed to be staring directly into the abyss. Subordinates who have this opportunity to look directly at the Holy One are subordinates. Yexi sighed slightly in his heart. If something unexpected happened to the experiment, Yuan Shang might be gone. He has to take a good look at Yuan Shang and remember his appearance, at least he has to remember that there was such a person. Otherwise, it would be too disrespectful to life. Your Majesty, you seem to be in a good mood. The potion you used last night worked really well. I don't know which princess is lucky enough to be here evening if it is told that Yuan Shang is a sister, Nakong must know. It's better not to say anything, it's better to keep it a secret for now. Cough. Don't ask if you shouldn't. As soon as these words came out, Yuan Shang was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat, he hurriedly bowed his head and begged for mercy, this subordinate offended, please forgive me, my king. Yexi nodded and asked, Yuan Shang, are you willing to sacrifice your life for me? Hearing Yexi's words, Yuan Shang suddenly realized. This must be my king's test and temptation for me. He didn't dare to answer without the slightest hesitation, this subordinate is willing to be loyal to my king, Jinsi, and will not hesitate to die, good. Yexi smiled with satisfaction, extend your hand. Thank you, your majesty, for your gift. Yuan Shang thought that there was a reward, and hurriedly raised his hands high, but he didn't dare to raise his head. Yexi used the ability of given. Suddenly, a black mist enveloped Yuan Shang's hands. The black mist is slightly different from the black mist of taboo knowledge, and soon invades the body along the meridians on Yuan Shang. Well. Yuan Shang couldn't help letting out a muffled groan. He has absolutely no idea what's going on. However, he was shocked to find that the power in his body seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. That terrifying abyssal power was flowing through his veins. Yuan Shang, how do you feel? My king, this subordinate feels that the power is getting stronger and stronger. It seems to be gushing out. Oh? Is the consciousness clear? This is the most important thing. If the strength becomes stronger, but loses the original wisdom, it is equivalent to obliterating Yuan Shang. Consciousness. Yuan Shang was stunned for a moment, and began to think in his heart suddenly he was extremely shocked. Your Majesty, your subordinates feel that their thinking is becoming clearer. It's better than ever. How can it be so amazing? My previously stupid brain seems to be getting more and more sensitive. Subordinates will be able to understand my king's intentions faster in the future. Feeling the changes in the brain, Yuan Shang's heart couldn't be more shocked. Not only the power becomes stronger, but also the thinking is strengthened, what kind of method is this? But no matter what means, he understands one thing. That is, this is the wisdom my king bestowed on me, and it will make it easier for me to keep up with my king's thinking, understand the plan to unify the four kingdoms in the future, and make better suggestions. Thinking of this, Yuan Shang was very excited, and hurriedly sighed, "Ah! What a great method, my king! This subordinate is willing to dedicate his loyalty to you." Yet Xi couldn't help thinking when he heard the words. Unexpectedly, while strengthening the strength, it also strengthened the IQ. Anyway, keep your wits about you. Just as he was thinking, an ethereal notification sound suddenly came from his brain. Ding! The system spontaneously uses the identification skill. The next moment, an appraisal panel suddenly appeared in front of Yexi, Abyss Singer, on the Abyss grade, 37 to 38 element attribute, fire element resistance, 10% of all types. Shield value, 72. As soon as this panel appeared, Yexi was taken aback. Appraisal skills can actually identify people. The most important thing is that this level concept is the first time Yexi has heard of it. Is this level the same as in the game? He remembered that the level cap was 100. Wait, what's my level then? He used appraisal on himself, then the identification panel changed. Descent, Yexi grade, 112.113 element attributes, thunder, wind, grass, abyss. Foreseeing this level, Yexi was a little surprised. Because the highest level of ordinary humans should be 100, and I actually broke through this upper limit, a full level of 22. While Yexi was thinking, Yuan Shang beside him suddenly exclaimed, "Your Majesty! My body!" Yexi turned off the panel and looked, and was suddenly taken aback. I saw that Yuan Shang's body, which had been eroded by the power of the abyss, turned back into a human form. Yuan Shang looked very refined, dressed like a gentleman, and was very polite. The eyes behind the round-rimmed glasses narrowed into a slit, as if they were not opened. "It's a squinting monster. It's astonishing, Your Majesty. Subordinates can actually control the power of the abyss and concentrate it. Although the strength will be limited, it can restore the former appearance." Yet Xi found that even the voice on the abyss became more magnetic, less hoarse than the abyss monster. "I see, restoring the appearance of the monster can release all the power he ended the ability of given." In the end, Yuan Shang's level stayed at the astonishing level 77. And the full attribute of elemental resistance has come to the terrifying 65%. This should already be the upper level in the current world, and most elemental attacks can't hurt him. He was really amazed by the ability of Endowed. I used to think that this skill was very evil and would make people unlucky. He planned to seal it up, but he didn't expect it to be so heaven-defying. Feeling that the power was no longer conveyed, Yuan Shang hurriedly crawled at Yexi's feet. "Thank you, my king, for your grace. Subordinates will make good use of this power, because of my king's benefit. This body will be used by my king, and I will appreciate my king's great wisdom." Yexi nodded. "Yuan Shang, I allow you to call me master in the future." Yuan Shang was taken aback, and opened his narrowed eyes, his eyes full of disbelief. He quickly thanked him, "Master Yexi. This subordinate is very grateful for the honor you bestow." Yexi thought for a while, and suddenly remembered something. Experiments cannot be concluded on the basis of individuals, there must be comparisons. Using empower consumes a lot, and now he feels that he can only complete it once. Thinking of this, he ordered, "Yuan Shang, I don't need the more powerful people in the abyss religion. You find some suitable candidates and bring them to me. People today." Yuan Shang heard the words and looked very solemnly, "Yes. My lord." After speaking, he escaped into the cracks in the ground. In the stronghold of Kanria's homeland. Countless people from the abyss religion are busy here. Zero looking for flowers. Yuan Shang came out of the crack, causing everyone to stop their work immediately. Who are you? You came to the homeland of Kanria. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. Wait. It's Yuan Shang." As soon as these words came out, the flustered crowd immediately went into an uproar. What? Abyss? How is it possible? How could he regain his original appearance? Yuan Shang, what did you do? How did you recover? All of a sudden, everyone gathered around. Yuan Shang put his hands behind his back with a haughty look on his face. "My king has an oracle to convey." As soon as they heard the word sacred edict, the people present immediately fell silent. "My king intends to rebuild the palace guard. Prepare early for the invasion of the four kingdoms. Just now, my king gave me supreme power, multiplied the power of the abyss in my body, and restored me to my original appearance. The person chosen by the king can also receive generous gifts like me. Who of you wants to sacrifice your life for my king? Dedicate all your strength. Even your life." Yuan Shang's speech immediately detonated the audience. Hundreds of abyssal monsters are scrambling to raise their fists. "Fuigami. Me. Choose me. I am willing to give everything to my king. Please give me a chance. A euro, a euro, a euro, a euro." In the front row, several abyssal apostles stood out. "Yuan Shang, you and I used to be acquaintances, now we have the opportunity to be loyal, please introduce me to my king." Cough, Yuan Shang, although there was a slight estrangement between us before, our hearts of loyalty to His Majesty the King are the same. Abyss. At this moment, a group of people want to get this opportunity. Zero for this reason, all dignity and face are left behind. This is your chance to gain strength. Moreover, it can restore its original appearance. No matter who it is, after being contaminated by the power of the abyss, they can't bear to look directly at their own faces. This is also a chance to be redeemed. The most important thing is, whoever can stand up will become a valuable person by Yexi's side. Yuan Shang nodded and looked at the crowd in front of him. My king doesn't want mediocrity, what he wants is combat power worth cultivating. Among the Black Snake Knights. You, just you. Come with me first. Among the Black Snake Knights on the side, there is a calmer person who looks very special. So Yuan Shang chose him. The man froze for a moment, then jumped to Yuan Shang's side. This agile skill is enough to prove that he is extraordinary. Everyone was envious when they saw this. Just as he was about to compete, Yuan Shang took a step forward and left Khaenri'ah with the Black Snake Knight. Ye family courtyard. Ye Xi looked at the Black Snake Knight in front of him and used appraisal. Black Snake Knight. Wind chopping sword, Nabilan level, 44 attack attribute, wind element resistance, 50%. Material resistance, 30%. The remaining 10%. Seeing this identification document, Ye Xi couldn't help sighing. As expected, he was once a member of the palace guard, and his level is already very high. Nabilan, hold out your hand. Nabilan made a hoarse voice, knelt down in front of Ye Xi, raised her hands above her head. Given Ye Xi used the skill again, and the level column in the appraisal result immediately increased rapidly. A few minutes later, the level stays at 70. All kinds of resistance have reached 60%, and the wind resistance has reached 90%. This means that the wind elemental force has very little damage to Nabilan. Ye Xi felt a little tired and ended the skill. And Nabilan's appearance has also undergone tremendous changes. Yuan Shang was stunned. You. How are you a woman? Ye Xi was also very surprised. Among the Kanria palace guards, there are generally all male swordsmen, and they will not be selected from among the females. Nabilan's face was pale, and she hurriedly prostrated herself in front of Ye Xi, tremblingly said, My lord, I had no choice but to disguise myself as a man and enter the guard. This matter, my subordinate hidden for hundreds of years. Please your majesty, punish. She wanted to say death, but she was really afraid of death. When the disaster in Kanria came, she was infected by the power of the abyss, and she was really terrified. And in the disaster, she only protected a child, although that child has become a Kaihokia person. It was the fear of death just now, so when everyone wanted to pledge their allegiance, she hesitated for a moment. Unexpectedly, he was actually selected by Yuan Shang. Yuan Shang on the side was extremely angry. How dare you lie to my lord? Why didn't you report it in advance? Wasted my lord's power. Nabilan dared not speak. Yuan Shang knelt on the ground. Master Ye Xi, it's because of my poor eyesight. Please forgive me. Just when the two of them were pale and terrified, Ye Xi laughed. Isn't that good? As soon as these words came out, both of them were shocked. Chapter 95. Ganyu and Keqing's black silk, can it not be fragrant? Hearing Ye Xi's words, Yuan Shang and Nabilan were extremely astonished. Ye Xi looked at Nabilan, with a little appreciation in his eyes. Your courage is worthy of admiration for being able to conceal your identity and join the palace guard in a kingdom that decayed 500 years ago. Nabilan, you are worthy of this honor, so don't feel inferior. Few women back then even dared to be swordsmen, let alone enter the court. Once the identity is exposed, I am afraid that the end will be miserable. This courage alone is enough to beat up many old men. So, what did you do when the kingdom was in peril? Nabilan lowered her head. I only protected a child. I see. Ye Xi smiled and said, as a woman, I protected a young child in the face of the kingdom's disaster. As an ordinary woman, I'm afraid I can only wait for death, let alone save others. But your majesty, that child has become a Kaihokyu. After hearing Nabilan's words, Ye Xi sighed slightly. That's the curse of heaven, so we have to resist. Nabilan suddenly felt very strange. 550 Why? Why is the heart beating so hard? She suddenly felt that Ye Xi in front of her eyes was shining brightly. All along, she has been in fear, deeply afraid of being discovered by others. I am afraid that someone will accuse her of timidity and cowardice. If the former King Yerman knew that she was a woman, she would definitely die. She thought that after showing her secrets in front of Ye Xi, she could not escape the death penalty. But Ye Xi's words made her feel hot inside. Someone can understand her. It turns out that even if only one child is saved, there is no need to feel inferior. Your Majesty, woo-woo. Don't cry, Nabilan. Change back to human form. After listening to Ye Xi's words, Nabilan closed her eyes and mobilized the power zone of the abyss. The next moment, all the abyss pollution from her body disappeared, revealing her original face and figure. Ye Xi looked at it and nodded again and again. Just now Nabilan only showed her long hair and half of her face. Now all of them have changed back to human faces, and people can't help but admire their beauty. Her face is very glamorous, like an iceberg beauty, with tall and long tail hair, and a bumpy figure. She is a full-fledged beauty. Moreover, he must have been young when he was infected that year, with a face that looked no more than 20 years old. A beautiful face, Nabilan. Hearing Ye Xi's praise, Nabilan's stern little face was flushed with crimson, and her heart was beating. She suddenly felt that the new king is really gentle. It is completely different from the cold impression I imagined. It's just so easy to fall into, you can't extricate yourself. You are the same as Yuan Shang, and you can address yourself as adult in the future. Nabilan was so touched that she was about to cry. She nodded hastily and said, Thank you Lord Ye Xi for your gift. After recovering her human body, even her voice became much better. Although it was a little cold, it was very feminine at the moment. Then, Nabilan, will you give your life for me? Subordinates are willing. Without the slightest hesitation, Nabilan prostrated herself at Ye Xi's feet, nodding repeatedly, if it's for his majesty, I'm willing to sacrifice everything I have. She still fears death. But, if it's for Ye Xi, she will never be afraid. Because she felt Ye Xi's kindness. After knowing the identity of her daughter, Ye Xi was not angry, but praised her greatly. Even in times of crisis, she saved a child, which in Ye Xi's eyes is a commendable deed. This made her feel that Xi was really tired. The one she wants to die in allegiance to. There is only one thought in her heart now, and that is surrender. Very good. Ye Xi nodded and said, Let's stop here today. Also, Yuan Shang. The outmoded rules of the old kingdom should be abolished. Men and women match, work is not tiring, don't discriminate against women. Yes. Master Ye Xi. Looking at Ye Xi's leaving back, Yuan Shang heaved a sigh of relief and stood up slowly. Nabilan, it's all because of the king's kindness that you survived. In the future, you will contribute all your strength to the task of ruling the 4 countries. Nabila nodded, and couldn't help feeling, what a merciful king. I will give all my loyalty. She now feels that she has gained great strength. This is all from Yexi. Okay, Nabilan, it's time to finish our work. Work? But my king didn't order work. Did you not understand the last words of our lord? Nabilan was stunned for a moment, and repeated, men and women match, work is not tiring. That's right. Yuan Shang pushed the glasses frame with his fingers, and said in a deep voice, my lord's intention is obvious, to establish a Chongqing-made team. My lord is wise and treats all people equally. Then, with the palace guard, there must also be a group of maids. This is what we call male and female matching. Nabilan suddenly realized, and nodded again and again, so that's what it means to match men and women. I thought it was just a literal meaning. Snort. Yuan Shang smiled and said, my lord's wisdom is boundless, how can the words he speaks only have the literal meaning? My lord is to see if we can understand the profound meaning. This is a test. If we are incompetent, our lord will definitely abandon us. Nabilan, you still have a lot to learn. Yes. After the conversation, the two returned to the homeland of Kerriya through the chasm of the abyss. When Yexi came out, he could smell the aroma of breakfast. There are many women in the family, the last thing to worry about is housework and food. When they came to the restaurant, Keqing and Ganyu's outfits made Yeji's eyes shine. It turned out to be Sumi's style, and even Yingmei changed into Sumi's clothes, looking very beautiful. At this time, Yingmei was scanning Keqing and Ganyu's delicate bodies with malicious intent, her eyes were full of wretchedness. Keqing's face was wary, she was afraid that Yingmei would touch her while she was not paying attention. Seeing Yexi coming, Keqing quickly got up and asked, Master Yexi, can we go to Liu today? We have already tasted the fruits here, we can go to Liu Harbor to discuss business. Worthy of Yuhang Star Zero Yexi sighed, it's really self-discipline to think about work when I wake up in the morning. Keqing smiled awkwardly upon hearing this. She just thought, if it was another day, how could she sleep in the same room as Ganyu at night? After all, something like that happened yesterday, it would be very embarrassing. Alright, we'll leave for Liu Port after dinner. Yexi didn't refuse, anyway, after dealing with the given experiment, you can leave for Liu Port. Hurry up to complete the ore transaction, and then come back to start infrastructure. Seeing Yexi nodding, Keqing was overjoyed, okay. Ganyu has no objections. Hey? No. When Ganyu heard the words, she was full of reluctance to give up the delicious fruit. She hasn't had enough yet. However, since it was for work, he had no choice but to return to Liu Port. The breakfast was light and not greasy, and soon everyone was full. Then we're ready to go. Hearing Yexi's words, Dinazade asked, Miss Keqing, your clothes are not dry yet, what should you do? Clothing. Before Keqing could answer, Yingmei's eyes lit up. Dinazade, where are my wife's clothes? Just leave them to me for safekeeping he. Aching and Ganyu's undergarments must be as fragrant as before. As soon as these words came out, all the girls in the audience let out a meaningful exclamation. Oh, there is a story. Keqing Traveler is so powerful, even the Li's 7 stars. It's amazing. Ha 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 ha, you are indeed a traveler. Even Yexi had question marks on his face. My good fellow, this girl is really good at playing. Etka euro before? Yexi looked at Keqing and Ganyu, with a meaningful smile on his face. Keqing, it seems that you and Ying, are very good at playing. 5.7 Hui. No such thing. Don't listen to travelers talking nonsense. Master Yexi, you, don't think about it. Keqing and Ganyu's faces were full of panic, and their pink cheeks turned red all of a sudden. Yingmei next to her looked sad. Aching, that's not what you said before. I was in bed at the time, Keqing hastily covered Yingmei's mouth, and said with shame and indignation, Traveler. Stop talking. No. Yingmei nodded, as if making a promise. Only then did Keqing let go of her hand, but at this moment her pretty face was already blushing as if she was about to bleed. Aching, it's not impossible if I don't say anything, leave the clothes for me to carry he. Yingmei put her hands on her hips, with a smirk all over her face. You actually push your limits. Keqing was about to get angry, but when she saw Yingmei's playful eyes, she immediately gave in, okay. But, you can't do weird things with my clothes. Okay, Yingmei smiled and looked at Ganyu beside her. Chapter 97. Ningguang, Keqing, why don't you marry him and leave him in Liu Port? Hearing Keqing's introduction, Ningguang raised her eyebrows slightly. Unexpectedly, Keqing only went out for a day, and even called master. And she took a look at Ganyu and Keqing, what's going on with this Simuru costume? When I left Liu Port, the house was not like this. I stayed overnight in Simuru, and when I came back, I changed into new clothes. The most important thing is that it seems that the old clothes have not been brought back. She took another careful look at Yexi in front of her. Tall and handsome, with deep eyes and a relaxed expression. Coming to the capital of a country and seeing the leader of a country, there is nothing unnatural about it. This calmness, age, and appearance are indeed exceptional. Combining these, it's hard not to overwhelm. Just a little dazed, Ningguang nodded and invited, Mr. Yexi, welcome to Liu as a guest. Please follow me to Yuehei Pavilion for a talk. She is not a fool, seeing the huge flying machine in front of her, she knew that Yeheng's ability was absolutely extraordinary. This has long surpassed some mechanism cooking magic machine. The automatic cooking machine is indeed very practical, but even this kind of large flying machine can handle it. What kind of cooking mechanism is it? The value brought by flying equipment is definitely far more than a cooking machine. Good. Yexi nodded, and followed Ningguang's guidance, into the seaweed. When the Qinyan army outside saw this scene, there was an uproar. What's the situation? Is that person a distinguished guest of Lord Ningguang? To be received by Lord Tianquan and Lord Yuheng at the same time, accompanied by Miss Ganyu, what is the identity of this person? This way of appearing that shocked the entire Liu port is definitely not an ordinary person. It looks like it should be from Sumi. Hey? How did you see that? Didn't you see that Master Keqing and Miss Ganyu are both wearing Sumi's clothes? Wait. Clothes. Where are the clothes of Master Keqing and Miss Ganyu? No. The situation is wrong. Brothers. There was chaos in Qunyan army. At this time, the secretary Bai Wen suddenly came out of the Yuehei pavilion, and said, Mr. Feng, please take care of Mr. Ye Xi's vehicle, and don't let outsiders get close. Yes. The instructor Fengjian immediately dispersed the crowd, leaving a few military helicopters behind for blessing. Yu Jingtai soon regained its former calm. And Zhongli became more and more curious about the machine in front of him. Grandma Ping on the side was also very interested, so she moved closer and watched carefully. The demon god of dust, Gui Mo, and true monarch Liu Yun borrowing wind, were both people who liked to play tricks. By their side, they can learn some tricks through their ears and eyes. However, at this moment, it was difficult for her to understand the structure of the machine in front of her, and she couldn't help but want to step forward to have a look. Old man, don't come here, this is not what you are looking at. The Qunyan army stationed hurriedly stepped forward to stop them. However, Feng Yan, the instructor, directly kicked his subordinates, put on a smiling face and said, Grandma, he is new and ignorant, you can look at it casually, it doesn't matter if you get closer. Grandma Ping smiled kindly, okay. Seeing Grandma Ping passing by, the guard was stunned. Coach, didn't you say that you won't let the past watch? What do you know, kid? This grandma is no ordinary person. Seeing the doubts on the faces of his subordinates, Feng Yan said, let me tell you this, my great-grandfather was also in the Qunyan army back then, and at that time, my grandma had been wandering around Yujingtai every day for decades. Up to now, let alone my great-grandfather, it is my grandpa, my father has all gone K. Grandma still looks like this, wandering here every day. Do you think it's normal? Maybe, grandma can even send me away. The guard was stunned when he heard it, and his face was full of shock. Teacher, is it possible that this grandma is a fairy? The instructor said in a deep voice, don't talk nonsense, just know some things. Always respect grandma. Don't disrespect the immortal master. Oh. Yes. Coach. From now on, I will be as respectful to grandma as I am to grandma. Grandma Ping next to the helicopter smiled and reached out to caress the fuselage. She was very surprised by the coldness and thickness of the hands. This kind of texture cannot be easily made by forging. She looked back at Zhongli and nodded slightly. Daijun, this machine is really extraordinary. Zhongli heard the words and said, it seems that he will indeed bring about major changes to Tivat, we just need to witness it. Bring changes to Tivat, not just from Grandma Ping never expected that Ye Xi would have such high expectations when she was with Daijun Yan Wang the other side. The living room of Yuehei Pavilion. Ganyu serves tea to Ye Xi and sits beside him. But Keqing went to the side room with Ningguang to exchange information. Looking at the demure girl in front of him, Ye Xi took a sip of the good tea that Ningguang treasured, and asked, Ganyu, have you seen Mandrill recently? After hearing Ye Xi's question, Ganyu was a little surprised. She didn't expect Ye Xi to know Mandrill. For the great sage conquering demons, he should be at the Wangshu Inn. Ye Xi nodded, take me to meet him if you have time. Good. Although I don't know what Ye Xi is doing with Mandrill, there must be an important reason. In fact, Ye Xi has nothing else to do, he just wants to absorb some karma from Mandrill. His drain can absorb this negative energy, and then store it in the core of the abyss. These powers are very important for making energy core. When the time comes to build any airplanes and trains, they all need energy cores, so be prepared. Next door. After listening to Keqing's ins and outs, Ningguang couldn't help but fell into deep thought. I didn't expect his organ skills to be so powerful, but isn't he a disciple of true monarch Liu Yun borrowing wind? Could it be that this apprentice is more powerful than a master of the Xian family? Keqing shrugged, from what Ganyu said, maybe the Xian family is arrogant and worried about losing face, so they used this rhetoric. Well, it still makes sense. If it was other immortals, Ningguang would definitely be suspicious. However, if it is that woman, it is normal to do so. By the way, Jingguang. Master Ye Xi has a very high status in Sumeru, and it can be said that he is a highly respected existence. In the eyes of many people, his reputation is even higher than that of the Holy Order, and countless girls want to be his concubine. In fact, many of his concubines are very good, they have the eyes of gods, and there is no one in a million. As soon as these words came out, Ningguang's beautiful eyes were filled with extreme shock. His reputation is higher than that of the Holy Order. She couldn't help but confirm again. You know, the Holy Order is the highest authority under Sumi below the God of Grass. A person is more powerful than the Holy Order, that is in existence under one God and above 10,000 people. He has a high position in Sumi, and the reception room is full of people with the eyes of God. What kind of concept is this? This is a big family, a top family. In Liu, many rich merchants married many concubines. But there is not even a single case in Liu who is willing to be a concubine with the eyes of God. Because with the eyes of God, one can be above all people. Mora will not be short, nor will she be short of contacts, and she can also manipulate elemental power to become amazingly powerful. The owner of the God's Eye will be attracted to other people who have the God's Eye. How could such a talent commit himself to a womanizer? And the concubines around Ye Xi are all the owners of the God's Eye, so there is only one possibility. That is Ye Xi's personal charm, which has reached the point where these women with divine eyes abandon all self-esteem. It can make people with the eyes of God let go of their arrogance and self-esteem, and become a member of the harem willingly. This is not something that can be done with money or good looks. If you look at it this way, Ningguang is already very curious about how fascinating Ye Xi's charm is. Since he can represent Sumi, then we can not only listen to him plan Liu's strategy this time, but also start diplomatic cooperation with Sumi. It seems that we must pay attention to this master Ye Xi. At first she planned to treat Yexi as a person who can be used. However, she now has to see Yexi as leader of Sumeru. After Ningguang got all the information, she walked out with Keqing holding her head high. Seeing this rich woman with slender and long white legs, she was full of admiration in her heart. Really good legs. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a fine product carved by the gods. Because of her rich wealth background, Ningguang looks confident and her clothes are extremely luxurious. And that plump figure, and the seductive Cheongsam with slits, are really charming. It can be said that she is a big beauty full of royal sister style. Compared with the gentleness of the great Sisha king, Ningguang showed the courage that a high-ranking and powerful person should have. People can't help but have the desire to conquer. It seems that Miss Ningguang and Keqing have already discussed how to deal with me. While hearing Ye Xi's words, Ningguang couldn't help but smile. Mr. Ye Xi was joking. I need to get to know you with Keqing, so that we can talk later. Then Miss Ningguang has come to a conclusion. Ningguang nodded solemnly, satisfied, and said, Mr. Ye Xi, next, I will discuss future plans with you on behalf of Liu. For some important matters, after I get the plan, I will give you an answer after negotiating with Keqing Beiman. What shall we talk about first? Ye Xi is very satisfied with Ningguang's attitude. He thought Ningguang would put on a condescending attitude, but he didn't expect to be so easy to talk to. That being the case, he simply cut to the chase. He spoke his mind directly. As the richest woman in Liu, when she heard the infrastructure plan proposed by Ye Xi, her eyes immediately lit up. That's right, that's right. If the means of transportation you provide have such speed and capacity, the trade between Liu, Mont, and Sumeru will reach an unprecedented new height. The more Ningguang listened, the more excited she felt, and she couldn't even hold back her emotions. This is definitely an unprecedented business opportunity and a major change. It can bring earth-shaking changes to Liu port. She was thinking in her heart how much manpower, material and financial resources needed to be invested. No matter how much you invest, as long as Ye Xi provides the means of transportation like trains, then so the trade between the three countries will bring huge profits. Compared with the benefits, those insignificant costs can be ignored. With such a great opportunity from Ye Xi right now, how could she miss it? Mr. Ye Xi, please wait a moment. Hearing Ye Xi halfway through, Ningguang could no longer calm down. Keqing, come with me. Mr. Ye Xi, we'll be right back. As she said, deceived Zhao, she dragged Keqing out of the living room and went to the side room beside her. After closing the door, Keqing was very puzzled. Ningguang, what's wrong with you? She has never seen Ningguang as abnormal as today. On weekdays, Ningguang has a dignified demeanor, neither arrogance nor impetuosity, and her heart is always calm. But for some reason, she always felt that today's Ningguang was a little different. In fact, Ningguang was just too excited, but didn't show it too much. She is different from Keqing. Keqing's family has a big business, but it is all the wealth accumulated by the family, and the personal business vision is still lacking. But she is different, she started a business from a young age, and she has a very long-term view on the benefits behind it. Keqing, we must leave him in Liu port. Hey? You mean Master Ye Xi? Ningguang nodded, his knowledge and mind are not inferior to any of us. As long as he can settle down in Liu port will catch up with the previous era of God's rule and our era of rule of man, and achieve unprecedented prosperity. Keqing took a deep breath, she never expected that Ningguang's evaluation of Ye Xi would reach such a high level in just a few minutes. Simply incredible. But, he has so many wives in Sumi, so it's impossible to come to Liu. Honey. Ningguang's eyes suddenly brightened, and his eyes shifted to Keqing's body, looking carefully. What's wrong? Keqing felt a little creepy being stared at by Ningguang. It's like being watched by a wolf. Ningguang said seriously, Keqing, why don't you marry him and leave him in Liu port? You. Chapter 98. Ningguang, if I become his concubine, the first thing I will do is ask him to take you in too. What are you talking about all of a sudden? Why? Faced with Ningguang's sudden words, Keqing's face was full of astonishment. This proposal really scared her and made her heart pound. However, she is very strange. Why is my first thought not to refuse, but to ask why? Normally, she would definitely push it down subconsciously. I'm not joking, Keqing. Ningguang folded her arms and asked back, don't you want Liu to develop more prosperously? Of course I hope. Keqing nodded, crossed her waist and said, all the immortals entrusted Liu to take care of us, so naturally they have to make some achievements to be convinced. At that moment, Qing, do you think you can do it? Ningguang frowned slightly, and asked word by word in a deep voice, you ask your heart, relying on us humans, can you really govern Liu well? Keqing lowered her head. In fact, she firmly believed from the very beginning that gods are not omnipotent. Even, he stubbornly believes in his heart that the important reason that can support Liu to go through the millennium is not the emperor, but the human beings themselves. The Rock King Daijun is nothing more than a high god. To put it bluntly, does Emperor Yanwang know everything? However, when she really took over many things in Liu port, she realized how wrong she was. When there were more and more thorny problems, and one after another popped up after solving one, she could feel more and more Daijun's hard work over the past 1,000 years. Gradually, she began to think that maybe Daijun really is omniscient and omnipotent. Because no matter how she works over time, she can't finish things. Really tired. After she has dealt with these trivial matters, what about Liu's development? Not to mention Liu who surpassed the theocratic era. Keqing worked desperately to work overtime, but it was nothing more than maintaining Liu's development. Have you figured it out? Seeing Keqing's pensive look, Ningguang sighed and said, no matter how hard we Liu 7 stars work, Liu's progress will be very slow. Don't forget, we will grow old too. According to the current speed, it is very difficult to achieve a leap forward in our hands. And when our generation passes away, can there really be a new group of Liu 7 stars who can stand up among human beings? 830 If 100 years later, Liu port returns to the hands of immortals again, what's the use of our efforts? These words left Keqing speechless. That's the truth, and she can't argue with it. The former Liu was thriving under the emperor's rule. As long as the emperor makes an order, the people in Liu will strictly implement it. This order is not something that comes out of the mouth, but the experience accumulated by the gods in thousands of years of life. Therefore, Liu port will prosper year after year. But after Liu port fell into their hands, they didn't have thousands of years of experience, and it was exhausting to maintain Liu's development. It can only rely on crazy overtime to make Lucky move forward a little bit. Keqing, Yexi is the closest opportunity to our goal. Think carefully about the plan he proposed. With Wangshuan as the center, Daihuasu will be developed into a water city. Xiang Gailai expanded the city, reopened the mine in Minjiayun town, and developed Yaoguang beach tourism. Using the so-called railway to connect Mond and Liu, not only merchants can travel easily and safely, but even civilians can communicate with each other. This series of plans are well organized, and it can be seen that Yexi knows Liu's topography very well. Ning Guang said without any doubt, if we can really keep him here and let him help transform Liu, Liu under our rule will be able to surpass the God rule era. Hearing this, Keqing's heart was completely shaken. This feeling is like running a race. If you run by yourself, the finish line may be out of reach. But Yexi is like a pair of wings, holding her across the finish line in an instant. The temptation is too great. She is in charge of the land in Liu, and after listening to Yexi's plans and arrangements, she indeed sees countless hopes of prosperity in it. Asking herself, it's hard for her not to agree with Yexi's theory. But, there are many ways to keep Master Yexi. For example, Ning Guang said directly, what the world pursues is nothing but fame and fortune, but what men pursue is money, power, and women. Do you think he is short of money? Even if he is short of money, the relationship Mora maintains can only be relied on for a while, not for long. As for status, I don't think so. And the only thing that can attract him is a woman. A gentleman loves beauties, and the beauties around him are naturally because of his preferences. He won't dislike too many beauties around him. So, if you want to win him over, it's the easiest and most trouble-free way to start with a woman. Hearing Ning Guang's analysis, Lian Keqing nodded subconsciously. But Ning Guang, why me? This question is even simpler. Ning Guang smiled and said, among our 7 stars, you are the most beautiful. Looking at Liu's rich businessmen and politicians, doesn't that rich man have admiration for you and wants to win your heart? I think, even Yexi will be attracted by your beauty. Why else would you come back in a new suit? Can you say nothing interesting happened last night? After hearing Ning Guang's words, Keqing felt ashamed. She couldn't help sighing, Ning Guang is indeed Ning Guang, the words are full of logic and rationality, and everything can be analyzed clearly and logically. It's just that, no matter how good looking it is, it becomes a flattery of beauty. Especially the last sentence. Seeing the playfulness in Ning Guang's eyes, Keqing couldn't argue with it. You, where are you thinking? What happened last night has nothing to do with Master Yexi. Oh? So what happened last night? Keqing blushed immediately, she couldn't say that she slept with Ganyu without a trace last night, could she? Anyway, Ning Guang, you are not bad. Many rich men in Yujingtai are also pursuing you. Besides, wouldn't it be better for you to be Yexi's concubine? Ning Guang smiled and said, you and I are both Liu's 7 stars, why bother to talk about business? Let's talk about it if Yexi likes me. Mr. Yexi looks very good, at least in my opinion, he is the most outstanding among the young talents in Liu Port. Coupled with his unparalleled intelligence and business thinking. If he is interested in me, I will naturally not shirk it. Before, she wondered why there were so many owners of Godsai who were willing to be concubines around Yexi. What is the charm that can attract women so much? Now she understands. Who doesn't love a young, handsome, and so intelligent man? That set of urban construction theory alone is enough to crush all the rich men in Liu Harbor. Hearing what Ning Guang said, Keqing snorted, if I become his concubine, the first thing I will do is ask Yexi to take you in too. So you agree? Facing Ning Guang's question, Keqing lowered his head, and said in a low voice, I have only known him for a day, and we are not familiar enough. This is not a problem. Ding Guang thought for a moment, then said, starting today, I will temporarily take over your job. And your main task is to be responsible for all of Yexi's itinerary in Liu, just stay by his side. Keqing didn't expect Ning Guang to be so determined to take over her job. Yu Hengxing's work is very busy. It's okay, I just work overtime, so you won't refuse. Keqing sighed helplessly, okay. Facing an attack like Ning Guang's, Keqing was helpless for a while. But let me say yes first. I'm just going to try it first. Although Master Yexi is indeed excellent, things like relationships still depend on fate. If I don't have feelings for Master Yexi, even if it affects Liu's development, I won't force myself. After all. I think my private affairs are important too. Marriage matters, she has to decide by herself. Work is work, life is life. After hearing Keqing's words, Ning Guang nodded again and again, okay, as long as you agree. After the discussion, Guang took Keqing back to the reception room again. Yexi didn't know what these two beauties were up to, but seeing that Keqing seemed to be preoccupied, she couldn't help asking, Keqing, why are your cheeks so red? No, nothing. Keqing hurriedly sat down obediently, trying to keep calm. She was just flustered. Why did I agree to something like Ning Guang just now? After leaving the room, Keqing slowly calmed down. She couldn't help but began to examine herself, always feeling that something was wrong with her today. For the sake of Liu's development, it is absolutely impossible for her to agree to being someone else's concubine. So, why did I agree to it just now? Thinking about these things, Keqing sighed. Forget it, if the other party is Yexi, it's not impossible. After Ning Guang sat down, she took the initiative to speak, Mr. Yexi, Keqing and I have decided that Keqing will directly deal with you in all your affairs in Liu. That is to say, when we carry out infrastructure projects, Keqing will be by your side. You have no objection. Yexai's eyes lit up when he heard the words. He didn't expect Ningguang to be so considerate. He immediately smiled and said, Miss Ningguang, you have a heart. It was sunny at that moment. In the days to come, please take care of me. Hey, oh. Keqing hurriedly nodded and said, I will complete all the work during the cooperation with my heart. Miss Ningguang, there are still some things to discuss. I need to import some more resources in Liao Port, and there is also a fresh fruit business. Iron and steel are needed to build railways, and concrete is needed to build bridges in deserts. Although there is no shortage of sand, it is better to import materials such as limestone from here. When he listened to the fresh fruit, he immediately became interested. It's fine, it's just for transportation. Leave this to me. You just need to prepare the goods and wait for the fruits to be delivered to your door. Hearing this promise, Ningguang was overjoyed. In this way, it is natural to close the deal, and we will have a happy cooperation. As she spoke, she took off her gloves and stretched out her delicate jade hands in front of Yexai. Yexai reached out to meet her grip. I have to say that Ningguang's soft little hands really feel top-notch. Green onion jade fingers are white and shiny, nails are translucent, without any calluses. As soon as you touch it, you know it's a small hand that doesn't touch the spring water. After the business negotiation, Yexai then talked about Liu's plan in detail, during which Ningguang was naturally full of praise. She even wanted that ink to record all these plans. After a while, it was time for lunch. Ningguang heaved a sigh of relief, and sent out an invitation. I'll be the host next, and invite Mr. Yexai to have dinner at the Liulai Pavilion. How about it? Oh. Yexai was about to agree, but remembered about Zhongli. This time when I come to Liu, no matter what, I have to see him. Although there are not many opportunities to have dinner with Ningguang, but only next time. Thinking of this, he waved his hands and said, Miss Ningguang, next time, I have to meet an old friend in a while. This remark made Ningguang a little surprised. She thought Yexai was coming to Liu Port for the first time, so she couldn't help asking, Mr. Yexai still has old friends in Liu. It's not considered an old friend. Anyway, Keqing doesn't need to follow me today, we've already talked about it. When Keqing heard this, her heart was filled with a strange feeling. Normally speaking, she should feel grateful, but why does she feel a little empty in her heart, with a sense of loss? I thought I was going to follow Yexai today, but I didn't expect to be left behind by Yexai. This point, the light also saw in the eyes. I see, Master Yexai, I will wait for your return. Just like that, Keqing watched Yexai leave the reception room. Leaving Yuehei Pavilion, Yexai couldn't help thinking. He forgot one very important thing. To transport those fruits and minerals, he planned to use a large truck. Between the mountains and fields in Liu, large trucks can work, but it takes some long detours. This is not a problem, the most important thing is that there are no people who can drive. He has to train a group of people who can drive. When the time comes, talk to Yuan Shang. Yuehei Pavilion. Looking at Yexai's leaving back, his gaze is full of thoughts. Keqing, did nothing happen between you and Yexai last night? Yes, why do you ask that? Keqing felt a little guilty, and Ganyu Qiao who was beside her blushed and immediately lowered her head. Ningguang looked at Keqing, then at Ganyu who was blushing, and was full of doubts. Strange, why did Yexai abandon you? You are so beautiful, isn't he interested in you? Hearing Ningguang's words, Keqing suddenly felt a little bit more lost in her heart. She couldn't help but start thinking wildly. Am I really unattractive? She is quite confident about her looks. If Yexai is really not interested in her, it will make her feel a sense of frustration. He closed his eyes and meditated. Normally speaking, Yexai is alone in Liu, unfamiliar with the place, and accompanied by a guide like Keqing. Wouldn't it be the best of both worlds? It is unreasonable to leave Keqing behind. Ningguang thought for a while, and then told the secretary Bai Wen beside him, let Yelan protect Mr. Yexai in secret, and by the way, let's see who is Mr. Yexai's friend. Yes, Lord Ningguang. Although it is impolite to do so, but knowing Yexai's friend's status, and retaining Yexai through this friend is also a way. Chapter 99. Beast familiar skills can even tame Ganyu and Mandrill? Defying heaven. If you want to find Zhongli, you can go to one place in Liu Port. That is 3 bowls but Hong Kong. The old man's daily hobby is to listen to the stories of his past. All he needs is a pot of tea, and he can sit until the storyteller comes home from get off work. Walking through the bustling streets of Liu Port, you can see Zhongli sitting at the tea table at a glance. At this moment, the storyteller had just finished speaking and was about to take a lunch break, and the tea drinkers around him also dispersed one after another. Yexai went straight to sit at Zhongli's table. This sitting frightened the regular customers who were about to go home. My god, someone dares to sit at Mr. Zhongli's table. Oh, young man, it's true that a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. It looks like a foreigner, who doesn't know the rules at all. Didn't you see that everyone would rather stand than sit at the empty seat at Mr. Zhongli's table? A few new customers heard the whispers around them, so they couldn't help but stop and ask. Several, why did you say that? I know that Mr. Zhongli is talented and knowledgeable, but it's not enough to give him a special seat, right? Yeah, just now I wanted to ask, why is there a seat where no one goes, and I would rather stand? The old customers looked at each other and sighed helplessly. Mr. Zhongli is elegant and easygoing, he is good everywhere, but he never carries money in his pocket. Whoever sits at the same table with Mr. Zhongli will be fooled into paying. As soon as these words came out, the new guests all took a breath of cold air, as if they were surviving after a catastrophe. It's a good thing I didn't go. Otherwise, I would have been slaughtered by Mr. Zhongli. Good fellow, it turns out that Mr. Zhongli is so shameless in private. It looks gentle, but I didn't expect it to be a pauper. Hey, following the hall master of the past life hall, it's no wonder you have money. Don't talk about it, with Mr. Zhongli's knowledge, where can you not make money when you leave the hall of rebirth? It's just this young man from a foreign country who is going to be unlucky. It's just a wallet, come here to pay people. Everyone around cast gloating glances at Yexi. But at this time, Yexi didn't notice anything strange at all. Coming. Well, I just talked to Ningguang about my plan, and now I'm here to discuss with you. Although Daijun Yanwang has retired, he still has to report if he breaks ground on other people's land. After all, he is the god here, and his understanding of Liu must be beyond the reach of the 7 stars of Liu. Let's talk about the plan, maybe Zhongli can give some opinions. For example, where to deter, where to not start construction and so on. Little friend Yexi, it's already noon, why don't we go to Wanman Hall to eat and talk? Hearing Zhongli's proposal, Yexi nodded repeatedly, just as he was hungry too. It has always been said that the food cooked by Xiangling is delicious, comparable to Liu Liting and Xinyuexuan. This time, I have to try Xiangling's craftsmanship no matter what I say. So the two got up and headed towards the restaurant. Seeing that the two of them were going to Wanman Hall for dinner, those who secretly watched the scene laughed. Good guy, you still have to eat. I guess, Mr. Zhongli must be fooling the young man, saying that he wants to treat you. Mr. Zhongli's eloquence has grown a lot. Zhongli's calculation is really good, it's just a day's tea for nothing, and he's cheating on others for a meal. No, I'm going to the Wanmintang tooth ceremony, and I'll see who pays the bill at the end. Interesting. I'll go and have a look too. Just like that, a group of people followed Zhongli and Yexi. At this time, in a corner not far away, Yelan looked at Yexi's back thoughtfully. His friend is actually Zhongli. Just now, Ningguang's secretary Beiwen found her and told her the commission that Ningguang entrusted to her. At the same time, she also knew a lot of information about Yexi. It was after learning Yexi's identity that Yelan became even more curious. Why would a high-ranking member of Sumere know the guest of Liu's rebirth hall? How did these unrelated people get to know each other? She believes that it is necessary to check Zhongli carefully. So, she wrote down the plan of investigate Zhongli in her notebook. The other side. Manmin Hall. Because it was just in time for dinner, many people came to the restaurant. At this time, Wanman Hall can be regarded as overcrowded. Hey! Isn't this Mr. Zhongli? What do you want to eat today? Xiangling came up to him with a smile and greeted Zhongli. But when he saw Yexi beside him, he couldn't help but subconsciously exclaimed. What a handsome boy! Not only boys like to see beautiful women, girls also like to see handsome guys. Noticing Yexi's appearance, Xiangling's little heart was pounding. It is rare to see such a handsome guy come to eat, he looks like a prince. Not only is he outstanding in appearance, but he is also very tall, with a strong figure, and he feels very reliable personally. The price of Wanmintang is close to the people, and many sailors who run the ship come to eat, and they all have big muscles. Yexi's figure is not that big, but very stylish, belonging to the type that looks thin when dressed, and has flesh when undressed. Coupled with that gentle temperament, you can tell at a glance that your identity is absolutely extraordinary. Chef Xiangling, please give us a quiet place. Chef Xiangling. Hey? Oh. Xiangling looked at Yexi in a daze, and almost didn't hear Zhongli's voice. After reacting, she blushed and hurriedly nodded to lead the way, please follow me. Yexi looked around and found that the design of the Wanman Hall in the game is quite different. In the game, Manmintang is a small shop. The whole store is shabby and doesn't even have a table, it looks like a fast food restaurant on the roadside. But the Wanman Hall in front of you is very large, there are at least 10 tables near the main hall in the lobby. All the people who come and go are people. But that's hardly surprising. The game development is also to consider the game memory of the players, so the map is made smaller. In fact, the Tivat continent is astonishingly large, and Liu Port is also a very large city. Even Liu Lai Pavilion and Xinyuexuan just passed by, the scale of those two restaurants is as magnificent as a 5-star hotel. After being seated, the task of ordering food was handed over to Zhongli. He is a regular visitor here, so he just opened his mouth. After ordering, Yexi got down to business. He will discuss the general plan with Ningguang and them, and then tell Zhongli about it. I see. Zhongli nodded and said, it is indeed a very good idea. It's just that the route you laid the line is probably not good. Oh? Where is it? Yexi planned the train route for Liu. These routes have to connect Liu Port and the mines of Stratarok Juyuan, and also pass through Gailaiwan and Wangshuin, among which there must be stations in Rico Beach and Minjiayun town. 0 looking for flowers. In addition to bordering Mond and Simuru. This is the result of intertwining several lines. Zhongli said, at the junction of Liu and Simuru, above the layered rock abyss, there is an ancient rock elemental creature, whose name is Ruo Tuo Dragon King. If the goods are transported frequently, it is inevitable to make noisy sounds. If it is alarmed, it will be very difficult. This incident really surprised Yexi. He remembered that at this point in time, Zhongli and Yingmei should have settled Ruo Tuo Long Wang. So when designing the route, he didn't consider the threat of the Dragon King Ruo Tuo at all. Not long ago, I went there with a traveler. At that time, Ruo Tuo still retained the last sliver of reason, and successfully cooperated with us, causing him to be sealed again and fell into a deep sleep. If the work starts in the future, all the big and small movements will probably make Ruo Tuo wake up again. At that time, if you want to seal it again, I'm afraid it will be difficult. Hearing Zhongli's words, Yexi couldn't help but fell into deep thought, that is to say, if I want to complete my plan, I must completely suppress the Dragon King Ruo Tuo. Zhongli nodded and said, or bypass the road and lay out the line from the south side of the layered rock abyss. No, it would be too far to detour like that. Yexi directly vetoed the proposal. If the railway is really built from the south of the layered rock abyss, then the people of Mon City will take a huge detour if they want to go to Simuru. This will directly affect the business dealings between Mond and Simuru. From a general rational point of view, if there is no detour, then the only way is to completely suppress the Dragon King Ruo Tuo. Zhongli took a sip of tea calmly. In fact, when he was in Sumi, Yexi told him about the general plan. At that time, the reason why he did not raise any objections was to let Yexi finalize the plan first and speak out at the right time. In this way, Yexi will not back down, but chooses to head-to-head with the Dragon King Ruotuo. He did this because he wanted to see how powerful Yexi was as a descendant. Naruotuo Dragon King, even him is extremely difficult to deal with. If they are against Yexi, they will definitely make Yexi do their best. He just needs to watch quietly from the sidelines, and then he will know all 10-year-old's whole cards. Suppress the Dragon King Ruotuo. Yexi pondered, he had a question. Does Dragon King Ruotuo count as a beast? If Dragon King Ruotuo belongs to the determination of beast, can the skill of familiar beast be activated? Just as he was thinking, an ethereal notification sound came from his mind. Ding hint, the beast monitoring contract is applicable to Ruotuo Dragon King, and it is also applicable to Lia's animal-shaped immortal. Yexi was overjoyed by the prompt sound. Can not only control Ruotuo Dragon King, but even immortals? He remembered that True Lord Liuyun Borrowing Wind and True Lord Lashui Daishan were immortals in the shape of a crane, and True Lord Cutting the Moon and Building the Sun was an immortal in the shape of a deer. Even Mandrill is also a golden rock bird. Doesn't this mean that as long as he wants to, even Mandrill can control it? If this is the case, then the Beast Master skill is too powerful. Wait. Isn't that Ganyu also? Chapter 100. Although the Beast Mastering skills are very strong, there is a prerequisite, that is, a contract must be signed. Chukido people and slimes without intelligence basically have no sense of resistance, and they can be controlled with just one thought. However, it would be more difficult for a target with a sense of resistance to sign a contract. It is necessary to cause fear, shock, or other strong emotional fluctuations in the other party. Only when the other party's spirit is frustrated and their consciousness is weak can they take advantage of the situation and forcefully sign a contract. In any case, the matter of the Dragon King Ruotuo must be tried. Thinking of this, he nodded and said, I will deal with this matter tomorrow. Oh. Young friend Yexi, the Dragon King Ruotuo is very powerful, even I am not sure about it. If you want to do something, be sure to let me know. At that time, I will bring all the immortals there, and I wish you a great success. As the Emperor Yan Wang, he must consider Liu's safety. If the descendant is unreliable, he must take action. Thousands of years ago, he joined forces with all the immortals to barely seal the Dragon King Ruotuo. If Yexi angered the Dragon King Ruotuo and couldn't settle it, it would be troublesome. He has to be there. Yexi nodded upon hearing the words, okay. This is the sound transmission talisman, and it can be used to transmit sound to me remotely through the talisman. Zhongli took out a magic talisman and handed it to Yexi. Just as he was talking, Xiangling brought over the stir-fried vegetables just out of the pan. Food is here, attention. Guest officer Xiangling put the stir-fried dishes on the table and said with a smile, this is the boiled fish I made myself. Please taste it. After speaking, he looked at Yexi expectantly, as if wanting to comment. This scene attracted low-pitched discussions from the diners around. Look, Xiangling stopped there and didn't leave. Did she want to watch others eat? Ha 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 ha, as I said, Chef Xiangling has been looking at Mr. Zongli's table just now, and he must have taken a fancy to Mr. Zongli's friend 20. Love at first sight. Speaking of which, Xiangling has also reached the age of starting a family. It's the best time to start a relationship. Don't mention it, many families who proposed marriage before asked Master Mao to propose marriage, but they all refused, saying that Xiangling was still young, so they refused to agree. Nonsense, if I had such a precious daughter, I wouldn't be willing to marry another brat. Who says it's not? Cooking is so delicious, and it's a blessing to eat when you get married. He has the eyes of God. He is beautiful, he is good at cooking, and he has a lot of money. How much money does Wan Mintang make? Ordinary people just look down on them. Everyone was discussing in a hurry. And those diners who followed Zongli in, wanting to see Yexi slaughtered, sighed. I never imagined that the little cook of our Wan Mintang would take such a fool. After a while, he will be embarrassing when he is cheated by Mr. Zongli, ha ha ha. The appearance is good, but the IQ is not enough. Don't say that, Mr. Zongli is so powerful, how can young people stand up to being fooled? That's true. Just when everyone was whispering. The other side. Under Xiangling's expectant gaze, Yexi tasted the boiled fish and nodded repeatedly, I have long heard that the little cook at Wan Mintang has superb cooking skills, but I never expected it to be so. Hee, do you like to eat? Well, it suits my taste. What Yexi said made Xiangling feel happy, and her face was full of complacency. It is a happy thing to be praised by a handsome guy for his good craftsmanship. However, when Xiangling was secretly happy, Yexi said, it's just that there is still room for improvement in the use of spices. Hearing what Yexi said, Xiangling was full of curiosity, is there a better seasoning? Yexi nodded, and took out a small bottle from his pocket, which contained several spices he had grown in Sumeru. Xiangling took the small bottle, sniffed the mouth of the bottle lightly, and suddenly her eyes lit up. It was the first time she smelled this fragrance, like a spice mixed with several seasonings. Son, where did you get this? I feel like I can make more delicious dishes with it. Yexi smiled and said, my name is Yexi, and I am a merchant from Sumeru. I made these spices. If you like it, this bottle will be given to you real. Xiangling was overjoyed, and said with a smile, the courtesy is reciprocal, I will waive your order. We will be friends from now on. Mr. Zongli's share still has to be collected. Zongli. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar all around. Hey? Free order. Partial. This is too partial. I've never heard that Wan Mintang has a free bill. Is this the benefit of being handsome? Damn it, why didn't Mr. Zongli kill him? Isn't this kid really lucky? It turns out that a pretty face can really be eaten. A group of diners cast envious glances at Yexi. Not only won the favor of the little chef of Wan Mintang, but also was exempted from the order. This is unprecedented treatment in Wan Mintang. Yexi smiled and nodded, then I won't be polite. Needless to say, this dish is delicious. Although the wives in the family also have more or less cooking skills, the dishes they cook are also delicious. But if it is compared with Xiangling, it will be much worse. If this little cook is taken home as a wife, won't she be able to eat whatever she wants in the future? Just thinking about it, Xiangling suddenly asked, then Yexi, if possible, can I ask you to buy this kind of spice again? Sure. It won't be long before Sumi and Liu's business will boom, and I will come here often. After hearing Yexi's words, Xiangling was very happy. It would be great if we could meet more often in the future. I'm going to continue serving. After speaking, Xiangling returned to the kitchen. After a while, the table was filled with Menmentang's signature dishes. Boiled black base, golden shrimp balls, crab roe tofu. Yexi was very satisfied. Finally, after drinking and eating, we came to the exciting charging link. Xiangling came in front of Zhongli, and said with a smile, Yexi's order is waived, but Mr. Zhongli needs to pay half of the fee. Hearing this, the diners pricked up their ears calmly. Especially the few tea customers who just followed from the tea stall wanted to see the scene of Zhongli paying the money. Zhongli put his hands into his pockets, then fell silent for a moment, then turned his gaze to Yeze. Yexi, do you have any money? Yexi. There was a sound of suppressed laughter all around. Pfft. If you can hide from the monk, you can't hide from the temple. I thought that kid would be fine if he was exempted, but I didn't expect to be slaughtered by Mr. Zhongrate. Ha 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 ha. As expected of Mr. Zhongli, his performance is still stable. It's fun now, I'd like to see what this kid does. Anyway, he's a businessman, so he's not short of this little money, so he should be taken advantage of. There's still time to run now. If I were him, I'd run right away. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Yexi was speechless in his heart. However, how could he honestly be Zhongli's purse? For this position, it is enough to have a son and a walnut, but he won't do it. Xiangling, see you next time. Before Xiangling could react, Yexi suddenly disappeared in place, leaving no trace behind. At this moment, all the diners of Wanmintang were dumbfounded. What's going on? What happened? Where is the person? Where did that kid go? My god, did he see a ghost because he was alive during the day? What's the matter? Did you see where he went from? No. I'm staring at it. It's gone in the blink of an eye. What a ghost. Could it be that that person is a fairy? Hiss, the ability to appear and disappear like this, it is really possible to be a fairy. For a while, the restaurant was full of chaos. Many people even started to look for it in the restaurant, but there was no sign of Yexi anywhere. In broad daylight, a living person just disappeared. In other words, no one can calm down. Xiangling was also dumbfounded, her face full of disbelief. She was literally intimidated. Obviously Yexi was still talking to her 1 second, but disappeared without a trace the next second. When she heard someone in the restaurant talk about immortals, she believed it in her heart. If it is not a fairy, then how to explain this trick? No, I have to go to the master and ask him. Her master is Grandma Ping, a real fairy. If Yexi is also a fairy, then her master must know. Just when Xiangling was thinking wildly, Zhongli's voice came from beside him, Chef Xiangling, send my bill to Baguio Bank for me. After finishing speaking, Zhongli got up and left slowly, but the corner of his mouth had a slight curvature. He saw it. Everything that happened just now was seen by him. At that moment, the whole world turned grey and white. Even he couldn't move even a single finger. He could only watch all this silently. He saw Yexi striding away from Wanmin Hall and disappearing into the street. It lasted for half a minute. Everyone stopped, motionless, not breathing, not even thinking. Undoubtedly, this is authority of time. Time pause. With this kind of ability, what would Kuchuo Dragon King be afraid of? However, the ability to control time should belong to the governance of time, why Yexi also uses it. This point, Zhongli can't figure it out anyway. After Zhongli left, the restaurant became much quieter. Because the protagonists of this good show are all gone. They were just immersed in the shock just now, and they were still discussing with each other. At the dining table in the farthest corner, an old man wearing a hat was stunned for several minutes. Even now, the eyes are full of astonishment. No one would realize that this unremarkable old man was actually dressed up by a woman. And she was Yelan. She is sitting not far from Zhongli. Those words just now, even though Yexi and Zhongli had lowered their voices, she still heard part of them. Suppress the Dragon King Ruo. Go tomorrow deal with. Go with all the immortals. These key messages were all heard clearly by her. It was this information that made her think that Zhongli and Yexi were fellow patients, and this gathering was probably not a fellowship meeting for patients. How can normal people say anything about immortals? Still suppressed. Still sealed. It's almost like a serious illness. At that time, she wanted to leave, and felt that it was meaningless to listen to it. Until just now Yexi disappeared out of thin air. She froze in place for a moment. Fairy tricks. They must be real fairies. If Yexi is a fairy, then the information she heard just now is no joke. Although she doesn't know what Dragon King Ruo is, it must be a very powerful monster. She never expected that things would develop like this. There are two choices before her now. First, tell Ningguang about this matter and let Ningguang judge. Second, continue to investigate, look for Dragon King Ruo, and observe the scene. She struggled for a while, and finally had an answer in her heart. Can't just draw conclusions like that. What if this method of disappearing out of thin air is a cover-up? She reported this unreliable news to Ningguang. In case something happened, it would be difficult to handle. Therefore, it must be thoroughly investigated. The first step is to look for clues to Dragon King Ruo. Thinking of this, Yelan left Emola on the table, got up and left Wan Minying quickly. She is going to find the location of the Dragon King Ruo, and then witness the scene of the suppression of the Dragon King Ruo with her own eyes. After leaving Wanmin Hall, Yexi couldn't help laughing. He knew that Zhongli must not have thought of his escape route, and he must be completely confused now. During this time, his time stop effect has been getting stronger and stronger, from the previous 10 seconds to 30 seconds. Therefore, he can leave Wanmintang leisurely. Next, he is going back to Sumeru. Today, we must recharge our energy and store up our energy, and wait until the next morning to settle the Ruo Tuo Dragon King. Back at Yujing Terrace, Yexi walked straight into Yuehei Pavilion. The surrounding Qinyan army did not dare to stop them at all. Master Yexi. In the corridor, a little secretary hurried up. She is one of Ningguang's secretaries, Bei Yishi. Master Yexi. Liao Keqing is in a meeting, I will go in and report to Master Ningguang. Please wait a moment. Bai Shi blushed slightly, and hurriedly ran into the conference room. She, Bei Wen and Bei Xiao have been discussing about Yexi ever since they met Yexi. That way of appearing from the sky, that kind of aura that makes Ningguang and Keqing have to deal with it carefully, and that handsome face. Just don't be too charming, okay? Because of Yexi, none of them are working hard anymore, and they couldn't help discussing Yexi secretly. She knocked on the door and entered the conference room. At the moment, the relevant personnel of 2.97 stars and 8 sex are among them. Beizi, what's the matter? Master Ningguang. Master Yexi is back. What? Ningguang nodded and said, everyone, today's meeting is here, you are discussing and discussing, I will go to receive Mr. Yexi first. Keqing, let's go. After finishing speaking, Ningguang took Keqing away. Others in the conference room were amazed one after another. I really want to meet this Yexi. I can't imagine that his knowledge is so profound, and he thinks of this way of planning the city. The most powerful thing is his tricks. Without trains as a means of transportation, these so-called urban planning strategies are all in vain. No. Mr. Yexi is a combination of talent and technology. In my opinion, the most rare thing is that he has so many theories of urban construction besides his amazing mechanical skills. It's just, like the second generation of Daijun. As soon as these words came out, the entire conference room fell silent. Because that's exactly what it says. When the Rock King Daijun was still there, they benefited a lot from every word the Daijun said. Whether it is technology, trade, construction, in every aspect, Emperor Yanwang can point out the direction for them. And the present Yexi is no different from the feeling given to them by the Emperor at that time. The other side. Ningguang and Keqing came to the reception room and met Yabai. You're back, have you finished meeting your friends? Yexi nodded, regarding the city planning, there is a little accident, I have to deal with it tomorrow morning, and I have to go back to Sumi early. Ningguang couldn't help feeling a little worried, this plan, which was finally obtained, should not be accidental. Thinking of this, she hurriedly said, let Keqing go back with you, you two will go together tomorrow morning. Keqing. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.